This young man was a top player in the game Galaxy. However, during one power leveling session for someone else, Han Xiao mouthed off, calling the game utter trash, and as a consequence, he was dragged into the game world itself. The moment Han Xiao opened his eyes, he heard blaring warning sirens and a scorching smell like seared meat. A throbbing headache left him disoriented. Where am I? He wondered. No one answered. In the room, only a few people in white lab coats were present. Seeing him sit up, they panicked. Quick, inform Madame Gila. The test subject is alive again. Test subject? Are they talking about me? Han Xiao thought. But it didn't stop there. These people even called guards to restrain the test subject. He just sat there, utterly confused, only to see a squad of heavily armed guards, weapons at the ready, cautiously advancing towards him. Han Xiao's first instinct was to run. But after taking the first hit from a stun baton, he quickly realized something was terribly wrong. This pain was too damn real. Could it be that he had actually been pulled into the game? While lost in thought, Han Xiao took a second baton strike. And as you might guess, he was locked up again. In his cell, Han Xiao couldn't stop wincing from the pain in his arms. What the hell is this? Don't tell me I've encountered a ghost, Han Xiao muttered, then tried to log out. However, when he swiped to open the status panel, only his character attribute screen appeared. The logout button that should have been there was gone. The attribute panel showed Han Xiao as a level 1 civilian. His attribute points were all at 0. His current HP was 23/30 due to fractured bones. Stamina was 36 points. His specialties included basic speed, 10% increase, learning and crafting, tenacity, mental fortitude, and decisiveness. Current skills, none. Potential points, also 0. But one line particularly caught Han Xiao's attention. Race, human, yellow, NPC. Beta 1.0 launch countdown, 258 days. NPC template for Beta 1.0? Isn't that something from over 10 years ago? Han Xiao instinctively glanced at a shattered mirror on a nearby wall and discovered that this character's face was identical to his own. Only the hair color was different. It was then he finally accepted the somewhat unbelievable truth. He had transmigrated straight into the world of the game Galaxy. While he was lost in thought, the cell door suddenly burst open. A scantily clad young woman appeared, tilting her head and staring intently at Han Xiao. Then she asked, "Is he the test subject that's still alive?" Before anyone could answer, she introduced herself as Gila, the supervisor of this place. She then threatened Han Xiao that if he dared to run again, she would take his life. Han Xiao was astounded because this was the Crimson Viper Gila, a boss from Beta 1.0 who had caused countless new players to quit, also known by the nickname Big Sis Intimidation. Afterward, Gila ordered her subordinates to take Han Xiao for a blood test. From Gila's status as a combat boss in Galaxy, Han Xiao immediately deduced the true nature of this organization. It had to be the Germination Organization, a terrorist group that would stop at nothing to overthrow the government. And the experiment they were conducting, codenamed Valkyrie, was the first step in their super soldier project. According to the game's storyline, Han Xiao's current body was the first experimental material, subjected to numerous surgeries and brainwashing, and finally sent to the battlefield as cannon fodder. He really wanted to curse. What kind of crappy transmigration is this? The starting point is too damn tragic. After Han Xiao was taken for the blood test, the results came back quickly. Nothing abnormal. A researcher looked him up and down with the interested gaze one might give a prize commodity, then commented, "Looks like he's past the berserk phase. The solution's main effect is to stimulate the brain. Should we crack open his skull to check brain activity?" A chill ran down Han Xiao's spine. His guess was right. These lunatics wanted to dissect him alive. Fortunately, Gila intervened. Since Han Xiao was currently the first surviving test subject, she temporarily forbade any destructive procedures. And for safety, Han Xiao had to undergo brainwashing. As he was being escorted away, Han Xiao felt truly desperate. He was only level 1. Comparing him to a chicken would be an insult to chickens. Yet, the guards here were all level 5 to 8, not to mention Boss Gila. No matter how he thought about it, there was no chance of winning. Therefore, he had to figure out a way to deal with the brainwashing. As he passed the bookshelf, Han Xiao had an idea. This was the researcher's reference shelf. Han Xiao reached out for a book. Instantly, several gun muzzles were pressed against the back of his head. But the researcher quickly said, "Wait, let's see what he wants to do." Han Xiao secretly sighed in relief. He had gambled correctly. As long as he didn't show any aggressive or berserk tendencies, his status as the first successful test subject would be his protective amulet. Han Xiao then opened the book. It contained basic mechanical concepts. After reading the first page, the system sent a notification. He had grasped basic mechanics theory. This was a bit hard to believe, but even though he had become an NPC, Han Xiao had brought his character's attribute panel with him through reincarnation, and he could level up just like a player. While Han Xiao read, the researcher and Gila silently observed him. Han Xiao turned a few more pages, looking incredibly focused. Reading? Did the solution enhance his learning ability? The scientist muttered. An unexpected gain. If he's a brain-enhanced special operative, he's far more valuable than mere cannon fodder. Gila then added, "Is the brainwashing device ready?" So, he still couldn't escape being brainwashed. Han Xiao tried to speed up his reading, and before being taken away, he successfully learned basic mechanic knowledge. The mechanic skill tree was unlocked. Han Xiao learned the mechanic, novice, profession, level 1. The reward was 10 energy, 1 intellect, 1 endurance, 2 free attribute points, 1 potential point, and 2 skill points. Then, the brainwashing process began. Han Xiao was forced into a chair, and a host of devices were attached to his head. Before actually starting the brainwashing, the scientist kept looking at him with a regretful expression. It's truly heartbreaking. Such a good specimen. What a pity if it gets damaged. Hila, before the actual brainwashing, can't you let me dissect him first? Han Xiao silently cursed. This madman is that obsessed with his brain? Hila, of course, disagreed. At her urging, the mad scientist pressed the switch. The brainwashing officially began. An intense headache enveloped Han Xiao. The system detected the risk. Its host was being brainwashed and initiated a judgment. Han Xiao's current willpower attribute was only 8 points, not enough to resist. In 15 seconds, he would be completely brainwashed. To avoid it, he needed 10 willpower points. This was truly a godsend. He had just leveled up and already had a use for his points. Han Xiao immediately added his 2 free attribute points to willpower. Intellect contributes to willpower in this context, or it's a direct willpower stat. After the update, the system rejudged, and Han Xiao successfully escaped this round of brainwashing. He secretly sighed in relief again. The situation had been incredibly dangerous. Next, he just needed to play along with them. Time to test his Oscar-worthy acting skills. Both Hila and the mad scientist focused on Han Xiao's every expression. After an unknown amount of time, Hila suddenly approached. She yanked Han Xiao's hair, forcing him to look directly into her eyes, then said, "From now on, your name is Zero. The Germination Organization is your home, your nation, the place you willingly dedicate everything to. You will be absolutely loyal to the organization." This was followed by a barrage of brainwashing rhetoric mentioned earlier. Han Xiao didn't care much. He just felt that this proximity, this sensation, was too real. This wasn't a game anymore. It had become reality. And Hila, from this distance, was undeniably beautiful. Such a beauty. Yet Han Xiao had begged her for mercy many times while power leveling in the past. Thinking of this, Han Xiao had to scold himself. What the hell am I thinking? I'm clearly on the brink of life and death, and still in the mood to admire a beautiful woman? Not good. I must resist, not look, not move, can't reveal any flaws. After her speech, Hila asked, "Now, answer me. Who are you?" Han Xiao remained silent. He was silent for so long that the mad scientist began to think the brainwashing had failed. But just then, Han Xiao, in a soulless, mechanical tone, repeated word for word, "I am Zero." The Valkyrie solution enhanced Zero's learning ability. A possible side effect is weakened emotional and communication skills. Hence this reaction, the mad scientist assessed. Seems the experiment isn't perfect, huh? Hila looked disappointed. "No, you're wrong. This is the perfect effect. Why would cannon fodder need emotions?" With that, they both turned to leave. Han Xiao secretly smirked. Wanting to be cannon fodder? Dream on. Hila thought for a moment, then ordered a subordinate to take Han Xiao to rest. But the man reported that the test subject's rest area wasn't ready yet, because no one had survived before. Seeing this, Hila told him to take Han Xiao to her room. After all, the organization's leader had put him in her charge. Hearing he would be taken to Hila's room, Han Xiao's mind started to wander with inappropriate thoughts. And when he arrived at her room, he became even more flustered. Sharing a small room like this with a beautiful woman, just thinking about it is enough to get agitated. He put on a dazed look, wandering around the room, peeking here and there. Meanwhile, Hila was contacting the leader of the organization, reporting that Han Xiao's condition was now stable and that she would personally supervise him, so there would definitely be no problems. "Sir, do you have any arrangements for Zero?" Hila asked. The purpose of the Valkyrie experiment is to cultivate soldiers, so of course, he must be trained, the voice on the other end replied. Hila hesitated for a few seconds, then tentatively requested, "I want to see my sister." Han Xiao secretly perked up his ears. That's right, the storyline also mentions Hila has a sister. However, Hila's request was denied. The organization's leader only allowed her to see her sister once every 2 months, and Hila was not to exceed that limit. With that, he hung up. Han Xiao saw Hila stand silently for a long time, her hand holding the phone, trembling uncontrollably. Then, she suddenly punched the wall hard. Hila's reaction startled Han Xiao and reminded him of the truth. This beauty was a great demoness. But the most thrilling part was yet to come. Hila suddenly unbuckled her belt, then began to undress as if she were alone in the room. Han Xiao was a man. How could he not be aroused by this scene? But the difficult part was that he had to act like a newly brainwashed test subject with no consciousness. Hila, stark naked, approached Han Xiao. He restrained himself to the utmost, not even daring to swallow his saliva. Must endure, absolutely must endure. If she finds out I'm not brainwashed, I'm finished. It's just a woman's body, nothing to get worked up about, he told himself. The two maintained this embarrassing state for about half a minute before Hila finally turned away. Watching her retreating back, Han Xiao could finally exhale. Damn it, that was almost the end of me. But the problem wasn't over. After changing into her nightgown, Gila climbed into bed. But this was a single room with only one bed. Looking at Gila's slender back, Han Xiao felt like he was playing a game of chicken rather than being in a life-or-death situation. After some consideration, he decided to climb into bed too. A little cramped, but warm is good. However, Gila bluntly kicked Han Xiao off the bed, and her kick was very powerful. Han Xiao felt like he had just broken a few ribs. The next morning, Gila took him to the training area, saying that from today, he had to practice shooting and wrestling skills every day. Then, under the guise of training, Han Xiao was thoroughly beaten up. Gila kicked and punched, never holding back. Moreover, her speed was very fast, so someone like Han Xiao, with no combat experience, naturally couldn't resist. Even with armor, he was beaten until he coughed up blood and lay flat on the ground. Even so, Gila forced him to get up. Thus began an endless cycle for Han Xiao, being knocked down, forced to stand up, and then beaten again. However, after a day of being beaten black and blue, Han Xiao also learned some basic wrestling experience. His current learning progress was 5%. As he expected, although his attribute panel was that of an NPC, he could still level up and learn skills like a normal player. In other words, Han Xiao was a player with an NPC panel. His whole body ached, but his mood was strangely exhilarated. Just you wait, Han Xiao thought silently. I will definitely become a true powerhouse in this world. Before he could even catch his breath after learning wrestling from Gila, Han Xiao had to face the next challenge: marksmanship. The person teaching Han Xiao was the base's deputy supervisor, Baltar. As soon as he appeared, he threw Han Xiao a gun with 10 training bullets and demanded he hit the heads of all the targets. But the problem was they were all moving targets. For a novice like him who didn't know how to shoot, this requirement was too difficult. This probably requires an Olympic champion to achieve, Han Xiao thought. He raised the gun and fired wildly. Unsurprisingly, he didn't hit a single shot. It was understandable. Han Xiao's current attributes were too low to hit anything, but Baltar was not a kind man. Thus, the price Han Xiao paid for failing the challenge was a dagger stabbed hard into his bicep. Han Xiao, suddenly attacked, turned to stare wide-eyed at Baltar, only to see him excitedly licking Han Xiao's blood off the dagger's blade. The people in this organization are all insane. What are you looking at? Continue. Every time you fail to meet my requirements, I'll stab you again. Let's see how much blood you lose today. Han Xiao's hands clenched into fists. He really wanted to fight back, but couldn't reveal that he still had his own consciousness. Moreover, Baltar was the deputy supervisor of this base. Even if he really fought, he couldn't beat him. He was now an NPC and couldn't revive. This was a one-life game, so for the sake of his future, he could only continue to endure. Thinking of this, Han Xiao raised the gun again, but still missed and took another stab. This torture process was observed from afar by Gila and the mad scientist, Lin Weixian. Lin Weixian kept sighing with regret. Such a good test subject, and Baltar doesn't cherish him at all. Why not just let me dissect and study him? It would be for the best. The organization will not agree to your request. Gila snuffed out his hope. Just you wait. When the organization has squeezed all his useful value, they will eventually hand him over to my experiment table. After all, I created him. He is my property. After an unknown amount of time, Han Xiao completed the shooting training covered in injuries. He returned to his room to find Gila casually trimming her nails, wrapped only in a bath towel. You're back? Your performance today wasn't good at all, was it? The interrogative atmosphere was truly tense. Han Xiao even suspected if she would pull out a knife and stab him in the next second. Well, if she stabs, she stabs. Anyway, there isn't a spot on his body today that doesn't have a knife wound. But Gila didn't do that. She led Han Xiao into the bathroom and told him to take off all his clothes. Wait a minute. This request is even harder to process than her stabbing him with a knife. Han Xiao froze. Bathing together? This lady is too eager. What are you standing there dazed for? Gila seemed impatient. Can't even follow such a simple order? Han Xiao didn't want her to suspect his consciousness, so despite his reluctance, he had to strip naked. Gila meticulously examined his body. The difficult part was that, faced with such intimate contact, a virgin like Han Xiao was not allowed to react. Gila examined him for a while, then sighed. You're just like a coward. With that, she took Han Xiao's hand and led him into the bathtub. If you want to live, you have to work hard. Otherwise, if the organization feels you have no value, it's only a matter of time before they gift you to Lin Weixian for dissection and research. Only then did Han Xiao learn that the madman who always wanted to saw open his skull was named Lin Weixian. But that wasn't very important. Want to dissect him? It's not that easy. Thinking of this, Gila suddenly pushed him down and then stepped out of the bathtub. This is wound healing medicine. Soak for an hour. Your wound should be healed by tomorrow. Han Xiao was a little disappointed. He thought they were going to bathe together. After saying that, Gila went out, leaving Han Xiao alone. He began to put on a pensive expression. Of course, Han Xiao knew that his protective amulet, first successful test subject, wouldn't protect his life for long. The Germination organization would definitely continue to create new test subjects. By then, if he no longer had any use value, he would be thrown to Lin Weixian. Just as Gila said, Han Xiao really didn't have much time left. That forced him to seize the time. Indeed, Han Xiao didn't have much time left because Lin Weixian was already very impatient. After a few more days, he wanted to apply to the organization to dissect Han Xiao again. Because Han Xiao hadn't made much progress in training recently, Lin Weixian thought there would definitely be no problem this time. Didn't the organization just refuse last week? I advise you to wait a bit longer, Hila said. But Lin Weixian was anxious. He thought a waste, like Han Xiao, shouldn't be kept. Conversely, he also noticed Hila's attitude. She seemed to care too much about her test subject. Could it be she has some inappropriate feelings? Hila immediately denied it. Lin Weixian then used that to advise her to mind her own business. Han Xiao was his creation. How to deal with him was his freedom. Hila said nothing and returned to her room. While she was eating snacks and drinking tea, Han Xiao kept fiddling with the gun for so long it made Hila impatient. Stop playing with it. That gun is broken. Throw it away. Han Xiao didn't reply, just clutched the gun and looked at Hila with innocent eyes. Her eyebrows furrowed even tighter. Don't clutch it like a treasure. Useless things are trash. Trash must be thrown away. Han Xiao knew Hila wasn't just talking about the gun. Sure enough, she then warned Han Xiao that if he continued to make no progress, his end would be the same as that gun. Finally, Han Xiao spoke. Actually, I've already fixed it. This gun was originally broken, but Han Xiao, to complete a mission to repair a basic mechanical item, had repaired it to 69% perfection. He received 35 experience points after completing this mission. A bit too little, unfortunately. If he could get his hands on more machinery, perhaps he could earn more. Hila raised an eyebrow, seemingly surprised that Han Xiao could even fix broken things. She then took him to the forest behind the base to test it. And that gun performed. With firepower no less than when it was new. Hila immediately took out her phone to report the situation to the leader, simultaneously requesting permission for Han Xiao to enter the armory. Observing him these past few days, she noticed Han Xiao really liked disassembling and assembling mechanical things, so she thought he might have some use in this area, rather than in wrestling or shooting. Han Xiao was overjoyed. Whether it was assembling armor or repairing machinery, both could earn him experience points. And right now, that was what he lacked most. If he could enter the armory and access more weapons, it would also mean earning more experience points. That night, Hila's request was approved. She then took Han Xiao to the base's armory. The things laid out before him truly made him marvel. The Germination organization's military equipment was indeed not ordinary at all. With so many weapons and equipment, it was probably enough for him to gain several levels. This time was truly lucky. It seems you were interested in those mechanics books before. I found some things for you and put them inside. If you want to look, go look yourself. I'm leaving. With that, Hila returned to her room. But not long after, Han Xiao also followed her back. As usual, Hila was preparing to change and go to bed. Han Xiao, however, just stared at her. This time, Hila wasn't as nonchalant as before. I didn't tell you to follow me back. I've arranged a room for you in the armory. You'll stay there from now on. No matter what, you're a man. It's not quite right for us to keep staying together like this. Han Xiao almost burst out laughing. Big sis, you're only realizing this problem now. Hila impatiently shooed Han Xiao back to his armory room. But frankly, he didn't really want to go. Such a good life with a beautiful woman. Has it ended so soon after it just began? Han Xiao dejectedly stood up and walked toward the door. Hila carefully reminded him to report to her at the training ground every morning. Furthermore, she even gave Han Xiao back the gun he repaired earlier that day. Keep it up. Stay alive, Hila suddenly said. Though her tone was indifferent, Han Xiao could hear that she genuinely hoped he could live. This personality doesn't quite fit the Crimson Viper boss, does it? Han Xiao returned to his private room. Although he could no longer watch the beautiful woman change, he now had his own space to do whatever he wanted. Han Xiao began disassembling and reassembling mechanical items to gain experience points. And very quickly, he reached level 3. This progress was very promising. 3 levels in just 2 days. At this rate, escaping the Germination organization would take at most half a year. By then, perhaps no one could stop him. At night, Han Xiao tinkered with mechanical devices in his private room. But in the morning, he still had to go to the training ground for wrestling and shooting. Zip, 3 months passed. Because the organization saw he had some talent in mechanics, they kept him alive. But Hila seemed very disappointed because, after 3 months, Han Xiao had made very little progress. Of course, his actual strength wasn't just at this level. Han Xiao was just hiding his skills. Moreover, he also discovered that this female demon, though a bit rough, actually had a decent personality. At least she wanted him to live, unlike that mad scientist Lin Weixian, who kept submitting proposals to the organization to dissect him. Although the organization hadn't agreed yet, seeing his unpromising demeanor, he felt the day he'd be dissected by Lin Weixian wasn't far off. Han Xiao, though outwardly emotionless, had already made his calculations inwardly. After training, he returned to his career of disassembling and assembling mechanics. The camera in his room had also been dealt with. It seemed the Germination organization had written him off as a waste and no longer monitored him 24/7. Now, simple disassembly and assembly tasks didn't earn Han Xiao many experience points. So, he started trying to enhance equipment, which could earn more experience. It was just that after modifications, he still had to return the equipment to its original state. he couldn't let the organization know he had this talent. This was quite troublesome for Han Xiao. Just then, there was the sound of a door opening. Han Xiao looked towards it with a wary gaze. Several men in uniforms similar to Han Xiao's entered. They were also test subjects created by the organization. The arrogant leader, with 001 embroidered on his shirt, was the organization's next successful test subject. The organization is very disappointed in you. So starting today, your resources are cut by 80%, he said with a voice full of contempt. Before Han Xiao could react, this guy closed in on him and continued. I heard you were the test subject before me. The organization spent a lot of resources on you, but all you know is how to make this trash. You're truly a waste. The opponent rudely grabbed Han Xiao's collar, but he didn't resist. Based on this guy's attitude, he was a test subject who had been completely brainwashed. The Germination organization was now his faith, so it was better to avoid conflict. Speaking of which, this 01001 waved his hand. The men behind him began to move some of Han Xiao's resources out of the room. Looking at this guy, Han Xiao understood that he was the intended result of the Valkyrie experiment, possessing both combat talent and a strong physique, capable of being quickly trained into an armed soldier. At this moment, a few soldiers passed by Han Xiao's room. Seeing the test subjects moving things under 01's orders, they chuckled. Hee, pitiful insects, taken for experiments, turned into reserve cannon fodder, and then thoroughly brainwashed into this idiotic state. Better off getting rid of them early. Quiet down, another one whispered. What's the big deal? They're all brainwashed anyway. He had no idea that in the room, there was still one person who retained his own consciousness. Han Xiao. Han Xiao silently observed the other party, very displeased to see him looking down from above, as if at a pet. One day, you would make all these people pay. The task of moving items was quickly completed. 01 then patted Han Xiao's head as if petting a dog, then said, bye-bye, failed product. No one cared about a flawed product like him. So very quickly, everyone left, and the room returned to its usual silence. Han Xiao knew clearly that to Germination, test subjects were just tools, cannon fodder. He was also curious. When they were beaten by cannon fodder like him until not a shred of armor remained, what kind of expressions would they have? And then, the day Gila dreaded most finally arrived. The day the leader of Germination approved Lin Weixian's request to turn Han Xiao into a subject for dissection and research. Lin Weixian was so happy he bowed 90 degrees, expressing his thanks. Baltar, on the other hand, didn't seem too happy. Such an interesting toy. I haven't played enough yet. What a pity. Clearly, he felt no pity for Han Xiao. Only Gila, after hearing the announcement from the leader, had been frowning, her hands clenched tightly into fists. That day, Han Xiao also noticed something strange about her. Though it was still the usual wrestling training, today Gila seemed crazier. Guard up, counterattack, counterattack. Gila punched Han Xiao and then shouted, followed by a series of attacks that left him unable to react. The pain made him wonder, what on earth did I do to offend this demoness today? Han Xiao was knocked to the ground, but Gila showed no signs of stopping. Fight back, she yelled again. Attack. Haven't you eaten? Hit me here. Normally, Gila would at least give Han Xiao some rest. But today, the training session dragged on without a break. He was beaten to the point where he could barely stand, yet the opponent showed no signs of stopping. To appease Gila, Han Xiao began to lunge and fight back, but his fists were weak, easily caught by her, and then she countered, slamming him hard to the ground. Is this your awakened desire to live? Han Xiao was sent flying, his whole body crashing heavily to the ground. However, before he could even feel the pain, Gila grabbed him by the collar. No way, this demoness still wants to fight? If this continues, I might actually die. Stop it, Han Xiao weakly uttered. Only then did Gila's actions cease. After a moment, she let go, letting Han Xiao collapse to the ground. Both Gila's attitude and tone were clearly disappointed. How ridiculous! And here I was, still having expectations for you. That's enough for today. Tonight, sleep well. Tomorrow, you don't need to come. Han Xiao grunted, indicating he didn't understand what she meant. A trace of sadness flashed across Gila's face. She repeated, tomorrow, you don't need to come. After all, tomorrow you'll be taken for dissection. With that, Gila left, leaving Han Xiao lying there amidst dark red bloodstains. In the end, she still couldn't change anything. Looking at Gila's lonely retreating figure, Han Xiao understood everything. This day had indeed finally come. No wonder that demoness was so angry today, because she couldn't bear to see him dissected alive by Lin Weixian. She herself had beaten him half to death like this. What a strange woman. Han Xiao struggled to sit up. For the past half year at the base, the only one who truly treated him as a human was the Crimson Viper, Gila. The others either saw him as cannon fodder or as a pet, then abused and tortured him. Because the test subjects didn't resist, they felt all this was normal, a given. But Han Xiao remembered everything, remembered every drop of fresh blood spilled. If that was the case, if they wanted him dead, then tomorrow would be the day he stood up and resisted. That night, the lights in Han Xiao's room stayed on all night. He used all the mechanical experience accumulated over the past half year. Half a year here was equivalent to only 1 month in the real world. under the premise of not doing missions or fighting monsters. This efficiency was incredibly promising compared to before. Only mechanics could, under limited conditions, help him earn such abundant experience points. For now, the experience point Han Xiao had accumulated reached 600,000. In Galaxy, a character could have an unlimited number of professions. However, every 20 levels was a bottleneck, requiring the completion of a promotion mission to continue leveling up. The total max level would unlock with version updates. In Beta 1.0, the max level was 60. However, his attribute panel had no max level. This meant Han Xiao was not bound by this rule and could potentially possess strength far exceeding that of players. Next, Han Xiao decided to gamble on blueprints. Blueprints were the construction plans for manufacturing machinery in the mechanic class. Inventing blueprints was the most important ability of the mechanic profession. 60 types of knowledge combined to form countless combinations. Each combination contained many blueprints. However, each fusion attempt would only research one of them. Some hidden blueprints even had prerequisite requirements. Therefore, it was very difficult to know exactly how many types of blueprints a particular combination could yield. The fusion experience for similar combinations would continuously stack. Even if no new blueprint was researched, the experience would not be refunded, which is why it was called gambling on blueprints. Han Xiao began fusing blueprints. The first time, he created the Swift Swallow Glider, a type of rudimentary glider, but it was completely useless to him. Then he fused a biomechanical prosthetic arm, which was also trash. After several such attempts, Han Xiao began to panic. He was about to use up all his accumulated experience points. Yet all he fused were these useless blueprints. Han Xiao grew increasingly anxious, but heaven did not disappoint. Finally, he fused a lightweight mechanical arm. After equipping it, Han Xiao felt much more confident. Now it was time to show those people what it meant to play with fire. Early the next morning, a military helicopter appeared in the sky above the base. The leader introduced himself as the captain of the Night Owl Squad, nicknamed Silverblade, here on orders from the organization to take the Valkyrie test subject team for a periodic checkup. Han Xiao knew this. During his half year here, he had noticed that once every 2 months, Hila would be absent from the base for a day. Today was the same. She had left early. But this was also good. If that demoness Hila stayed, Han Xiao feared he wouldn't be able to retreat in one piece. All his patience and calculations were for this fateful day. Very soon, Lin Weixian's men would come to take Han Xiao for dissection. But how could he resign himself to that fate? Today, he would definitely escape this confinement. Then, Han Xiao suddenly picked up a photograph, apparently dropped by Hila in her haste to board the helicopter. The photo showed 2 little girls. It was easy to recognize the red-haired girl as a young Hila. Then the other one must be her sister, Aurora. Aurora also possessed an Esper ability, but her ability was completely different from her sister's combat talent. It was a supportive healing ability, capable of even extending life, a form of resurrection. In the storyline, at the end of Beta 1.0, Aurora was also dissected by the Germination organization. Her flesh and blood were used to create countless elixirs with healing effects. It wasn't an exaggeration to say drinking one would grant a second life. This event drove Hila mad, transforming her into the goddess of death, whose name would later strike fear into everyone. This photo was a very important clue. After Han Xiao picked it up, the system sent a new notification, a hint for a quest. Hila has a past she doesn't want anyone to know. Is she truly loyal to the Germination organization? You have grasped a clue. If you continue to investigate, perhaps. The notification trailed off after perhaps. But Han Xiao could figure out, even using his knees to think, that he should continue investigating this matter. He originally didn't want to meddle in other people's business, but after all, Hila had always genuinely hoped he could survive. So, it was better for him to accept the quest related to her sister. Thinking of this, Han Xiao pressed yes to accept the mission. Just then, Lin Weixian's voice echoed from the loudspeaker. Test Subject 0, on order, immediately proceed to the Central Hall and await instructions. Grand Hall guards, bring Test Subject 0 to me at once. Even though it was just a broadcast, Han Xiao could still recognize the impatience in the old man's tone. He put the photo away. Aurora and Hila's business could wait. The urgent matter at hand was to escape this place. Han Xiao pressed himself against the wall, peeking out cautiously. This base was equipped with rows of cameras, forming an inescapable net. Any foolish move would be akin to rushing to reincarnate. If that was the case, Han Xiao thought, then lifted his leg and started running. The surveillance room would be the first target. He had endured for half a year. Besides his mechanical abilities, he had actually learned a lot of combat experience from Hila. Therefore, the guards in the surveillance room were no match for Han Xiao. This was the first time in half a year at the base that his hands were stained with blood, and it wasn't his own. Now, the cameras above were all dealt with. Han Xiao left the room and continued running at top speed. His next target was that bastard Lin Weixian. 20 minutes later, Han Xiao obediently appeared before Lin Weixian's laboratory door. He even obediently cosplayed his usual foolish demeanor to be led inside by the guards. The old man couldn't hide his excitement upon seeing him. He had waited half a year for this day. It would be strange if he wasn't excited. You're finally here, just by dissecting you. I can study why you're different from the other test subjects. After I've excavated your value, your corpse will be qualified to become my specimen. From his words, one couldn't imagine he was about to take a human life. However, Lin Weixian probably didn't expect that as soon as he turned away, Han Xiao had coldly finished off the guard behind him. When Lin Weixian turned back and saw the panicked expression on the guard's face before he died, he too was startled. Impossible. How could a brainwashed test subject kill someone in the base? At this moment, Han Xiao raised his hand in a provocative salute. Lin Weixian's eyebrows furrowed tightly. He muttered, impossible? What's happening? Clearly, there have been no problems for the past half year. Han Xiao didn't intend to give him an answer, or rather, he answered with actions. As soon as Lin Weixian finished speaking, he felt a pain in his chest. Han Xiao had stabbed him. Lin Weixian's first reaction was to widen his eyes in astonishment, then glance towards the camera in the corner. But Han Xiao advised him to give up that thought, because the people in the surveillance room had already been dealt with by him. The pain made Lin Weixian slowly crumple. He coughed violently, blood gushing out. Only then did he realize something. Don't tell me you've been faking it for the past half year? Otherwise, how? Han Xiao chuckled in response. How could it be? How could everyone be deceived by you? Lin Weixian looked at Han Xiao with a bewildered expression, and his words were nothing short of praise for Han Xiao's overly professional acting. Han Xiao was very satisfied, and once again raised the dagger in his hand. In this world, nothing is impossible. He decisively slashed down, the sharp dagger creating a long wound on Lin Weixian's back. Lin Weixian fell face down on the floor, not understanding, even in his last moments, why things had turned out this way. He was the one who created Han Xiao, but now he was being finished off by his own test subject in such a painful way. After sending Lin Weixian on his way, Han Xiao took the restricted access card from him. In this entire base, only the identity cards of 3 people had the authority to open certain doors, and Lin Weixian was one of them. But if he just brazenly used the card to open doors, there would be no way out. It would be game over in 10 seconds when he faced the firepower of the guards. Han Xiao was intelligent. He wouldn't do something so foolish. Therefore, he changed into a guard's uniform. The next plan was to cut off communications, then take advantage of the ensuing chaos to act. The signal transmitter was on the 3rd basement level. The mechanical arm needed to break through walls was on the 2nd floor. The people in this base who had the strongest impression of Han Xiao were Gila, Test Subject 01, Baltar, and Lin Weixian. Currently, Gila and 01 were not at the base. Lin Weixian was dead, so Han Xiao could walk around in a guard's uniform without being recognized, as long as he didn't run into Baltar. However, it's often the case that what you fear most comes true. Just as Han Xiao thought this, someone's hand suddenly landed on his shoulder. Which squad are you from? Why haven't I seen you before? Han Xiao froze stiff, because the owner of that hand was none other than old Baltar. Han Xiao intentionally pulled his cap low, concealing part of his face, then casually said he was a new member of Team B. Baltar still wouldn't let it go. New? When did you arrive? Why don't I know? Besides, he found Han Xiao's voice very familiar, as if he had heard it somewhere before. Thinking of this, Baltar pulled out his gun and ordered Han Xiao to raise his head so he could see his face. Cold sweat was already trickling down Han Xiao's forehead. The situation was truly troublesome. He had originally wanted to use a plan, but now it was ruined. Han Xiao secretly took out his dagger. Hey, old man, I've always wanted to tell you something. You bastard should go see a psychiatrist. As he spoke, Han Xiao slashed his dagger toward Baltar. Reacting instinctively, Baltar retreated, raising his arm to cover his face, so Han Xiao's dagger only managed to cut his forearm. In return, the old man recognized him as Test Subject 0 and ordered the guards behind him to draw their guns and open fire. Han Xiao didn't get greedy for a fight. After pushing Baltar back, he fought his way out and ran. He estimated it would take only 2 more seconds to reach the machinery modification room. Meanwhile, Baltar would need about 3.7 seconds to catch up. The 3 guards wouldn't pose a threat to him within 4.2 seconds. And Han Xiao indeed successfully ducked into the machinery storage. Baltar thought he had hidden in there, so he sneered at Han Xiao's shallow thinking and advanced with his gun. However, when he was about a meter from the storage door, a light suddenly shone from the crack in the door. Baltar felt something was amiss. His eyes widened. He couldn't dodge, only watch as the door exploded. The guards outside were immediately thrown back. Han Xiao had equipped the lightweight mechanical arm. Baltar gritted his teeth, looking at him. What is this thing? Han Xiao didn't answer, just said concisely, you can go to hell now. It was truly cathartic for Han Xiao. Finally, he could take revenge for all the times this mad old man had stabbed him for missing shots. Han Xiao punched the opponent hard with the mechanical arm. He didn't even use his full strength, but the arm was still enough to pierce Baltar's chest. The old man couldn't resist, only stare wide-eyed in astonishment. Han Xiao's mechanical hand had grabbed his heart, then coldly crushed it. There was no chance for Baltar to survive. Looking at him, breathless on the ground, Han Xiao's face showed no clear expression. In half a year, Baltar had inflicted 420 knife wounds on him. At this moment, he really wanted to hear him say what it felt like to face retribution for stabbing others in the past. It was just a pity he would never have the chance to open his mouth again. Warning sirens blared throughout the base. Most of the guards had gathered here after seeing Deputy Supervisor Baltar brutally murdered. It was even more urgent, as the surveillance room wasn't responding. They immediately requested instructions from Lin Weixian, but received a notification from Team C that Lin Weixian was also dead. Damn it! A guard couldn't help but exclaim. Hila wasn't here. Both Lin Weixian and Baltar were gone. So wasn't the base like a headless snake? The captain of the guard team immediately issued an announcement telling all members not to panic, to turn over every stone to find the enemy, and authorizing them to fire at will. He assigned Team A to the armory, Team B to check the surveillance room, Team C to the laboratory to protect experimental data, and Team D to guard the main gate. When Team C had just reached the laboratory door, a huge explosion suddenly occurred, and the perpetrator of this explosion was none other than Han Xiao. All of Team C's guard were knocked down. Walkie-talkies lay scattered on the ground, the anxious voice of the guard captain still echoing from them. What was that sound? What happened over there? What was that loud explosion just now? Answer me. Han Xiao picked up a walkie-talkie, feigning serious injury, and replied, Cough, cough. Team C here. The target is injured and cornered in the lab, but we've also suffered heavy casualties. Send reinforcements quickly. Well done. The voice on the other end sounded eager. Try to hold on a little longer. Team B is on its way. A cunning smile appeared on Han Xiao's face. The sound of footsteps grew closer, signaling that the guards were approaching. Han Xiao had long prepared. He had planted a bomb in the laboratory and set a tripwire at the door. He waited for them all to trip and rush inside. Then he detonated the bomb. The loud explosion and debris flying from the laboratory left the remaining guards extremely bewildered. Seeing this, the captain immediately split his men, some to guard the main gate, the rest to follow him up to support their comrades. However, he didn't expect that during this chaos, Han Xiao would use Lin Weixian's identity card to open the gate. They immediately realized something was amiss. Wrong. Why can you open the gate? Who are you? Bye-bye, my sons. Han Xiao finally let loose, taking off his cap and speaking. Some of those men recognized him as Test Subject Zero, but it was too late. Han Xiao had escaped and locked the gate from the outside. How could those men open the gate to chase him now? This was the first time in half a year that Han Xiao felt the air outside. It was indeed incredibly refreshing. Then, Hila received an urgent call informing her of the situation at the base. After hearing it, Hila found it utterly absurd, but her superior had given the order, so she had no choice but to return quickly. On the way back, a question kept replaying in Hila's mind. Impossible? Could it be that Zero has been faking it all this time? Not only Hila, but the entire Night Owl squad also had to return to the base for a newly assigned mission, to capture Han Xiao. However, sending so many people just to capture one test subject was the greatest insult to them. Captain Silverblade ordered his squad members, capture Han Xiao within 30 minutes. Whoever succeeds gets half a day off. Han Xiao was currently hiding behind a large tree, observing silently. He knew the Germination organization would send people to hunt him down, he just didn't expect it to be this fast. There were a total of 3 vehicles, but he was still quite confident, thinking that in the darkness of the night, pursuit would be futile. Yet just as he thought this, Han Xiao was shot. The cold bullet grazed his left shoulder, slightly damaging his outer armor, and he himself was bleeding. Han Xiao suppressed his pain, not making a sound. Damn it, he hadn't considered there would be snipers. If there were snipers, they must also be equipped with infrared goggles. There was no other way. Han Xiao had to use his remaining experience and attribute points to enhance his close combat skills and find a way to approach this sniper. Han Xiao started running, but the enemy's bullets continuously chased him. As expected of specially trained operatives, they were tough. After several exchanges, Han Xiao gradually narrowed the distance and discovered the enemy's position. Only when he was very close did the sniper realize his presence and hastily drew his pistol. But it was too late. At this distance, Han Xiao had the complete advantage with his formidable close combat skills. The wrestling experience Hila had taught him, combined with the lightweight mechanical arm, helped him send the enemy flying, a one-hit kill. After eliminating a special operative from the Night Owl squad, Han Xiao received a whopping 1,500 experience points and 3 G-type grenades. This was quite a haul. He was very satisfied. Meanwhile, the remaining members of the squad, seeing their comrade taken out, began to panic and fired continuously. Han Xiao immediately used the grenades he had just received, throwing them straight at the enemy. A single explosion helped him take down 2 more, earning another 3,000 experience points. You dare shoot at me? Then go to hell and enjoy the view. Seeing the situation wasn't good, the special ops soldiers started throwing grenades. Several grenades headed towards Han Xiao simultaneously. A massive explosion boomed. The special ops soldiers thought he would definitely die. However, when the smoke cleared, an unusual light suddenly appeared from behind. Get down, one of them shouted, but it was too late. 3 special ops soldiers from a Night Owl squad were taken down by Han Xiao's mechanical arm. Silverblade, the squad leader, was perhaps the most severely impacted, as they were defeated by a test subject who had been looked down upon for half a year. At the scene, he was the only survivor, though he was also seriously injured. Silver Blade swayed as he stood up, his eyes filled with hatred and fury. He hissed, "Just a mere test subject, yet you dare to kill all my brothers. You're really tired of living, bastard." Heavy panting echoed through the dark forest. Han Xiao leaned wearily against a tree, intently looking at the stats of his mechanical arm. The durability of the power-assisted arm was now below 10%. Anxiety made his heart feel like it was about to burst from his chest. Out of bullets, equipment about to break, not much stamina left. I can't drag this out with him. It has to be a quick fight. Thanks to his sharp intuition, he sensed danger quietly approaching. From a distance, Silver Blade rushed forward, emanating killing intent. The knife in his hand flashed, lunging from above, aiming straight for the resting Han Xiao. The resentment from remembering his fallen comrades made his roar even more tragic. The murderous slash swept horizontally, but Han Xiao ducked low, the attack narrowly missing his head. He pushed off the tree behind him for momentum. A neat flip sent his entire body soaring towards the opponent. Neither was willing to back down. The evenly matched battle quickly drained both their stamina. With his vast experience, Silver Blade quickly kicked at an opening. The powerful kick struck Han Xiao hard in the abdomen, sending him flying backward like a rag doll. The constricting pain, as if his insides were being twisted, made Han Xiao buckle. This guy is formidable. This was clearly the perfect opportunity to finish him off. Yet, Silver Blade just stood silently, quietly. Clenching his fists, his body trembled, and he collapsed to the ground, agonizing over his mistake. It's because of my complacency that my brothers had to die in vain. Things have come to this. I don't want to live alone in this world anymore. The flames of hatred burned in the hand gripping the blade. But before that, the warrior who had lost everything. Now, there was a new reason to cling to the fragile thread of life remaining. "I'll send you to hell with my own hands." Silver Blade, fueled by a surge of suicidal rage, charged straight at his enemy, his eyes fixed on Han Xiao, as if to memorize his foe's face before the blade fell. Alas, what a pity! That punch was declined by Han Xiao with utmost impoliteness. Whether by chance or design, the steel blade happened to stab right into an electrical joint of the mechanical arm. Panic began to flicker across Silver Blade's face. Damn it, it stuck! But smelling the stench of death approaching, he was too terrified to react. Seizing that moment of distraction, Han Xiao activated the last vestiges of energy in the power-assisted arm. An unyielding punch was unleashed straight into Silver Blade's face, shattering his jawbone. In that instant, not only did the enemy breathe his last, but the mechanical arm also met a heroic end. A notification panel appeared immediately. "You have eliminated the Night Owl Squad Captain. Received 3,000 EXP. Though Han Xiao had eliminated his opponent, his nerves couldn't rest yet. Pant. The arm's information panel gave him a new report. Power-assisted arm durability dropped to 0%. Equipment destroyed. Han Xiao gathered the still usable fragments, feeling a bit vexed. Damn it, it's broken. Fortunately, he had saved its blueprint. He just needed to gather enough materials to craft it again later. The fierce battle ended, leaving behind a forest cloaked in unspoken tension. He couldn't stay here long. Germination forces would soon arrive. The mountains and forests were vast and open, yet his heart was lost, unsure where to go. Whatever, first find a populated place, get a detailed map, then figure things out. Germination Organization Base. Conference Hall, a group of people gathered due to the bloody incident. The leader's roar made the atmosphere heavy. Damn it! A failed specimen managed to eliminate 30 fully armed guards, destroy all experimental data, completely wipe out an elite Night Owl squad, and cause us to lose Lin Weixian. Ku Luo, Koi Lang, wasn't concerned about the lives of his subordinates, only the assets destroyed in this affair. Killed people, burned down the house, and then skipped away freely? Are you telling me a fairy tale? A subordinate named Wu Xian, standing in the eye of the storm, still managed to control his voice to complete the report. According to our speculation, the Valkyrie experiment caused a mutation in Zero's body, far exceeding our projections. And the abilities he gained are not what we thought. Not only does he have a talent for machinery, but he also possesses a very high IQ. The leader's sharp mind quickly grasped the crucial point. You mean the brainwashing had no effect on him, right? The subordinate was sweating profusely, hesitantly presenting the new information. I'm afraid so. Zero's behavior in the 6 months post-experiment was 90% an act. He had planned his escape from the very beginning. Hila's responsibility in this matter forced her to speak up. I know Zero's combat strength best. It's impossible for him to suddenly become so strong in just a few short days. It's possible he has awakened a special Esper ability. Those sharp words pierced Ku Luo's mind like daggers, making him roar in anger. Enough. Possible speculations. I don't want this nonsense. Suspend all experiments until the potential dangers in the Valkyrie solution are identified, and re-brainwash all existing test subjects. I don't want another Zero to appear. His emotionless words were a double-edged sword. Besides instilling fear in his subordinates with his authority, they also bred resentment. How infuriating! You even doubt my loyalty. A pursuit team was quickly formed under 01's call. This subordinate wishes to lead my brothers to hunt down Zero. Kuluo smirked faintly, then slowly gave the order, his tone full of initiative and absolute control. Very well. Bring Zero back to me, dead or alive. Dry branches created a desolate and mournful atmosphere. A strange white smoke curled upwards, silently swirling in the air. The campfire crackled as chicken fat dripped down, releasing a fragrant aroma. Han Xiao turned the skewer over the fire, his heart heavy with the inescapable, ironic circumstances. He'd been in the forest for 7 days. Food and fresh water were gone. It was frustrating. Luckily, his wounds weren't infected. It seemed adding points to endurance was the right call. Food was essential to fuel the spirit. Even a warrior like him couldn't ignore the delicious chicken before him. His weary eyes made him resemble a homeless wanderer, lost with no way back. How much longer until I can get out of this forest? I'm not Bear Grylls. Living in the wild for so long might turn me into an idiot. I need to find a populated place quickly. Brushing aside a layer of defense, he strode forward, oblivious to a strange tripwire stretched across the path. Killing intent spread from his gaze like a poisonous mist, a chill running down his spine from the imminent danger. The moment Han Xiao turned, a net fell from above, enveloping his still bewildered figure. Hidden behind the rough tree bark, the stalker watched his prey's every move. Zisha, Tuha, pressed the muzzle of his rifle against the unfortunate victim. Don't move. His purpose was revealed just seconds later. Hand over anything valuable you have. Han Xiao was speechless at the bad luck he'd encountered since getting this new body. No way. Getting robbed by a petty thief in the middle of the jungle. His unwavering, fearless gaze made Zisha frown and growl. What are you staring at? I'm talking to you. Unfortunately for this robber, he got nothing and instead had his throat grabbed unceremoniously by Han Xiao. A fist landed, yet the victim didn't even utter a word. The punch straight to the chest demonstrated Han Xiao's decisiveness in danger. The momentary trauma was too much for Zisha's internal organs. Blood instantly gushed from his nose and mouth. This was Trang Tuan Kiet, a way of saying he was thoroughly beaten. He quickly knelt, abandoning all self-respect, and kowtowed an apology. Big brother, I was blind and didn't recognize Mount Tai. Please spare me. I know I was wrong. Han Xiao showed no pity, his voice laced with sarcasm. Only now you know you're wrong? Your gun barrel is bent, and you still go out robbing? If you fired it, you'd injure yourself. Did you know that? Zisha trembled at the unusual aura before him, his voice faltering as he repeated those words. Wrong, I was wrong. The tables had turned. Han Xiao, now like an arrogant superior, questioned, where were you wrong? Zisha stared at the ground, his spirit crushed, not daring to look at Han Xiao. I thought. Perhaps he thought that after such a long time, his captor would have reconsidered. No one expected Zisha's words to be so foolish. I should have brought more than one gun. It was so ridiculous it made Han Xiao disbelieve his own ears. You mother of asterisker, you're quite the joker. The dirt-filled head, thinking he had been spared, began to crawl away. Big brother, if there's nothing else, I'll just leave. I'm not good at much, but I know how to leave. Before he could shuffle away, Han Xiao's hand, like a vice, gripped his jacket. His voice, light as a cloud, carried an extreme threat. You try to trap me with a net, and now you want to run? You think I'm that easygoing? Tell me, are there any towns or villages nearby? This first-time encounter made the weak-spirited Zisha burst into tears. Yes. About 1 kilometer east of here, there's a gathering place for drifters. I truly know I was wrong. Your Excellency, please spare my life. True to the principle of act first, talk later, Han Xiao clenched his fist and swung. Fear the strong made Zisha squeeze his eyes shut. Thus, he didn't see Han Xiao's hand change from a fist to a light 2-finger tap, knocking the foolish head once to enlighten him. Instead of opening his eyes to check immediately like a normal person, friend Zisha still waited to be hit again. After some time, feeling no further action from the person in front, he slowly peeked an eye open. Han Xiao, like a seasoned elder, gave the thief a few life lessons. I'm not as magnanimous as you think. Scram, don't do evil deeds in the future. Deep in the green forest was the drifters' gathering place. Han Xiao calmly strolled in with his bag, like a mother going to a street market. Cao Luo, Kio Lo, seeing an unfamiliar face, warmly greeted him. Friend, buy some supplies? Quality goods, big sale. Bartering, absolutely a good deal. Han Xiao's eyes lit up like he was bargain hunting on the last day of the year. Bartering? Good, I don't have much money on me. His order was placed as soon as he checked the remaining items in his bag. I need a map, 3 liters of water, 5 kilograms of food, dried meat, bread, anything is fine. These and used bullets, are they enough for payment? Cao Luo's eyes were glued to the items in the other's hand, his pupils dilating slightly. Ammunition. Greed surged within him like a tsunami when he saw the large backpack behind Han Xiao. Little brother, I'm afraid these few bullets aren't enough. The treacherous merchant jacked up the price, hoping the buyer would fall into his trap. 150 bullets. Han Xiao wasn't stupid enough to fall for this trick. Are you quoting an exorbitant price? The man shamelessly admitted it. So what if I am? Within a 100-mile radius, this is the only supply point. If you have the guts, don't buy. From behind, a long pipe tapped the man's head hard enough to bend the pipe. Huang Jun, Hong Tuan, spoke up, chiding him in a calm tone, as if he was all too familiar with the other's teasing nature. Cao Luo, you're tricking outsiders again. It's not easy for people who travel. Do less of these unethical things. The man was startled at being caught. Huang Jun, Cao Luo gloomily looked at the fat prey slipping from his grasp. It was so hard for me to find an order. In contrast to that sullen demeanor, Huang Jun cheerfully chatted with the newcomer. This fellow is an old swindler. Don't you ever believe him. Looking at you, you must have been in the forest for a long time. If you don't mind, you can come to my place to rest and have something to eat. The things you want aren't worth much. Wait a moment, I'll get them for you. Having survived in the forest for so long, Han Xiao couldn't refuse this hospitality. Okay, thank you. His brain, running at full capacity, finally relaxed. This person doesn't look bad. Going with him for a bit should be fine. Even if he's a bad person, with my current strength, I don't need to be afraid. It was rare to meet new people during this period. Huang Jun warmly talked to him like an honored guest. This is my wife, and Han Xiao greeted her politely. Hello, and kindly welcome the strange guest. You are Lao Huang's, old Huang's guest welcome. Here's some homemade food. I don't know if it suits your taste. I hope you don't mind. Her modest words were completely shattered when she laid out a Manchu Han imperial feast, a lavish spread. For someone who hadn't eaten properly for a long time, 3 days to be exact, this was like a miracle, a blessing from above. Can I really eat this? His hands flew across the dishes, eating voraciously. With every bite, his favorable impression of the host increased. Nom nom, so delicious. Big brother Huang, you're truly a good person. Seeing his guest eat so heartily, Huang Jun's spirits also lifted. Haha, if you like it, eat more. Night fell. The small tent was lit warmly. Han Zhao's appreciative voice could be heard outside. This gun of yours isn't bad, brother. Were you a soldier before? As he suspected, Huang Jun smiled faintly and confirmed, yes, it accompanied me in protecting the nation for many years. It's rare to see an artifact so well preserved. Han Zhao's eyes lit up. You've maintained it very well. Huang Jun looked up wistfully, as if reliving that golden age. After all, it's my old friend, though it's not usable now. The motherland was annexed by a great power. I'm just an ordinary person. I don't understand any of this Six Nations or Germination stuff, so I don't want to be dragged into war again. Under the bright light in the hut, and quietly washed dishes in the peaceful space. The two men continued to chat for a few more moments before drifting off to sleep. I just want to live peacefully now. It's getting late. You can rest at my place tonight. Leave tomorrow. Then I'll trouble you both. When the sun shone everywhere, Huang Jun's regretful voice was heard. Leaving so early, though very grateful for the couple's special affection, Han Xiao insisted on leaving according to his plan. I still have a long way to go. Thank you for these 2 days. He saw Zisha cowering in a vehicle and couldn't help but turn and ask, is he your son? Is this not the first time he's been misunderstood like this? Huang Jun calmly explained, no, he's my nephew. His parents unfortunately died in the war. He lives with us now. Last night he came back late, so I let him sleep in the vehicle, conveniently helping to keep an eye on things. Learning this new information, Han Xiao sighed. Truly a spirited young lad. Big brother, you must be very worried. Huang Jun's reaction was as expected. Isn't that right? This kid has made me furious countless times. Time keeps passing, so I can't delay. I'm leaving, big brother Huang. We'll meet again if fate allows. Though they hadn't known each other long, Huang Jun always showed a rare sincerity. Travel safely. Next time we meet, you absolutely mustn't leave in such a hurry. Remember to have a good drink with me. The people left behind watched his figure gradually disappear behind the trees, like parents seeing their child off to the city. A short time later, a convoy of off-road vehicles sped through the forests. A soldier got out of a vehicle and reported the latest situation to the captain. Within a 100-mile radius, this is the only supply point. Zero is very likely here. A superior voice called out, demanding the attention of the locals. Hey, you people! 01 held up Han Zhao's picture while carefully observing the expressions of the crowd. Have you ever seen this person? No one responded, making him angrily shout. I'll ask you one last time. Have you ever seen him? Faced with the other's impatience, Huang Jun just calmly shook his head. Never seen him. Traveling so far and getting nothing made 01 extremely irritable. Damn it. Looks like we're searching in the wrong direction. Turn back. Suddenly, he sensed something unusual. His gaze fell on Zisha, trembling in the crowd. A reaction like that is practically an admission. Seize that kid. His next command made Zisha shrink back involuntarily. Search him thoroughly. His comrades quickly subdued the target for their leader to inspect. Suddenly, 01 pulled a gun from the other person. He then sternly questioned, this is the gun Zero stole from the Night Owl squad. If it didn't come here, how did it end up in your hands? He decisively assumed a ready-to-attack stance, loudly urging, spit it out now. Not stopping there, 01 pulled in the surrounding people to apply pressure. If you don't talk, all of you will die. Cao Luo, terrified, raised his hands in surrender, his eyes darting around for help. Unable to maintain his composure, he anxiously questioned, Huang Jun, you clearly sheltered him. How can you say you don't know? Tell them quickly, don't get us all killed. 01 turned his gun towards Huang Jun, shouting, quick, tell me where he is. In contrast to the current chaos, Huang Jun just closed his eyes, thought for a moment, and sighed. Then he raised his hand and pointed to the path on the left. Seeing this, 01 looked triumphant. Wouldn't it have been better to be honest from the start? You scumbag? Though he got the desired answer, his finger didn't leave the trigger. Next is the price for deceiving us. Then, a deafening shot rang out in the remote forest, signaling a mass execution. Scene change. Edge of the forest. Han Xiao sat dazedly, looking at the surrounding scenery. Suddenly, his expression turned grave, his eyelids twitching constantly. He had a premonition that something bad had happened. Thinking of this, he rummaged through and rechecked all his belongings. My backpack. It feels like someone touched it. It's full of equipment taken from germination. If it appeared in their settlement, I'm afraid it would bring disaster upon them. Han Xiao muttered, carefully inventorying the items. Machine gun, 11. Correct. 300 bullets, also correct. Suddenly he paled. Pistols, 10. Oh no, one is missing. That means Big Brother Huang's nephew must have stolen it. On the path back to the old camp were horrifyingly long streaks of blood. Han Zhao's footsteps halted before these brutal traces. The scene before him was chaotic. Bodies lay strewn about after the massacre. Han Xiao was stunned, his pupils wide with disbelief. He clenched his fists, blaming himself. I was still too late in the end. Suddenly, a dying hand reached out, seeking help. Don't go. Hearing this, Han Xiao anxiously bent down to assess the situation. Cao Luo lay miserably on the ground, clutching Han Zhao's ankle, explaining, Germination, it was the Germination organization. We didn't reveal your whereabouts, so they killed people to vent their anger. Tears streamed down his face as he trembled and begged. Considering Huang Jun once treated you well, you must avenge us. Hearing this, Han Xiao closed his eyes and pondered for a moment. Suddenly, another trembling hand reached out. Big brother, don't believe him. Zisha was dying on the ground, his eyes filled with tears of resentment. It was him. He sold out my uncle. My uncle, he gasped for breath, gesturing towards Huang Jun's corpse, which was still pointing in the direction he had used to deceive the enemy. Even in death, he didn't reveal your direction. This scene stunned Han Xiao. Big brother Huang. He approached the corpse and took off his own jacket, analyzing the situation. The direction he pointed was completely opposite to where I went. Han Xiao draped the jacket over Huang Jun's body, showing his final respect. Cao Luo, seeing himself exposed, trembled and refuted. No, that's not it. He looked fearfully at Han Xiao, who was now cocking his gun, and hastily begged. Friend, let me explain. Before Cao Luo could finish, Han Xiao scowled, disgusted by his words. Even in death, Big Brother Huang didn't sell out a chance acquaintance like me. Each subsequent word was like a verdict for the traitor. Such a man, betrayed by you, his longtime friend. Despicable villain. Han Xiao coldly aimed the black muzzle forward. Go to the Yellow Springs, underworld, and repent to Big Brother Huang. A sharp sound rang out, sending the turncoat straight to his grave. The sky was still clear, and the forest still green, but the camp was plunged into a deathly silence, its owner never to return. Han Xiao lifted his hand, pushed open a tent flap, and stepped inside, his mind quickly calculating. They searched in the direction Big Brother Huang pointed, and found nothing. 8 out of 10, they'll return the same way. I just need to ambush them on that route. Suddenly, his eyes lifted to something that caught his attention. A simple sniper rifle leaned against the wall. The system quickly popped up, triggering an E-rank mission. Avenge. The mission required eliminating the entire squad. Reward, 1500 EXP. This information made him involuntarily whisper, You also want to avenge your old friend? Huh? Han Xiao entered the room, appended his backpack, and emptied everything onto a table. Several pistols, and even a submachine gun. He quickly disassembled them, then meticulously reassembled parts on a Huang Jun's rifle. Each careful movement clearly showed his respect for the deceased owner. In just a moment, the old sniper rifle had become an improved sniper rifle. The system quickly provided a brief assessment of the new weapon. Han Xiao shouldered his backpack, rifle in hand, and walked out the door, his eyes filled with determination. I'll make you regret this. Late at night, a crescent moon hung in the quiet sky. A convoy of military vehicles snaked along the winding mountain road. Han Xiao, hidden in the darkness on the mountainside, intently watched 2 vehicles pass by. 01 sat by the car window, looking out, voicing his speculation. We didn't find him this way, so he must be in the opposite direction. Yeah, how long until the vehicles can still run? Suddenly, boom, the vehicle he was in lurched slightly. 01 leaned forward from the back, shouting, What happened? The driver, terrified, tilted his head back and replied, It feels like a tire blew out. 01 frowned, stating the obvious. How could a tire explode from pressure? I'm afraid we've been hit. Sitting in the vehicle, 01 directly ordered the armored car to turn around and quickly approach the target. Han Xiao, hugging his rifle behind a large tree, pursed his lips as he watched the vehicle stray into his trap. The tactic is precise. He smirked contemptuously. Too bad, too predictable. As soon as he finished speaking, a series of massive explosions thundered, shaking the surrounding space, flinging the heavy vehicle into the air. The two armored vehicles, like autumn leaves, were blown off the cliff by grenades, tumbling amidst smoke and fire. Soldiers in the vehicles were either dead or injured. Those still breathing tried to crawl out. Coughing sounds echoed incessantly. But if Yama, king of hell, wants you on the 1st of the month, he won't let you live till the 15th. Just as one stood up, a copper candy bullet pierced his heart. A rain of bullets flew, and the men fell one by one. The last bullet found 01. He leaped high, dodging the whistling, spinning bullet, narrowly escaping death twice. He looked around fearfully, then challenged loudly. Who the hell are you? Show yourself. The people called, and the imperial court, Han Shao, appeared, but this appearance only made 01 more horrified. Han Shao stood against the light, sniper rifle in hand. 01 stammered, confirming. 0. The more he looked, the more 01 couldn't suppress his panic, repeatedly denying, no, impossible. You're clearly a good-for-nothing. How could you wipe out an elite squad? I don't believe it. Han Shao looked straight into the other's eyes and offered sincere advice. Someone else said something similar to you before. He stepped in front of the opponent and finished. The grass on his grave is now 2 zhang, several meters tall. Shit. A communicator fell beside 01's hand, a loud shout emanating from it. Enough. A screen materialized between them. Ku Luo spoke in a low voice. I am the leader of the Germination organization. If you agree to return to the organization and accept judgment, I can give you a chance to retain your memories and a higher position. You will no longer be a test subject. Han Shao raised the rifle in his hand provocatively. What makes you think I'll serve you? The leader earnestly preached to him. The organization is God's will. Serving us is divinely ordained. If you refuse, this world, though large, will have no place for you. These meaningless words made Han Shao close his eyes, bow his head, and give a faint, derisive smile. Then, he opened his eyes and spoke earth-shattering words. I will destroy you all. As he finished speaking, a deep bullet hole pierced 01's chest. He went to collect his boxed lunch, died, immediately, without a chance for last words. The system popped up an achievement panel. Eliminated Valkyrie test subject number 1. Gained 900 EXP. Revenge complete. Gained 15,000 EXP. Han Shao looked up at the starry sky, a thoughtful expression on his face. Compared to Germination, my own strength is indeed insignificant. I now need to rely on some major power capable of resisting Germination. He left the rifle that had just wiped out the enemy leaning against a tree. Beside was a newly made wreath. His figure gradually disappeared into the night. To the Star Dragon Nation. The train chugged along the long, winding tracks. The carriages behind were filled with various poultry, squawking loudly. Han Shao sat on a pile of straw with the chickens. He swiped the system screen, studying the current situation. Apart from Germination, only the 6 nations possess promotion knowledge. For promotion quests, I can only join one of the 6 nations. On the screen before him, a series of information was displayed. Battle with Germination organization initiated. Favorability -1000, hated. Reputation -1000, deserter. System reminder. A rank, main quest triggered. Main quest. Reward based on the degree of damage inflicted on the Germination organization. Current progress, 0%. Suddenly, Han Shao noticed some data. He sat up straight, reading more carefully. Damage requirement must reach 20% to be considered complete. The train continued to chug forward. Han Shao was deep in thought. It seems it will be difficult for me to complete this mission alone. The system screen posed a question. Do you agree to accept the mission? Han Shao unhesitatingly clicked yes on the left. Actually, even though it's difficult, I'm quite satisfied. This mission suits me perfectly. After getting off the train, Han Shao shouldered his backpack and walked towards Star Dragon Nation's western capital. Observing his surroundings, there were many soldiers on guard, requiring identification checks. He told himself to be careful. I'm currently wanted by Germination. Star Dragon Nation must have also received intelligence. 8 or 9 out of 10 people trying to cross the border won't make it. But Han Shao wasn't worried about this at all. He smiled calmly and thought, this won't be a problem for me. With the experience he had accumulated, Han Shao had a plan to bypass the strict checks. In my previous life, wanted players couldn't cross borders through official channels. Musing, he walked to a deserted outskirts area near a riverbank. There a man was sitting under a tree, smoking. Han Shao thought to himself, I just need to find the NPC in charge of illegal immigration, pay some money, and I can enter the city smoothly. Han Shao walked towards the man, exchanged a few pleasantries, then made his request. Brother Black, Hack Lao Xie, get me into the city. He also tossed out a bag of items as payment. Use these as travel expenses. The scarred-faced NPC remained silent and emotionless, but eventually accepted his offer. Upon arrival, the NPC politely informed him, we're here. Go safely. After getting inside, Han Shao organized the information he knew. Star Dragon. one of the 6 nations of planet Aquamarine. In the last war, Germanation formed an alliance with an enemy nation. At a critical moment, they launched multiple terrorist attacks within Star Dragon's territory. Star Dragon almost lost its position among the 6 nations. Therefore, Star Dragon has the deepest hatred for Germanation. Joining Star Dragon is definitely the best choice. Wandering around, he couldn't help but feel nostalgic. This place is still the same as in my memory. Through this square, 2 kilometers east, at the end of the road, there's a repair shop. Relying on his memory, he sought out places where he had discovered a hidden storyline he'd read about in his previous life. Han Xiao strode confidently towards his destination. No one knew that he had to get there first. In his previous life, this opportunity hadn't belonged to him, and this time, he absolutely couldn't miss it. A moment later, he arrived at a small, very well-maintained shop. The person he was looking for was right here. The arrival of a stranger didn't interrupt the chess game of the people inside. Old Man Gao, holding a black piece, challenged, "If you have the skill, try this move of mine." Old Man Liu, holding white pieces, retorted, "Bring it on." Watching their confident play, Han Xiao couldn't help but be impressed. The black and white pieces intertwined, the situation intense. Truly experts, he thought. Suddenly, he paused, sensing something strange. Wait a minute. He moved closer to look at the board more carefully. Han Xiao was speechless when he realized they were just playing a children's game. Damn it, it's just tic-tac-toe. I was almost fooled. A voice caught his attention. Han Xiao looked to the other side. Lu Qian, wiping sweat from her brow, smiled warmly and greeted him. "What do you need repaired?" Her appearance piqued his curiosity. Why is it young lady? And quite cute too, he mused, tilting his head to assess her. He hadn't noticed such a girl here before. Since she had asked, Han Xiao stated his purpose. "Excuse me, are you recruiting apprentices here?" Lu Qian's face lit up with joy, and she quickly replied, "Apprentices? Yes. She walked over to Han Xiao and welcomed him with great enthusiasm. "Quick, come inside and sit down. Be careful not to catch a cold." Her slightly excessive warmth made him a bit flustered. Catch a cold? Is that some local slang? Lu Qian handed Han Xiao an old, dilapidated radio. "This thing has been broken for a very long time. Before accepting you, she wanted to test your skills. If you can fix it, you can stay." Han Xiao took what she handed him and calmly replied, "All right." Old Man Liu, who had been sitting aside, suddenly spoke up. "Wait a moment." He looked at Han Xiao with a wary gaze, seemingly not trusting the young man who had just arrived. "Brat, why have you come here to be an apprentice?" Old Man Liu's stern demeanor made Han Xiao slightly tense. Could it be that he knows my identity? Impossible. Stay calm. First probe a bit, he thought, then answer the old man's question in a composed tone. "I just want to find a job." Lu Qian placed a hand on Han Xiao's shoulder, as if to comfort him, and also to persuade her grandfather. "Grandpa, don't harass him. He obviously came here looking for work. It was hard enough to get someone to come. Don't scare him away." Old Man Liu stopped playing chess, gathered his pieces, put them in a box, and let out a cold snort. He stood up, looked at Han Xiao, then crossed his arms decisively and said, "I am the owner of this shop. If you want to work here, you need to pass my test." These words startled Han Xiao internally. "A test?" Without waiting for the other party to speak again, he asked, "Senior, may I ask what kind of test?" Old Man Liu stared, as if wanting to assess his capabilities. "You brat, you got some backbone." Then listen carefully. He pointed to his friend and issued the challenge. "Within 3 hours, you must craft a prosthetic limb for him. If he is satisfied, you can stay." Old Man Gao turned around, perplexed. What does this have to do with me? Then, suddenly, he found the young man somewhat familiar. I remember this person. Lu Qian interjected indignantly, defending the handsome young man. "Grandpa, making a prosthetic? Just drawing the schematics takes several hours. How can it be made in only 3 hours?" Old Man Liu grew angry and loudly mocked. "Lu Qian, don't interfere. To work here, one needs some skill. If you can't do it, then get out early." Han Xiao said nothing, just smiled faintly, a satisfied expression on his face, and looked at the old man arrogantly. "All right, I accept." Hearing this, she felt this person had a problem. "Are you crazy? How can you possibly do that?" Regardless of her assessment, he went to the workshop and immediately got to work. Lu Qian, holding a pile of rolled-up papers, said cheerfully, "Here's what you requested. If we sketch the structure together, it will save a lot of time." But Han Xiao refused her kind offer. "No need for sketches. I already have the complete structure." She widened her eyes in surprise. "It's only been 2 minutes, and you already have it?" Old Man Liu approached from somewhere, hands in his pockets, and sneered, "Keep boasting." He pointed to himself with a disdainful tone. 2 minutes to design a complete structure? Even an expert like me couldn't do it, let alone a brat like you." Han Zhao's expression seemed to say, "Only the weak are afraid." He wasn't weak, so he wasn't afraid. Well then, just you wait and see. A short while later, the sound of machinery echoed from the room. Old Man Liu watched intently, still not believing this young man could pull it off. I want to see what this brat can make." At this moment, Han Xiao was engrossed in his work, oblivious to the old man still monitoring his every move. This is the initial form of the prosthetic limb. Looking at the semi-finished product on the table, the astonishment in Old Man Lu's heart grew even more. Not a single redundant component. Could it be that this brat prepared in advance? Unsure if it was due to fear or genuine underestimation of Han Xiao, he bluntly criticized, "Young man, you won't be able to make it." Lu Qian, standing by, immediately retorted, "Grandpa, you're clearly making things difficult for him." The prosthetic hand was being assembled completely, connected to the already finished arm section. Then he casually held up the finished product and reported, "It's done." Everyone was astonished by this incredible speed. What? You really made it? Even Lu Qian, though she had faith, hadn't expected this. 2 hours and 3 minutes, my God. However, the task also required Old Man Gao to be satisfied, so Han Xiao immediately put it on him. "Sir, please try it on." Then he asked for his feedback. "How is it? Are you satisfied?" Perhaps the unfamiliar sensation made him freeze for a moment. Then he raised the hand, examined it closely, and shared his feelings. "This thing is so flexible, just like a real arm, and there's no chafing sensation at all. This is excellent. I'm very satisfied." This assessment delighted Han Xiao, who exclaimed, "Yes," then crossed his arms and generously offered, "If you like it, sir, then please keep it." Old Man Gao wasn't polite either. "I'll remember this favor." Seeing things go so smoothly, Old Man Lu was displeased and shouted, "Isn't this thing made with my materials? If you want to talk about favors, it should be my favor." Presenting Buddha with borrowed flowers, "Have you asked for my opinion?" Though reprimanded, Han Xiao wasn't afraid and retorted, "Then may I ask, sir, can I stay now?" A man's word is his bond, so Old Man Lu could only leave resentfully. If you want to stay, then stay. Let's see how long you can last." Han Xiao watched his old back, thinking, "Very good, I've secured a foothold. Old Man Lu's collection of blueprints will sooner or later fall into my hands." Old Man Gao then waved goodbye. "I'll be going now, Brother Lu. Let's meet again when you're free." Old Man Lu grumbled, "Scram, scram, scram. Don't come here anymore, you terrible teammate." Han Xiao closed his eyes, satisfied, thinking, "Here I can quickly increase my mechanic attributes. Finally, I can feel a bit at ease." Old Man Gao walked out to his car, like a CEO, a bodyguard already standing there, holding the door open. "Welcome back, sir," he replied coolly. The bodyguard respectfully handed him a phone. "You have a call, sir." He took the call. From the other end, "It's me." Then he reported the news he had just learned to the other party. "Notify the intelligence department. Zero, the wanted criminal with a bounty from German organization, has entered the Western capital. In Aquila Star, Strategic Defense Department, Division 13 headquarters." Huang Tian's voice echoed steadily in the elevator. If Zero entered the Western capital alone, it means he's looking for shelter. His face was expressionless as he continued his analysis. But being wanted by German organization for 1 million Aquila coins means two possibilities. First, he possesses crucial intelligence. Second, his strength is formidable, making his danger level hard to assess. His subordinate couldn't help but ask, "The higher-ups mean a gentle approach?" He replied without hesitation. "Then prepare for both scenarios. Implement protection protocols. Don't let the Meng family spies in the Western capital discover his existence." They gradually entered the control room. Huang Tian wanted to control the information, so he ordered a soldier from the surveillance team. "Block all information related to Zero. Don't let any information from the intelligence network leak out." The other party immediately replied, "Yes, sir." The sky was still a deep blue, with a few wisps of clouds. In District 7, Grow Scrapyard, sunlight shone down across the yard. Leah Lin, the boss of District 7's gray zone, leaned back in a chair, undoubtedly suspicious of the identity of the person opposite him. "Speak. Who are you, and what do you want with me?" Han Xiao didn't want to waste words, a pistol already in his hand. "Who I am isn't important. I believe you'll want to cooperate with me." Seemingly recognizing the item in his hand, a subordinate behind him exclaimed in surprise, "My gun. When did you take it?" Han Xiao skillfully disassembled the gun part by part, so the man could see his ability. The profit from firearms and ammunition transactions are extremely lucrative. As if certainly Lin wouldn't miss this opportunity, he bluntly stated his price. "I can help you reduce costs. You just need to pay a small processing fee." The previous display didn't seem to be enough to convince him. He looked skeptical. "You can manufacture guns?" Realizing the significant benefits, he began to consider. "How do you want to cooperate?" Not keeping him waiting, Han Xiao confidently provided the information. "Later, I'll give you a list. You'll be responsible for preparing the materials and components. I'll be responsible for manufacturing and assembly. I'll come every morning to work for 2 hours." In the room, his voice echoed steadily. "The fee for each pistol is 1,500, and I also want to take some machinery knowledge that I'm interested in." The man felt Han Xiao was being too assertive and immediately tried to negotiate. "The materials are all mine. I can only give you 1,000. Hearing these words, Han Xiao refused to compromise and turned to walk straight out the door. Seeing the delicious bait about to slip away, Leah Lin had to yield. "Wait, I agree to your price." Han Xiao didn't even bother to look back. "Then prepare the machinery, equipment, and materials. I'll come back tomorrow. Now, I'm going to get some machinery knowledge." Han Xiao rummaged through bags of scrap, his mind constantly calculating. Currently, There's no opportunity to do monster-killing missions. Manufacturing machinery requires money. Relying solely on the monthly salary is fundamentally insufficient. This deal will solve the money problem. With the intelligence capabilities of Division 13, it's easy to investigate the connection between me and Liu Lin. Thinking this, his gaze drifted into the distance, a smile unconsciously appearing on his lips. This way, they'll see my abilities as a mechanic, and sooner or later, they'll come looking for me. Not long after, dust began to fall over the city. Lu Qian, holding a plate of food, showed concern for Han Xiao, who had just entered. Where have you been? You're back so late. Han Xiao was still carrying a large bag on his shoulder. Oh, I went to the scrapyard to find some things. These words made her worried. The scrapyard? That kind of place isn't very safe. You should go there less often in the future. Understanding Lu Qian's kindness, he turned to go up to his room, but didn't forget to reassure her. Got it. Afraid the food in her hands would get cold, she urged, quick, go wash your hands and come down for dinner. The faucet was turned off, water droplets still lingering on his hands. As he walked down the stairs, he was lost in thought. The breakthrough mission for level 20 requires completing 5 basic knowledge categories. I'm still missing basic weaponry knowledge and basic material science overview. That old man Lu has a full collection of basic machinery knowledge. I have to find a way to get my hands on it. Han Xiao walked to the dining table and pulled out a chair. He looked expectantly at old man Lu, who was sitting opposite him. Old man Lu, could I borrow your machinery knowledge books to take a look? The old man mercilessly refused. In your dreams. My books. I absolutely won't let you see them. Han Xiao wanted to show his sincerity and reached out to put food in his bowl. Don't be so petty. Consider it helping to train an employee. To prevent him from achieving his goal, the old man quickly pulled his bowl away. You're even more thick-skinned than I imagined, but I just don't want to let you see them. Lu Qian knew her grandfather's temperament too well and had already brought a stack of books. Grandpa is just teasing you. Those aren't things that can't be shown. Take them and read. Receiving the precious items from her, he was immensely grateful, at a loss for words. Thank you. This scene made old man Lu shout angrily, why do I have a granddaughter who sides with outsiders like you? Han Xiao carefully flipped through the pages. Simultaneously, a notification screen appeared. Do you agree to spend 1 potential point to learn basic weaponry knowledge? Do you agree to spend 1 potential point to learn basic material science overview? His finger unhesitatingly chose yes. Instantly, his whole body felt like it was absorbing countless pieces of knowledge. To deal with germinal organization, relying on backing is just a shortcut. True strength still depends on oneself. And to make Division 13 see me differently, I also need strength. After comprehending all the newly acquired knowledge, Han Xiao gently closed the book, his mind constantly encouraging himself. Time waits for no one. I must prepare quickly. Outside, on a desolate alley, a mysterious figure stood silently, observing the brightly lit room and uttering words reeking of danger. Target acquired. Sunlight shone through the rows of closely packed houses. Lu Qian stretched. So hot. Not a single piece of business today. It's so boring. She sat on the sofa, looking at Han Xiao, who was engrossed in something opposite her. What are you doing? He didn't want her to know too much and casually replied, just building a toy robot. Her voice filled the room with admiration. Wow, you're so hardworking. No wonder you're so amazing. Outside, Feng Jun stood at the door and called in. Boss, do you do repairs here? Lu Qian, seeing a figure lurking, exclaimed joyfully. Speak of the devil. A customer has arrived. She rushed out towards a new guest, warmly saying, Yes. Excuse me. What do you need repair? He still clutched his briefcase tightly. My car won't start. It's parked outside on the street right now. Not wanting to keep the customer waiting, she said without hesitation. This is simple. Suddenly, Feng Jun's gaze shifted, though his facial expression remained unchanged. His attention fell on Han Xiao, as if he had already identified his target. The engine compartment is a bit dirty. It's better to let that young fellow fix it. These words surprised Han Xiao, and his eyes simultaneously flicked over, an analysis constantly running through his mind. Steady, forceful footsteps. He must have trained. Probably a detective from Division 13. Lu Qian looked indignant. Do I look like someone who's afraid of getting dirty? You're discriminating based on gender. Han Xiao stood up and tried to placate her. It's better if I do it. You go rest for a bit. In a flash, Feng Jun had led him to his car parked in front. This is the car. He deftly changed the subject, a smile on his face, but his words held a probing intent. You don't look very old, kid. Han Xiao lifted the car hood with one hand, his eyes fixed on the inside. I'm 30. The answer was unexpected, making Feng Jun feel awkward. After thinking for a moment, he spoke again. Little brother, what should I call you? While tightening a bolt, Han Xiao expressed his displeasure. Before asking someone's name, you should show some sincerity first. The smile that was on his lips moments ago had vanished, his eyes filled with helplessness. After a long hesitation, a voice emerged. My name is Feng Jun. In the yard, under the blue sky. Han Xiao's voice was faint. Good name. He had now turned back, deliberately mocking. However, you misunderstood my meaning. I just wanted to ask for a cigarette. Feng Jun knew he'd been tricked, and could only stand there, stunned. Not wanting to make things too difficult for him, Han Xiao put a cigarette in his mouth. You can call me Han Xiao. Feng Jun, regaining his composure, laughed awkwardly. Ahem, Han Xiao, judging by your appearance, you don't seem to be from the Western capital. Before Han Xiao could reply, he made a guess. You're from. Not wanting the conversation to go too far, he gently closed the car hood. Fixed. Then Han Xiao began to calculate. The fuel line was severed. That'll be 60. Pay up. He was overwhelmed by this display, but didn't give up and still tried to extract more information. Good. Your skills are not bad. Where did you learn them? Once again, Han Xiao shut down his lingering intentions. Self-taught. Feng Jun fumbled for his wallet, trying to buy more time. So amazing. Where are you from? Seeing his clumsiness, Han Xiao sneered. You're from some remote countryside. Are you reminding me to give you a discount? Come on. Feng Jun had to give up. Han Xiao took the money, teasing. This is the first time I've seen such a deep wallet. I thought it would take you half an hour to pull it out. Not long after, the car drove away. Han Xiao watched it thoughtfully. Inside the car, the phone kept ringing, signaling an incoming call. He answered, his face clearly serious. Initial observation. Target is a mechanic. Currently no way to assess danger level. Target calls himself Han Xiao. From a speaker, a voice came through. Target's personality? Remembering how he had been outmaneuvered by Han Xiao, he replied with just 4 words, extremely fierce. Back at the shop, a cheerful greeting was heard. Safe travels, valued customer. Lu Qian was full of hope. Business has been so good lately. At this rate, opening another branch won't be a dream anymore. But I don't know why, for the past few days, several customers have been asking me about you. These words made Han Xiao feel smug. My skills are good, and I'm handsome. It's normal for customers to like me. She recalled, looking concerned, but they were all men. Then, as if understanding, Lu Qian turned her face away, her words full of implication. Don't worry, I won't discriminate against you. Her expression almost made him choke. It's not what you think. Han Xiao picked up the bag at his feet, feeling helpless. Really, what are these young girls thinking nowadays? The miscellaneous items were placed on the table. His heart was excited. The final component for Ranger is also complete. He quickly assembled the parts. Now all that's left is the final assembly. Han Xiao seemed to put all his focus into the object before him. A round head with eyes on top was fixed in place by his hands. The robot gradually took shape, equipped with very modern features. At the same time, a notification board displayed. You have successfully created Ranger, information collection type. Gained 5,000 EXP. Han Xiao was very satisfied with what he had just created. Not bad at all. I'll call you Ranger 1. Suddenly, his attention shifted to the screen in front of him. He pondered, a new mission? This time it's escape pursuit. His mind raced. The Western capital security is tight. Could someone still be coming after me? Could it be Division 13 wanting to test my combat strength? The notification board appeared again with a question. Accept mission? Han Xiao unhesitatingly chose yes. Then bring it on. That afternoon, as the sun was gradually setting, the city scenery at dusk looked truly peaceful. Han Xiao pushed a car of goods out and informed Lu Qian, I want to request a day off to go out for a bit. Although she didn't approve, she had to agree. All right. She looked worriedly at her companion, but his eyes were filled with determination as he resolutely set off, so she hesitated, not daring to stop him. Knowing he was very stubborn, Lu Qian only encouraged, if you have any difficulties, I can help you think of a way. Han Xiao was very grateful for her kindness, but still refused. It's nothing. You don't need to worry. At exactly 6:30 p.m., the streetlights began to turn on, reflecting off the city's houses. The atmosphere was quiet and somewhat antique. Under a streetlight, 2 young men stood next to a Volkswagen van. One of them exclaimed in disbelief, that kid is worth 1 million. He just looks like an ordinary person. After their car left, Feng Jun immediately tailed them. The Windy Maple Task Force is following the target. Direction is another scrapyard. At the desolate wasteland, Han Xiao stood before the gate, lost in thought. Fighting outside would cause too much commotion and easily injure innocent people. This place is more suitable. This place was truly desolate. Houses were either dilapidated or had cracked walls. Arriving at the agreed-upon address, Han Xiao didn't beat around the bush and said directly to Li Lin, I've come to your territory looking for some materials. Li Lin didn't answer immediately, but politely invited his guest to join him for a meal. It's just dinner time. Would you like to eat together? Han Xiao replied perfunctorily, all right. The man seemed displeased with that answer and scowled, staring at him with an annoyed expression. Outside, the air reeked of the scrapyard, while inside, it smelled deliciously of food. Li Lin picked up his chopsticks, gently placed meat in his bowl, and smiled bitterly. I spent a lot of money inquiring about your background. He seemed disappointed, as if regretting the money spent. I didn't expect you to be just someone who arrived in the Western capital not long ago. Han Xiao was about to put a piece of rib in his mouth, but, seeing the other party's foolishness, retorted, so, have you considered the possibility of faulty intelligence? Li Lin slowly poured beer into a glass, looking quite relaxed. Then immediately hand over all your gun manufacturing techniques. He sat down on a chair, crossing his legs like a CEO giving orders to a subordinate. I hope you cooperate. At least you can avoid some physical suffering. Of course, our Han Xiao paid no heed and even challenged him. Are you sure you can take me? Leah Lin picked up his wine glass, extremely annoyed. A lowly wandering vagrant. How much power can he have? Wrong, Han Xiao said, very confident in his own abilities. So, your intelligence on me is a bit lacking. You could try checking the dark web for the latest bounty. The man crossed his arms, thinking Han Xiao was bluffing. You talk too much. I've changed my mind. I won't let you die intact. Out of options, Han Xiao reached into his pocket, fumbling for his tools. No room for negotiation then. Of course, Leah Lin had prepared in advance and ordered his men to point their guns straight at Han Xiao's head. Even so, he remained calm, closing his eyes as if completely unaware of the gun pressed against his head from behind. Aha! Quick as lightning, he transformed his left arm into combat mode. He suddenly stood up and spun around, stunning the enemy, who hadn't reacted in time. Han Xiao raised his arm towards the enemy, preparing to unleash a beating. One by one, they tasted the might of his laser. Everyone had to try to know. Leah Lin was stunned, breaking out in a cold sweat, unable to believe his men were defeated by this amateur. What the hell is this? He hurriedly shouted, ordering the guards. Everyone outside, come in and finish him. They all rushed in, shouting in unison, yes, big brother. Each carried a submachine gun. Though disgruntled, they still obediently complied. Isn't it just one person? Why call all of us? Yeah, what are the guys inside doing? Boom! A large explosion occurred, and all of them were sent flying. Plus one machine. Leah Lin was dazed, not understanding what was happening. Knowing his allies had arrived, Han Xiao rejoiced inwardly. Took you long enough. This was the civilian mercenary organization, the Windy Maple Task Force. Kel ordered his subordinates. This is the capital of Aquila's star. Don't cause too much commotion. Quick battle, quick victory. As planned, Han Xiao ran to find cover, letting them handle the situation however they saw fit. He quickly hid behind some barrels to dodge. Leah Lin's men were furious. Damn it, too much cover here. The Windy Maple Task Force operated with practiced professionalism. Team A, suppressive fire, advance. Roger. In just a few short minutes, they had set up their battle lines. Team B, attack from the rear. Roger. They executed their plan smoothly. Target acquired. Han Xiao, huddled in a corner, prayed. Not good. The scrapyard echoed with the fierce sounds of battle. Han Xiao had now found another hiding spot. He cautiously observed his surroundings, then slowly extended his robotic arm and opened fire. Taking the opportunity, Han Xiao ran, while dodging a hail of bullets. Meanwhile, Leah Lin and Chun He were still bewildered by the appearance of the Windy Maple Task Force. He asked in panic, where did these mercenaries come from? Leah Lin replied angrily, it seems they're after that brat. Han Xiao continued to search for a new hiding place. This time, he decided to run to the rooftop to get an overview of the battle. Han Xiao took something out of his bag. It turned out to be a robot controller. He gripped the controller tightly in his hand and shouted to activate it. Then, Han Xiao sat down heavily, calmly looking down. Lucky I made preparations early. As soon as it was activated, his robot powered on. Ranger 1, with its massive body, rumbled towards the soldiers, causing them to fall to the ground in panic. Not only them, but even a veteran captain like Kel couldn't help but be shocked by this appearance. The robot user didn't let things get worse. He immediately ordered his soldiers to open fire and attack it. They continuously fired at Ranger 1. The controller immediately issued a warning. Ammunition remaining, 27%. Warning, power system damaged. Please inspect and repair. Han Xiao, while controlling Ranger 1, thought of a plan. It fundamentally can't last too long. I have to lead them here. Kel, seeing Ranger 1 retreat further the more they shot, confidently shouted, it's working. Continue. While the mercenaries were fighting hard, Leah Lin's group had been hiding. Seeing the opportune moment, he ordered his subordinates. You guys, attract the attention of those mercenaries. You all, quickly take advantage of the situation and capture that brat. They quickly complied. Yes, boss. Han Xiao observed the situation from afar, unable to help but feel smug. The fish has taken the bait. Immediately after, he began to adjust the mode. The screen displayed the words, initiating self-destruct sequence. After activating the sequence, Han Xiao ducked down, covering his head defensively. Just then, outside, the soldiers also noticed something unusual about Ranger 1. Wait a minute, there's something not right with this robot. Its face was now grinning gleefully, along with the words goodbye. Instantly, Ranger 1 exploded, giving the soldiers no time to react. The force of the explosion was so great that it sent them flying far away. Leah Lin and a few others, who managed to dodge the blast, were terrified. Detonating a robot in the inner city, that brat is done for. After the explosion, the entire scrapyard was engulfed in smoke and flames. Just then, a car drove up. From inside, an angry voice sounded, damn it. Feng Jun opened the door and got out to report the situation. The higher-ups demanded a low-key operation. Now that this has happened, it'll definitely be front-page news tomorrow. Immediately after, a cold voice ordered, clean up quickly. The people in the car gradually entered the scrapyard. Li Hui raised his gun, threatening the people inside. Don't move. This is Division 13. Everyone immediately dropped their weapons and surrendered. Leolin's subordinates, caught red-handed, squatted down in fear as ordered. Meanwhile, Leolin and Chun he had quickly hidden behind something. Hearing Li Hui's words, he was terrified. Division 13? Only now did he remember Han Zhao's words from earlier. Could what that brat said before be true? After a moment of dumbfoundedness, Leolin angrily ordered, "Quick, bring the computer." It turned out he wanted to look up Han Zhao's information. After a while of searching, he was stunned by the information. 0. Bounty, 1 million. Issuer, Germinal Organization. Germinal Organization Trader. Division 13. Star Dragon Intelligence. After those words, the computer fell to the ground with a thud, its screen shattered and full of white lines. At this point, he no longer had the mind for that. Leolin was dazed for a moment, as a warning bell rang in his mind. It's over. This time, it's really over. Just a moment later, handcuffs snapped shut on his wrists. Division 13 personnel were escorting Leolin and Chun-Hee. Behave yourselves. Only then did the scrapyard return to its initial peace. Kel was approaching to help a teammate injured by the earlier explosion. Meanwhile, a soldier behind him had detected someone else's presence and warned loudly. Over there, don't move. It turned out Han Zhao's hiding spot had been discovered. He looked at them helplessly. The mission requires wiping out the mercenaries. I can't let Division 13 snatch them away. In the end, Han Zhao still had to act. He fired at the mercenaries. Immediately, the others raised their guns threateningly. Who allowed you to fire? Final warning, drop your weapons, hands on your head, and surrender. Han Zhao, with a resigned expression, holstered his weapon and raised his hands in surrender. At the same time, the system announced, E-rank mission pursuit completed. Gain 10,000 EXP. Hidden condition, kill the pursuer completed. Gain skill, basic upgrade. Claim reward. After thinking for a moment, he made a decision. Now is not the time to claim the reward. In the interrogation room of Star Dragon's Division 13, the level of security was enough to make anyone speechless. Right outside were guards holding guns. Next, one had to pass through a corridor lined with sensors before reaching a heavy steel door. The interrogation room was pure white, brightly lit like a laboratory. Feng Jun sat seriously in a smart suit, staring intently at the documents in his hand, and began, I am an intelligence officer of Star Dragon's Strategic Defense Department. This isn't our first meeting. Do you remember me? Han Zhao, his hands tied tightly to the chair opposite, replied nonchalantly. I remember. The man with a very deep wallet. While Feng Jun was somewhat speechless, Li Hui, sitting beside him, warned sternly, don't be flippant. He looked directly at Han Zhao and asked, explain your 1 million bounty. Why does the Germinal Organization want to deal with you? Do you possess some intelligence? Tell us everything now. Han Zhao tilted his head slightly, feigning indifference. Such great authority. If you want to cooperate, fine, show some sincerity. Get someone with some real power to talk to me. He looked at both of them, slowly enunciating each word. You too. He shifted, straightening his body, a slight smile on his lips as he finished. Are not qualified. Another voice sounded in the room. As you wish. I will negotiate with you. Through the one-way mirror, Director Su stood close to the microphone and greeted. I am the intelligence chief of Division 13. Am I qualified? Han Zhao calmly spat back 2 words, barely. He took this as agreement and immediately asked, are you a member of the Germinal Organization? Han Zhao replied succinctly, used to be. He continued, what position did you hold? Han Zhao didn't even bother to lift his eyelids and said, logistics personnel, researching mechanical weapons. Logistics research personnel. Pressing his advantage, Director Su asked the most important question. Why would Germinal Organization put a 1 million bounty on a logistics personnel? Don't hide anything. We have ways to make you talk. Han Zhao lowered his head, chuckled provocatively, then raised his eyes and released a shocking piece of information. Information record. June 4th, year 688, Galaxy Calendar. Origin point, planet Aquamarine. Target, 8th Dark Star. Content, special grade, encrypted. The answer seemed completely unrelated, but it struck Director Su like a thunderbolt. His face was aghast, a thin layer of sweat appearing. The 2 men in the interrogation room looked at each other helplessly, question marks all over their faces. Finally, they simultaneously looked at the source of the information before them. The deathly silence seemed to stretch endlessly. The lights in the room seemed to dim a few shades. Director Su regained his composure and reached for the microphone. He looked straight at Han Zhao and questioned, are you sure? Han Zhao's face was full of confidence. If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, how would I know about the Dark Star? In his mind, however, he was secretly dancing. Rewriting the script. Looks like it was a success. Fooling people? Who would know how? According to the game's lore about planet Aquamarine, interstellar powers are still classified intelligence at this point. He clenched his fist, his mind still racing. Only the upper echelons of planet Aquamarine have contact with interstellar forces. The Dark Star is a faction that broke away from Ghidorah. If the German organization had contact with the Dark Star, the 6 nations would be out of luck. Making up a record of mixed true and false information can gain Star Dragon's attention in the shortest amount of time. Under the dazzling white lights, Han Xiao spoke, taking the initiative. Now, can we negotiate cooperation? Director Su quickly agreed. All right. The thoughts in his head also reached a conclusion. As for what tricks German organization will pull, because of this I don't care. Han Xiao picked up a pen and circled several locations on a map. These are 3 secret branch bases of German organization located within Star Dragon. Director Su, who had entered the interrogation room at some unknown point, directly asked, "You only know these 3? Han Xiao seemed surprised by his naivety. Of course not. Wait until you've verified my intelligence is correct, then we'll talk about the others. He no longer needed to beat around the bush and ask directly, what are your conditions? Han Xiao looked up and sincerely stated his purpose. I just want to cooperate to deal with German organization. Director Su walked out of the room, leaving behind a sentence. I will report your situation to the higher-ups. During this time, please wait patiently here. Han Xiao showed impatience. Don't make me wait too long. I only asked for 1 day off. The Star Dragon personnel quickly gathered around a table in the meeting room. A large photo of Han Xiao was pasted on the information board. Everyone voiced their opinions. I think we can initially trust Han Xiao and cooperate with him. No way. What if Han Xiao gives us false information? The probability is very low. He's a fugitive from German organization. He can only survive by staying with us, so there's no need to doubt his sincerity. Old man Xiao had a different opinion. I suggest secretly imprisoning him and forcing him to reveal all his intelligence. Division 13 doesn't need to negotiate conditions with anyone. Director Su was annoyed. Are you causing trouble? Han Xiao is so sincere. We can't push away an asset that inherently belongs to us. The old man shouted at him. This is weak compromise. He shouted back, unfazed. You are foolishly causing trouble. Bennett, feeling they had argued enough, spoke slowly. We need to both cooperate and control. Isn't bringing Zhang Wei into the department enough? Old man Xiao tried to add, director, but perhaps still afraid of his superior. He lowered his eyes and conceded. If the director is so insistent, then arrange for him to be in the logistics department. He's a mechanic, and they have enough supplies. The logistics department is also restricted from going out, making it convenient to monitor him. Bennett pointed to his head and spoke profoundly. If you doubt, don't use. If you use, don't doubt. If Han Xiao has combat capabilities, why not assign him to the covert operations department? Let him participate in dealing with German organization. Only then can we judge his true intentions. In the laboratory, a desperate scream of ah echoed. Lu Oxian fiddled with the robotic arm in his hand and complained, this thing has 4 layers of security. Is the person who made this crazy? Old man Xiao glanced at him. Can you do it or not? Can you crack it? He looked up, his freckled face showing confusion. Technically, there's nothing outstanding about it. It's just that the security is done quite well. The creator is like some weirdo who treats junk like treasure. What's there to crack? The old man gestured to both sides mockingly. So those useless things you research are modern and new? The arc turret gun with bombs on both sides that stick like rubber, fundamentally impossible to aim accurately. Ignoring his sullen face, the old man continued to criticize. Or that fake breast that distinguishes between male and female, the metal detector used to hide poison needles? Those 2 special agents who wore them were pricked by their own poison needles and are still in the hospital. In the quiet office, Feng Jun reported uprightly over the phone. I have brought Han Xiao into the covert operations department. In another distant room, old man Gao quickly replied, You've worked hard. His voice still came through the phone. Is he really worth your attention, sir? He leaned back leisurely in his chair and said meaningfully, Haha, his value is not just intelligence. I have a premonition. He is an important pawn for us when confronting German organization. Night fell upon the utterly ruined and desolate city. The broken windows in the dark night resembled the gaping, black mouths of beasts. The streets, large and small, were devoid of people, only rubble and flying debris. Tanks lined up outside, continuously shelling in one direction. It's ridiculous that German organization actually established a base in our Star Dragon territory. The soldiers controlling the tanks continuously received orders through the radio. Tank squad, listen up. Aim at the Germinal base. Let them know our strength. He enthusiastically complied immediately. Roger. On the opposite side, a soldier poked his head over the trench barrier, frantically firing his weapon, constantly complaining, Damn it, Star Dragon actually found out the base's location. At German organization's secret base number 45, the entrance from above had opened. The control room was fully equipped and looked incredibly sturdy. A 3-person Star Dragon special ops team appeared at the door of the room. While Lin Yao was sitting on the floor, engrossed in his computer, Li Yaolan stood with her arms crossed, complaining, Originally, I could have used recuperation as an excuse to take a few days off, but the department urgently assigned us a mission. They really don't treat us special agents as humans. Suddenly, the electronic lock on the door showed a red triangle and beeped, warning, unknown intrusion. System locked. Lin Yao broke out in a sweat and reminded his comrades, We've been discovered. The base system is starting to encrypt. Alarm lights flashed everywhere, accompanied by blaring announcements from the speakers. All units, attention. Control room under hacker attack. Squads move quickly. Groups of fully armed soldiers, guns in hand, rushed over. Li Yaoan urgently pressed, Ling Yao, hurry up. He didn't take his eyes off the screen and retorted stiffly, I'm trying. It will take at least 3 minutes. The enemy will be here in 1 minute at most. Rambo ignored their bickering and laboriously lifted the bag in his hand. Didn't the higher-ups give us new equipment before we set out last time? Let's try it. Lin Yao continued to mutter, this thing really won't explode, right? You idiots in the research department, it's not like you don't know. Li Yaoan also quickly pulled out a robotic arm and put it on, looking flustered but also full of anticipation. There's no other way. If the data is destroyed, all our previous efforts will be wasted. We can only hope this little power suit works. She closed her eyes, took a deep breath to gather courage, then, with an all-or-nothing mentality, charged forward. After a long run-up, Li Yaoan swung her fist and slammed it into the sturdy door. The powerful punch created a significant shockwave that echoed throughout the space. The sturdy steel door cracked open before the astonished eyes of the two men. She couldn't believe her eyes either, stammering, Tish, this thing is so strong. Lin Yao was the quickest to recover. He dashed into the room and shouted, I've copied all the information. Cover me. Li Yaoan and Rambo, with thunderous fists, took down groups of soldiers, 1 punch each. Leave it to us. You go quickly. The lights on the ceiling were still bright, while the space was filled with the sounds of fighting. Thump, thwack. On the screen, lines of data streamed endlessly. Lin Yao focused on typing click-clack on the keyboard, trying to buy time. In just a moment, an announcement sounded in the room. System formatting complete. Initiating self-destruct sequence. He snapped the laptop screen shut, then scrambled out into the corridor with Li Yaoan's group. As she rushed forward, she asked, Is it done? He replied without delay, Done. Everything is backed up. A moment later, a thunderous explosion roared, smoke and fire billowing out. The column of black smoke seemed to pierce the sky. At the germinal base, the lights in the room were still on, glowing faintly in the night. The guard bowed his head and reported, Leader, Base 45 has been destroyed. Grey Wolf immediately hissed. Who did it? The guard replied without delay, Star Dragon. Hearing this, he questioned, Where did they get the intelligence? The other party hesitated slightly. Uncertain. Could be Zero. Grey Wolf clasped his hands in front of him, pondering. Intelligence like the base location. How could a mere test subject have access to it? Dismissed. The guard felt as if he'd been pardoned. Yes, sir. He pressed a white button on the table. A mechanical sound chimed. Identity verification complete. Classified message has been delivered. Grey Wolf stared intently at the screen in front of him. Issue an order. Secretly investigate the high-ranking members who knew the base's location. If any suspicious individuals are found, report directly to me. Germinal organization's internal ranks need to be purged a bit. Huang Tian quickly acknowledged the order. Understood, leader. At the logistics department, soldiers idly walked back and forth in the building. Glitter looked at the 3 members of the Star Dragon Special Ops team before him and praised them generously. Well done. This time, destroying the base yielded a large amount of intelligence. The higher-ups are extremely pleased. He asked curiously, the lightweight power suit needs to be returned to headquarters. How is it? Good to use. Li Yaoan's eyes widened, sparkling as she chirped. Thanks to it. More or less, we were able to retreat smoothly. Can I know who researched it? Glitter stood up, acting mysterious. I can't tell you that. She wasn't too insistent and raised her hand to ask about the future direction for all of them. Will the department continue to supply lightweight power suits in the future? He left them with a sentence. That depends on the decision from above, and quickly dispersed. At the Liu family repair shop, sunlight dyed the signboard golden. The sky was as clear as crystal. Lu Qian sat dejectedly at the dining table. Han Xiao has been missing for 3 days. Where on earth did he go? Old man Lu, holding his chopsticks, comforted her. Be optimistic. Maybe he's just dead. She looked up with tear-filled eyes and pleaded. Grandpa, please ask someone to help find him. Consider it helping your granddaughter. He coldly threw 2 words at his granddaughter. Dream on. Then, he lowered his eyes slightly, his tone teasing as he asked, When you were stealing my books, why didn't you think of me as your grandpa? Lu Qian shyly raised her hand to smooth her hair, but the words she spoke were shocking. The wine grandpa hid under the floorboards. I helped you sell it. Okay? Old man Lu, caught, immediately changed his tune. Look at you talk. How could your grandpa be such a stingy person? Isn't it just finding someone? Just leave it to me. In a room with a large window overlooking the familiar city, the phone rang. Ding-a-ling-ling. Old man Gao picked up. Before he could even greet, old man Lu's voice came through. What crime did that brat commit for you guys to arrest him? He replied calmly. He committed no crime. It's just that we requested his cooperation. His old friend on the other end of the line seemed quite satisfied and suggested, if he committed no crime, that's good. Quickly release him, or my granddaughter will smash my precious wine collection. Old man Gao hesitated. That's not in accordance with the rules. It's really difficult for me. Old man Lu sat with his legs crossed on the table, relaxed. I don't have time for nonsense. Don't talk rubbish. The rules are set by you. You still owe me for something you tricked me out of last time. I don't care. Quickly release Han Xiao. He could only sigh helplessly. All right, I understand. After the interrogation, Star Dragon Division 13 arranged a car to take Han Xiao home. It was already dark. He leisurely walked into the house, but just as he reached the door, Lu Qian rushed over anxiously. Why are you only back now? Do you know how worried I was? After a moment of outburst, her emotions gradually subsided, tears welling up. You're an outsider here, all alone. I thought something had happened to you. I almost called the police. Seeing him remain silent, she pressed. What on earth were you doing? Seeing her attitude, Han Xiao helplessly replied, taking a walk. Immediately, Lu Qian reached out and pinched his ear, warning, can you find a more believable excuse? Poor Han Xiao said, I thought it was very believable, not bothering to argue with him anymore. Lu Qian placed her hand on his shoulder and explained, yesterday I saw on TV that there was a gunfight in the crow scrapyard. Lu Qian worriedly softened her voice. I thought something had happened to you. Seeing her expression, Han Xiao couldn't help but feel guilty. So that's what she was worried about. If I had known, I would have called to inform her. While the two were talking, old man Lu approached from a distance, complaining about him. I thought you wouldn't come back alive. What a disappointment. Lu Qian exclaimed, Grandpa. After careful consideration, she suggested to Han Xiao, I'll buy you a phone. Don't lose contact again, okay? He immediately refused and even held up his phone to verify. No need, I already have a phone. Meanwhile, old man Lu stared intently at his phone, curious. Instantly, he recognized it and asked him, this is Division 13's encrypted phone? You joined Division 13? Since this was a secret, he didn't dare to disclose it publicly and made an excuse. Division 13 is monitoring and contacting me, so they gave it to me. I have to carry it on me 24/7. Truly, the older the ginger, the spicier. Old man Lu immediately noticed the anomaly in his words. Oof. Division 13 wants to monitor you, and they let you know? If you join Division 13, you wouldn't be able to escape. Move out quickly for me if you're still staying here. At this point, he suddenly stopped and turned to look at Lu Qian. It can't be that you like my granddaughter, right? Suddenly being singled out like that, she blushed shyly. Meanwhile, Han Xiao quickly and firmly denied. You've misunderstood, old sir. Old man Lu had tried to play matchmaker, but the young couple still denied it. He could only sigh helplessly. Oof. Before leaving, he even patted Han Xiao's shoulder and jokingly reminded him, I can't even manage the affairs of young people's hearts. Little Qian isn't young anymore. You brat. Work hard so I can hold my great-grandchild soon. Hearing him say that, Lu Qian was so embarrassed she didn't dare to see him off. After old man Lu left, only the young couple remained. After what had just happened, both were embarrassed and didn't dare to face each other. To break the silence, Han Xiao hesitated and said, He then explained to her, your grandpa was just joking. He misunderstood just now. As soon as Han Xiao finished speaking, they both fell into silence again. Lu Qian shyly looked at him, while Han Xiao was too embarrassed to look up. Not letting the situation continue, she had to reply, if you say so, then it is so. Then she turned and left. So now, only Han Xiao stood there. He awkwardly rubbed his neck and cursed inwardly. This old man, really. Han Xiao returned to his room. He leisurely lay on the chair, thinking about life. Old people wanting to hold their grandchildren, it's really too scary. Suddenly, the system issued a notification, startling him. A system prompt. It seems the intelligence provided to Division 13 was effective. The system displayed a rank mission, Seeds of Death. Current progress, 1.6%. Han Xiao made a decision. The provided intelligence was probably considered by the system as indirectly sabotaging. It's best if I can directly participate in sabotaging Germinal organization. Ending a long day full of worries, he continued to open the shop the next morning. Han Xiao was currently standing in the shop, calculating. Germinal organization will definitely strengthen its defenses. I have to bet on new blueprints and upgrade my equipment. After a while of crafting, the system finally announced, fusion successful. Congratulations, you have researched high explosive rounds. Seeing this, he couldn't help but be happy. Good stuff. With this, it's temporarily enough. Then he looked at the item in his hand, worried. Basic weapons will be useless later on. Suddenly, the car that had transported him the previous night reappeared, making a noise to attract attention. Han Xiao recognized it instantly. Division 13's car. He approached to ask, why are you here? The person quickly informed him. The base intelligence has been confirmed, no errors. We believe in your sincerity to cooperate. The higher-ups have decided to accept you as a member of Division 13. Han Xiao's joy was now doubled. He smiled with satisfaction. Just what I wanted. He continued to announce, the organization has decided to let you join the Covert Operations Department. You've been assigned to an action team. After successfully cooperating, the two shook hands amicably. System notification. You have activated a new faction reputation, Star Dragon Strategic Defense Department. Gained 300 faction favorability with Division 13, Star Dragon Strategic Defense Department. He was shaking hands, but his mind had already drifted elsewhere. This way, I can openly and directly sabotage Germinal organization. After completing his task, the other person requested to leave. If there are no other issues, prepare to come with me to the department to report. At this moment, inside the workshop, it turned out it wasn't just Han Xiao who was pondering. Lucien had also been flustered since yesterday. I just admire his talent. It's not to the point of adoration. Grandpa, really? What if he actually confesses to me? Just as she was lost in her Roiran thoughts, Han Xiao walked over and interrupted. Boss, I have something to say. She jumped, blurting out uncontrollably. Ah, you're a good person. Seeing her reaction, he couldn't help but wonder, what is this girl thinking? After some hesitation, he also stammered out his announcement. Your employee, me, is too outstanding. The country wants me to become a public servant. I have no choice. Han Xiao, worried that things wouldn't work out, even thought of a contingency plan. As for the shop's affairs, I'll come back to handle them when I'm free. I won't disrupt your business. After hearing this, Lucien didn't show surprise, but kindly reminded him, pay attention to safety. Seeing her expression, Han Xiao couldn't help but be surprised. Lucien, seeing him dazed, even teased. You're the one who actively made these assurances. If you don't keep your word, I'll dock your pay. The atmosphere between the two was no longer as awkward as yesterday. Only then did Han Xiao let out a sigh of relief. Phew, looks like the misunderstanding has been cleared up. He replied, I know. In the logistics department room, everyone was engrossed in their work. Li Yaoan had just walked in and was looking around as if searching for something, and asked, Excuse me, who is Luo Xian? A few employees, seeing the unfamiliar girl, turned their heads to look. Oh, hearing someone call his name, a young man with the appearance of a true bookworm stood up and replied, I am Luo Xian. May I ask who you are? The other party indifferently introduced herself, Li Yaoan. Then she probed, I heard you were the ace of the logistics department. He chuckled modestly. Haha, not at all. She suddenly mentioned a type of weapon. You're the inventor of that mechanical power arm, right? Hearing that, Luo Xian asked back, his tone unable to hide his disdain for someone. Is there a problem with it? Heh, I told you, that weirdo type. Before he could finish, Li Yaoan jumped in. No, I think it's excellent. I want to custom order one. Hearing her praise him like that, he became completely flustered. So embarrassing. Oh dear. He quickly coughed twice to regain his composure. Ahem, I didn't invent that thing. Immediately, she changed her tune as quickly as he had spun his top, and turned to leave. Then you should have said so earlier, wasting my time. His colleague sitting next to him tried hard to suppress a laugh, leaving Luo Xian standing there with an expression as ugly as a monkey eating chili peppers. He watched Li Yaoan's retreating back, frowning and planning his revenge. What are you laughing at? 80% of newcomers get assigned to the logistics department. We'll see how I deal with him then. At Star Dragon Division 13, Covert Operations Department, a figure quietly approached. The Star Dragon Special Ops team was already waiting. Li Yaoan spoke first. Are you the logistics member approved by the director to join our team? He stood before them and calmly greeted, I am Han Xiao, a mechanic. With him starting, the others also introduced themselves one by one. Hello, I'm Lin Yao, the hacker in the team. The next person nodded as a greeting. Rambo, sniper. When it was her turn, Li Yaoan questioned Han Xiao. Why are you wearing a mask? Hiding your face? Don't you trust us? He immediately explained, my identity is classified. She suddenly became thoughtful, muttering and repeating what he had just said. Mechanic, classified identity. Then Li Yaoan suddenly asked a surprising question. Did you create the lightweight power arm? Even though he was wearing a mask, the surprise in Han Xiao's eyes was clear. How did you know? She sighed in relief, having found the right person. Ah, it really is you. Then she walked over, placed a hand on his shoulder, and smiled confidently. As long as you help me craft a mechanical arm, I'll protect you. Hearing such a good offer, he still remained calm. I have to charge a fee. Li Yaoan pouted, criticizing him for being petty. Han Xiao had no choice but to change the subject. I still don't know your name. She struck a fighting pose, a grin on her face, looking extremely proud. Li Yaoan, responsible for close combat. He looked at them and asked, Are there only 4 of us in the team? He quickly received an answer. No, there's also the captain. He's an all-rounder, currently recuperating from injuries. He hesitated slightly, guessing, even the captain couldn't avoid getting injured? It seems the work of the Covert Operations Department is very dangerous. But it seemed to be just a misunderstanding. The captain got food poisoning and is in the hospital. His words made the whole group stiffen. Suddenly, the computer on the table made a sound. Han Xiao was also drawn to it and looked over curiously. Lin Yao, while checking the computer, smiled. Yo, the newcomer just joined and there's already a mission. Apprehend Black Spider in the Western capital. Li Yaoan, standing next to him, briefly explained the information about this person. Black Spider seems to be a notorious bounty hunter. The last apprehension attempt by the External Affairs Department failed, and he even detonated explosives, destroying 2 streets. I didn't expect him to still dare to stay in the Western capital. Han Xiao, on his side, had also received the system mission. You have activated E-rank mission, Black Spider. Requirement, kill Black Spider. Reward, 5,000 EXP. Special reward, 40,000. Looking at the experience points, or the stable psyche, he inwardly grumbled after reading, the experience reward is too low. Well, forget it, it's better than nothing. Rambo approached to discuss. When do we set out? Li Yaoan calmly suggested, no rush. The intelligence department has confirmed his location. Acting at night is more advantageous. The time had come. In a deserted, sparsely populated neighborhood, Lin Yao looked at Han Xiao in the car and instructed, this is your first mission. Get used to the logistics work first. You're our eyes and ears. Collecting and processing intelligence depends on you. He confidently gave a thumbs up to his teammates. Leave it to me. But inwardly, he protested, well, this is also very easy, just like I want to grind monsters. A little later, in an ordinary high-rise building, so ordinary it couldn't be more ordinary, 3 members of the Star Dragon Special Ops team were in ambush. Li Yaoan, based on the provided intelligence, relayed to everyone, the small building in front is Black Spider's hideout. Looking at the opposite building, she estimated he's on the 3rd floor. The enemy is probably very vigilant. Let's not make a sound. But just then, Han Xiao blurted out a stark statement. No need to be careful anymore. Black Spider has already discovered us. She asked confusedly through the headset, how do you know? While they were still doubting the truth of his words, a figure holding a sniper rifle had appeared on the roof of the building they were observing, silently waiting for prey from above. Immediately, Ling Yaoan's side was hit by several shots from that person, but she quickly dodged them. Only now did they start to believe Han Xiao's words. We've really been discovered. A few seconds later, dozens of masked individuals armed with modern guns rushed out to support Black Spider. Only then did Lin Yao realize there was an error in the intelligence, his heart filled with worry and doubt. Why does he have backup? The bright moonlight shone down, illuminating the fierce battle scene below. The man standing on the rooftop aimed his gun towards the Star Dragon Special Ops team. His eyes flashed with a deadly glint. Aha, dogs of Division 13, if you've bared your fangs at me. Only then did Black Spider reveal himself. On his fierce face was a tattoo of a large spider, the size of a hand. He smirked sinisterly. Then I'll chop off all your fangs. Then, he waved his hand, ordering his subordinates, go, kill them all. The 3 of them were already in a ready stance, determined to fight. Li Yaoan was extremely disdainful. Shameless talk. With that, Rambo fired at a masked man. Li Yaoan slowly drew her combat knife, instructing her teammates, the lackeys are yours. She looked up at the figure, standing high above, taking on the most difficult part. That one is mine to deal with. She immediately leaped, using the walls to launch herself like an arrow towards Black Spider. From above, Li Yaoan, holding her knife, jumped down. He laughed grimly, preparing to meet his opponent. Just as she landed, Black Spider, as if he had anticipated it, did a somersault in the air, easily dodging the initial blow. The 2 now faced each other. He seemed very smug about his abilities. I commend your courage, so I'll give you a slightly more satisfying death. Li Yaoan suddenly felt confused, her tone clearly sarcastic. I really don't know where you get that confidence from. Before she could finish speaking, he impatiently fired at her, not forgetting to offer a triumphant smile. Goodbye, little girl. But she was no ordinary person, continuously dodging the rain of bullets, another jump, and then gently avoiding all the bullets with a beautiful somersault. In just a few seconds, Li Yaoan had shortened the distance to Black Spider. Only now did he realize in shock that his opponent was no amateur. Too fast. Approached by a martial arts system user. Not easy to deal with. Seeing an opportunity, she rushed forward to attack. Her attacking posture was full of openings, forcing him to awkwardly use his gun to block. Li Yaoan retreated to maintain distance, already having made an assessment in her mind. It seems this Black Spider isn't good at close combat. Grasping this point, she became much more confident. There's a chance. At that moment, she immediately lunged, aiming her weapon at his neck, unconcealed triumph in her eyes. Goodbye, uncle. Li Yaoan gently pressed the lever on the hilt of her dao. The blade suddenly extended, powerfully severing the blood vessels in Black Spider's neck as she shouted, blade shift. He clutched his neck in pain, looking in surprise at the strange weapon. Unexpectedly, this dao can extend. Even at this point, he was still being stubborn. It has some skill. You think you can kill me like this? You can't kill me. Blood flowed more and more from the wound, his whole body trembling weakly. Black Spider kept repeating, you can't kill me. But a second later, he was dead. Looking at the corpse on the ground, Li Yaoan quickly reported through the headset, done. This brother's sword isn't bad. But Han Xiao frowned and reminded, don't let your guard down. Black Spider is still alive. Looking at his lifeless, white eyes, she immediately retorted, brother, he's already dead like this. He smirked, knowing it was difficult to explain specifically at this moment, so he gave a hint. He's an Esper. His ability is extremely difficult to deal with. If you remove the protective mask from the first corpse on the left, you'll know. At this time, Li Yaoan had regrouped with her teammates. They simultaneously looked towards the corpse he mentioned. She acted like an experienced senior, ignoring everything Han Xiao had mentioned. I say, newcomer, I understand your desire to achieve merits. Still insisting despite not having a clue. All right, stop fooling around. With a cautious mentality of not missing anything, Rambo followed the instructions. I'll go take a look. He reached for the corpse's head. He thought it was all just speculation, but when he actually removed the mask, he was shocked and exclaimed, this isn't a person. Han Xiao, seemingly having known this result beforehand, calmly ordered, "Shoot its brain out." Without a moment's hesitation, Rambo fired at that one, then heard him continue, "Remove all their masks. Shoot them all." Lin Yao seemed to have seen something terrifying, his eyes shrinking in amazement. Because after following his words, they all realized that these corpses they had just shot were all faceless people. The drone began to appear outside Han Zhao's vehicle. Sitting inside the car, he quietly observed the situation through the computer screen while issuing instructions. The corpse at 3 o'clock, blow its head off. As soon as he finished speaking, a deafening bang rang out. Instructions from Han Zhao were continuously given, clockwise. The one on the right. The one at 4 o'clock. The sound of gunfire followed in sharp bursts. 5 o'clock. The one in front. Good. Then the one behind. 6 o'clock. Lin Yao was exhausted from shooting monsters. Just as he stopped, his radio crackled with a voice, to the right. Fortunately, he reacted in time and successfully blew off Black Spider's head. The Star Dragon Special Ops team silently observed his motionless body on the ground. Rambo, thinking it was all over, asked, "There's one last one. How do we deal with it?" The radio replied, "Don't kill him." However, Black Spider was truly as tenacious as a leech. He shakily stood up as if nothing had happened and chuckled. "Ha ha ha." Han Zhao coldly ordered, "Break his limbs." Still not seeing the coffin, he wouldn't shed a tear, still mouthing off, "You can't kill me. Don't waste your energy." As soon as he finished speaking, Black Spider was flattened by Rambo's hand. He spoke indignantly, Ugh, you know my Esper ability?" Han Zhao, on the other side, wasn't in a hurry and calmly explained, "Parasitic clones. Every certain period, it can separate a faceless clone." The drone continued to transmit his calm, slow voice. Within a certain range, the clones will follow orders and act. The main body can continuously revive in the nearest clone. There are 10 corpses here. You keep the remaining clones in various places around the world. Those other clones are the trump cards you're holding back. Knowing he was cornered, he was furious. "Impossible. Who the hell are you?" The system also timely displayed a notification. E-rank mission Black Spider completed. You received 5,000 experience points. Hidden requirement, capture Black Spider completed. Please choose a special reward, 40,000 experience points or a mind stabilizer. He looked at the loot on the screen and could only sigh in frustration. As expected, support experience will be less. The mind stabilizer targets mental attacks, which isn't very useful. Having no other choice, he selected the remaining option. Confirm selection of 40,000 experience points. He tapped the confirmation on the screen. The next morning, at Han Zhao's residence, Lucien started with good news. "The workshop you mentioned building last time is almost finished. It can be used soon." He politely replied, "You've worked hard." His mood was so good it bordered on delusion. Hiv. Lately, I've received quite a few orders for foldable combat knives from special agents. At this rate, I'll be rich very soon, huh? Inside the office of Star Dragon Division 13's Logistics Department, a man angrily slammed his hand on the table. How can this be? They dare not hand over the blueprints. They're rebelling. Old man Xiao, sitting beside him, offered a countermeasure. Does he think we'll be helpless if he doesn't hand them over? Go find the special agents who bought the foldable combat knives. We'll deduce the blueprints from the actual item. At the Secret Service Department, the number of people coming and going was much higher than in logistics. Lan Mao, having just received orders from above, was now present. The higher-ups told me to come and purchase foldable combat knives. Excuse me, who is willing to sell? We can negotiate the price. Li Yalan, already aware of their dirty tricks, angrily shouted, Don't even think about it. Everyone knows you want to take them to deduce the design blueprints. Don't bully people too much." Then, the whole group left in unison, leaving Lan Mao pleading desperately, "Don't go." As she was about to leave, she added a driving, fatal/critical remark, "If you don't have the ability yourself, you think of ways to steal others' achievements. Truly despicable. Not selling." Her two teammates beside her also chimed in, "That's right, not selling." Glitter, however, was completely different. He had been blinded by money and no longer respected Han Zhao. "A mere mechanic has made you all so worried. Money is being offered at your doorstep, and you don't take it? You must be stupid." Lan Mao's face lit up upon hearing this. Right. Sir, please state your price." Someone present kindly warned, Han Zhao can design new weapons. Offending him isn't worth it. But he ignored it, determined to sell the foldable knife. "It's fine. 30,000 for one, no bargaining." The price offered made outsiders to the department feel it was unfair. 30 times the original. However, for Division 13, it wasn't a problem. They immediately shook hands and accepted the deal. Transaction complete. A little later, in a dim office, old man Xiao handed the combat knife to Luo Xian for inspection. "Are you confident you could deduce the blueprint?" He fiddled with the weapon for a long time before speaking. "The technique is crude. No security, very easy to deduce. Leave it to me." Hearing this, the old man felt somewhat reassured and didn't forget to make sweet promises. "Then I'll leave it to you. Don't suffer in the logistics department anymore. After you succeed, I'll transfer you to the research and development department." Luo Xian didn't reply, just smiled with satisfaction. The next morning, as the sun gradually rose in his neighborhood, the bad news finally reached him. What? All the special agents canceled their orders. On the other end of the radio, Li Yalan confirmed, that's right. The design blueprint was deduced by the Research and Development Department, so they're mass-producing it. He turned to look at the pile of unfinished weapons, feeling indignant. Han Xiao has officially been massively bombed with canceled orders. They really don't take me seriously at all. If that was the case, he stared at the pile of foldable combat knives and came up with a brilliant plan. Don't blame me for not being polite. A short while later, in District 9, at an underground arms and ammunition company, the front of the building was bustling with traffic and pedestrians. Inside the office, voices engaged in lively discussion. Not bad. Can you supply long-term? How about this? He hesitated for a moment, then continued with an offer. Interested in buying the blueprint? 100 foldable combat knives. 5,000 each. Blueprint, 1 million. Hey Lin didn't reply. Just quietly observed the young man before him. Then he spoke, probing the price. Can the price be negotiated? He firmly replied, no bargaining. Seeing the other party was extremely resolute, he had to accept without any further haggling. Deal. At the Division 13 office, a familiar voice sounded. The Research and Development Department's report from yesterday has been approved. The foldable combat knife is now your invention. Feng Han respectfully bowed to thank his superior. Thank you, superiors, for your trust. Director Su kindly reminded him not to celebrate too soon. He remained triumphant. Are you worried about Han Zhao's reaction? He's clinging to our Division 13. We just stole from him. What can he do to us? He slowly pulled out a file, his tone becoming serious. Oh, you think so? This made him hesitate a little. Yes, that's right. He continued with some praise. Well then, that's good. But then he threw another bucket of cold water on his face. Your involvement in using your position for arms and ammunition speculation is truly disappointing. The next morning, at the Division 13 office, everyone was going about their business as usual. However, thanks to last night's events, Feng Han was being severely criticized by his subordinates. Have you heard? The head of the Research and Development Department has been temporarily suspended and is under investigation. They say it's related to arms speculation. The person next to him was shocked to the core. The department head speculating in arms? He must have been counterattacked by Han Xiao. Then he idly concluded, this shows the higher-ups are backing him. Seeing his mouth slightly agape, the person next to him quickly hushed him. Sure, he's here. Han Xiao was leisurely walking with Gu Hui, who was continuously treating him like an honored guest. This way, please. Seeing this scene, the two couldn't help but exclaim, oh my god, even the executive director is so polite to him. What kind of background does this person have? Han Xiao was brought to an unfamiliar room. He widened his eyes in surprise, looking at the other person. Only now did he understand internally. So he wanted to see me. The other person was none other than Old Man Gao. He had been waiting for him since the afternoon. Unexpected, right? Han Xiao wasn't easily flustered. He calmly thought of how to deal with the situation. This old man, does he think I don't know his identity? Watch my acting skills. Then he pulled down his mask, revealing a stoic face. Who on earth are you? Old Man Gao was very cunning. He didn't reveal his identity immediately, but calmly replied, no need to be tense. You just need to know that I can interfere with Division 13's decisions. He slowly put out his cigarette, seeming to want to settle things. Speak. How do you want to resolve this matter? Han Xiao wasn't reserved either and got straight to the point. I just want compensation. Feng Han found his words ridiculous. You sold the blueprint and made money. I've also temporarily suspended that person. Isn't that compensation enough? He lost his temper, slammed his hand on the table, and then delivered the critical line. If you hadn't stolen my blueprint, I could have earned this normally. This should have been mine. You call this compensation? Gu Hui, standing beside him, was stunned. Sister, your face is frozen, old sister. He continued, pressing his advantage. If you had bought it from me, I might have sold it to the department. But did you negotiate with me? Feng Han, being lectured by a young brat, was furious. Gu Hui had to step in to mediate. All right, state your conditions. He continued. I hope something like this won't happen again. Old Man Gao agreed, very reasonable. However, things didn't stop there. He propped his chin on his hand, thought for a moment, and then said, then Han Xiao, like a lone dancer among wolves, confidently demanded high-level benefits. I want to see the advanced knowledge of the mechanic class. Old Man Gao fell silent. Silence continued to envelop the room. He held his breath, waiting for the other party's response, his mind filled with thoughts. This is a good opportunity. The advanced knowledge of the Six Nations and Germinal Organization are different. Only loyal and trustworthy allies are qualified to see it. Advanced knowledge is classified. Star Dragon only allows personnel with authority level 5 or higher to view it. Han Xiao anxiously clenched his fists, already thinking of a retreat plan. Success or failure hinges on this step. If it fails, I can only waste a long time increasing my authority level. Old Man Gao stared, probing his expression. Finally, he agreed. All right, I agree. His words greatly surprised Han Xiao. Contrary to him, Feng Han reacted strongly. Wait, advanced knowledge can only be shown to level 5 personnel. This is against the rules. Old man Gao had indeed anticipated this. Isn't he just wanting to see it? Then let him see it for 1 hour. Finally, Han Xiao got his wish. Let's decide it that way. A little later, they went together to the underground central vault of Division 13 headquarters. Inside, it was equipped with many advanced devices. Old man Gao looked at the massive server, his face unable to hide his pride. This is the main computer. I've already had the backend unlock the authority to read the knowledge. Gu Wei, standing beside him, acted like a patriarch. We will monitor the situation of the main server. Don't panic or play any tricks. After 1 hour, the authority will automatically turn off. Everything is still within your plan. Clearly, time is no longer an issue now. 1 hour. I just need to input potential points, and I can learn in a minute. He approached the server and began to read the knowledge. The other two from Division 13 stepped back to observe his every move. After a period of scanning, the server screen displayed the complete advanced knowledge. Han Zhao's heart was somewhat excited. Found it. It's the advanced knowledge of Star Dragon's arm branch. There's only one advanced knowledge for the mechanic class, but that's enough. The system also displayed a notification. Checking. Detected that the machinery knowledge forms advanced materials. Do you want to spend 2 potential points to learn? Han Xiao didn't hesitate any longer and pressed confirm. The system displayed a waiting screen. Learning in progress. Please do not interrupt. He stood silently waiting for a moment. Then the system announced the result of the knowledge acquisition. Learning successful. You have mastered advanced material composition. Mission complete. Immediately after, the system prompted the class change path. Detecting that the class change conditions for Mechanic Novice have been met. Please choose one of the 3 paths. Psyker, Mechanic, Pugilist. After confirming the class change path, the system fully displayed the characteristics. Class change successful. You have received a new profession. Mechanic Apprentice Level 1. Strength plus 30, Agility plus 1, Endurance plus 1, Intellect plus 3. Received 3 free attribute points. Received 1 potential point. Instantly, a surge of electricity ran down his arm, making Han Xiao exclaim, the feeling of abundant energy in the body. The system continued to display the mechanic skills. Acquired changes to self-strength attribute. Current attributes from you have received the specialty, geometric thinking. You have comprehended the skill energy refinement method. You have comprehended the skill intermediate machinery affinity. You have comprehended the skill continuous firing. You have comprehended the skill platinum alloy. Gu Hui, looking in from the outside, couldn't help but wonder, what is he smiling about? Han Xiao, on his side, was still immersed in his own world of happiness. Success. The system displayed the final necessary information, signaling that Han Zhao's journey ahead was still very long. 3rd tier Esper. You have initially transcended the realm of ordinary people, but there is still a long way to go to become an extraordinary life form. Returning to the residential area, the sun was already high, its harsh glare shining directly through the glass window. Han Xiao felt the change through the blue electrical arcs on his fingers and thought, after advancing, the biggest change is strength. I received the magnetic attribute from the mechanic specialization. Strength is the foundation of an Esper. By mastering the energy cultivation method, the growth rate will be much faster in the future. The system also continuously updated his status. You have practiced the energy refinement method once. Perfection, 81%. Strength plus 3. Meanwhile, Han Xiao, while meditating, thought, unfortunately, practicing consumes experience points and stamina. I still have to pay attention to crafting machinery. At most, I can only practice twice a day. Suddenly, the phone placed beside him made a notification sound. When he opened the screen, he saw a message from Liaolan. Captain has been discharged from the hospital. Convening everyone. At this moment, in the office of Star Dragon's secret department, Glitter was leaning against the glass with his arms crossed, questioning Han Xiao. He said he won't sell equipment to me anymore. Although rebuffed, he still tried to maintain his composure to utter a sarcastic remark. Haha, it's fine. Just a mechanic. If I want, I can just spend a little more money, and someone will sell to me. However, when he saw the Star Dragon employee given the cold shoulder, Glitter showed an annoyed expression and asked, what? Am I wrong? Suddenly, Han Xiao coolly walked in from somewhere. Everyone was quickly drawn to his demeanor. He walked straight into the office. As he entered Liaolan was already waiting. He glanced at her briefly. Zhang Wei, standing in the corner, looked at him with an unfriendly expression and asked, are you Han Xiao? Seeing the two seemed unapproachable, Lin Yao quickly spoke up. This is our captain. In principle, the captain's approval is needed to recruit new members. He leaned close to Han Zhao's ear and whispered softly, but you applied to join when the captain was recuperating, and it was approved by the department. So the captain is a bit, annoyed with you. But don't worry. Although the captain is quite strict, he's a good person. Zhang Wei picked up a tangerine from the table, coughed lightly twice, ahem, and continued while peeling it. Let me introduce myself. I'm the captain of this squad. Zhang Wei. Hearing him finish, Han Zhao's face was blank, and he silently assessed him. What a casual name. Zhang Wei's eyes looked at him with suspicion, his tone even more blunt. With you, our team now has 5 members, as per establishment. Your position is logistics, but I'll be frank, your resume is empty. I don't trust your abilities. He put a segment of tangerine into his mouth, his brows furrowed tightly, looking extremely tense, and said, even if there are any official documents about you from above, I will maintain my attitude if I find you unsatisfactory. The tangerine peel was carelessly thrown away, and at the same time, Zhang Wei's warning voice sounded, no matter who approved it, I will kick you out. Before leaving, he cast a scrutinizing gaze at Han Xiao. Corrupt privilege class. The secret department can also casually open back doors for others. They really don't care about the safety of their subordinates. Seeing that the other person didn't seem to like him, he was also speechless and sighed to himself. It seems I'm being seen as someone who got in through connections. Suddenly, a notification sound came. Lin Yao surprisingly came over to check. There's news. He tapped a few times and immediately announced, there's a mission. The higher-ups are telling us to depart immediately. Hearing this, Zhang Wei quickly turned around to inquire about the specific situation. Follow orders. Lin Yao looked at the computer screen and read out the displayed content clearly. Squad Ma Qingyang, while executing a raid mission on a germinal base, was ambushed. The higher-ups are ordering us to go provide support immediately. The special ops team didn't delay any longer. As he packed his bag, he instructed, other things get on the plane and talk. However, Zhang Wei interrupted. Lin Yao, you stay behind and take over the logistics position. Han Xiao, you knew, stay by his side and learn. Both were stunned by these words. Han Xiao sternly continued, it's a rare opportunity. Quickly make yourself useful to us. Han Xiao didn't resist, just stepped forward and agreed. All right. Lin Yao, standing beside him, was startled by this attitude. Suddenly, he placed his hand on Li Yaolin's shoulder and mumbled, stopping her, wait. Han Xiao brought out his new weapon to display to his teammates and introduced, this is my friendship sponsorship. She, seeing it as if she had struck gold, excitedly asked, is this your new invention? He also kindly confirmed, use it sparingly. After a little hesitation, the whole squad urged each other. Then let's go. At the base, the system also updated Han Zhao's new task. You have activated a support mission. Mission content, rescue the pursued secret squad. Your responsibility is to assist your teammates in completing this mission. Requirement, successfully rescue Squad Ma Qingyang. Reward, 8,000 experience points. Special reward, none. Young Lin Yao, perhaps afraid he would feel slighted, immediately comforted him. Brother Xiao, the captain isn't intentionally targeting you. Don't take it to heart. Han Xiao, sitting on the chair, replied as he listened to the other person's explanation. I know. In another development, a convoy of military vehicles roared, chasing each other under the scorching desert heat, leaving a trail of dust billowing in the wind. They rushed, tailing each other so as not to lose sight. Qingyang's face was full of anxiety as he looked outside. The convoy behind was growing larger, making him uneasy, so he angrily shouted, why haven't the reinforcements arrived yet? Just as he finished speaking, a helicopter appeared in the sky. The entire special ops team, led by Zhang Wei, immediately descended. Soon, they landed safely. He reassured Qingyang, hold on, old ma. After removing the mask of his armor, Zhang Wei reported sternly, we've arrived. The entire squad raised their guns, ready to engage the approaching convoy. Zhang Wei reported through the communication link, arrived at the location. His voice echoed inside the team's office. Rescue squad is 30 kilometers away. The pursuing enemy has a total of 15 armored off-road vehicles and 1 Black Hawk helicopter. Lin Yao, through the surveillance video on his computer, laid out a strategy. The temporary assembly point is set at the mound 3 kilometers from everyone. Your mission is to ambush the pursuing troops and support your teammates. I've sent them the assembly point. Everyone prepare. Han Xiao, standing beside him to learn, was also extremely shocked. War-grade prototype armored suit. One of the basic power armors of Planet Aquamarine, version 1.0. I didn't expect there to be something not bad like this. On this side, Zhang Wei, satisfied after hearing this, quickly replied, Roger. He sternly ordered the entire squad to prepare. On the opposite side, armored vehicles continuously sped towards them. Zhang Wei, after aiming clearly, raised his hand to command, fire. Soon, the entire area was engulfed in thick smoke and dust, along with the sound of bombs and bullets. Some vehicles, caught in the ambush, were more easily targeted from a distance. Zhang Wei hid behind a nearby rock, tightly gripping his sniper rifle. A series of subsequent attacks hit a vehicle, causing it to show signs of losing control. Rambo also began to aim. With just one gunshot, the tire of that vehicle exploded. It started to swerve uncontrollably, even crashing into a nearby vehicle, causing both to explode into pieces. But they only managed to eliminate a part of them. The remaining vehicles still closely tailed Qingyang's vehicle. He carefully looked through the rearview mirror and saw the reinforcements. He quickly turned the steering wheel and hid behind a giant rock. Seeing the relief force had arrived, Qingyang showed a slight smile of relief and said, you guys finally came. Not only that, he kindly reminded, old Zhang, there are too many enemies. Run quickly. At this moment, A helicopter also appeared in the sky with the arrival of Gila. Zhang Wei was startled and looked up, seemingly sensing something ominous, and shouted, "Dodge!" Just as he finished speaking, an attack came. To avoid it, he slid far away. When he realized the situation was temporarily safe, he immediately sat up and observed his surroundings. The warrior hit by the attack could only stare wide-eyed and scream, their spirits in extreme anguish. Zhang Wei, seeing everyone scattered on the ground, immediately realized the problem and announced, "Mental attack. The enemy has an Esper." Above, in the helicopter, Gila was continuously using her power. Both Lin Yao and Han Xiao quickly fell into a state of shock. Han Xiao seemed restless and quickly removed Lin Yao's headset. Through the communication mic, he reminded her she's a combat executive officer of Germinal Organization. That voice echoed here. "Dodge immediately." Zhang Wei, surprised, questioned loudly, "Han Xiao, what are you doing?" But he instantly fell into confusion. Li Yaoan on the opposite side, hearing this news, nodded in understanding. "Roger." At the same time, Gila had already jumped close to them. She and Li Yaoan confronted each other directly. Seeing her opponent, Gila frowned tightly and then threw a kick straight at Li Yaoan, forcing her to try and block. Not letting herself fall into a passive position, Li Yaoan also bent her leg. She kicked high with great power, but Gila easily dodged it, making her wonder in surprise. A martial artist? The two of them continuously fought. Gila always maintained a focused combat state. As soon as she saw an opening, she sent a punch straight to Li Yaoan's face, making her spit blood, some even splattering on the ground. Wiping the blood from the corner of her mouth, she carefully thought, "No, the level difference is too great. Even getting close doesn't give me an advantage. At this rate, I'll lose sooner or later." The battle was becoming increasingly fierce. Li Yaoan was still trying to deal with Gila. She gathered all her strength and threw a punch at her. Instantly, Gila countered with her hand. Due to the disparity in strength, Li Yaoan was quickly defeated. Her face was bruised, and she signaled in pain. Han Xiao, quickly think of a way. On the other end of the line, everyone was still intently watching the signal on the computer screen. Han Xiao quickly thought of a way and instructed, "Find an opportunity to use the power arm. The enemy will reveal an opening for a moment." Rambo seized the opportunity to launch a sneak attack. After receiving the order, Li Yaoan immediately activated the power arm. She stretched her arm into the air, and blue energy trails gracefully wrapped around it like silk ribbons, preparing to activate immense power. Meanwhile, Rambo and his teammate had found a suitable place to proceed. He quickly shouldered his sniper rifle, preparing to attack. Gila, reveling in her victory, was unknowingly caught in his sights. Suddenly, she was shocked by the scene before her. It turned out Li Yaoan had appeared with the power arm, ready to attack her. Too surprised to react in time, Gila took the full force of the punch. She looked at her angrily. Gila, noticing the power arm, asked Li Yaoan in an annoyed tone, "What is your relationship with Zero?" Contrary to her expectation, Li Yaoan looked at her blankly. "Who is Zero?" While she was distracted, Rambo raised his gun. Only then did she realize something was wrong. But because her reaction was slow, she was hit by the bullet. A strong force appeared on the ground. It turned out Gila was being knocked far back. Just as they were gaining momentum, Han Xiao suddenly gave a surprising instruction. "Zhang Wei, have Li Yaoan retreat. Don't get caught up in the fight." Zhang Wei, hearing this, didn't question but immediately complied. "Roger." He approached Li Yaoan, helped her up, "Hang in there," and then carried her on his shoulder to retreat. A teammate in the vehicle frantically shouted, "Get in the car, quick!" Several teammates behind helped the two get into the back of the vehicle. Zhang Wei wasn't hasty and turned back to observe the situation, assessing, the pursuing army's armor speed isn't as fast as ours. The Esper is also dealing with injuries and can't pursue. He looked at the convoy in front and remarked, "As long as we get to the plane, we can retreat safely." After everyone was settled in the car, Zhang Wei took off his helmet and sighed in relief. "No problem." Suddenly, from the other end of the line, Han Zhao's warning voice made him stunned. "Be careful in the sky." On this side, he also anxiously announced, "The enemy still has one helicopter." The vehicle began to accelerate after hearing the report. The enemy helicopter also flew, closely following their vehicle. From the helicopter, they dropped missiles. The ground gradually exploded, earth shattering, dust flying. The vehicle even almost fell into a ravine. Zhang Wei immediately urged, "Rambo, shoot it down." He reported anxiously, "Armor-piercing rounds are all used up. Normal bullets can't penetrate its armor." Zhang Wei was desperate and scared. "Are we going to die here?" Meanwhile, their vehicle was already in the enemy's sights. Suddenly, Han Xiao spoke. "Have you forgotten what I gave you?" In this critical situation, they had no choice but to pull that thing out and fiddle with it. "What does this thing do?" They held a high-explosive round, full of curiosity. Han Xiao encouraged, "Try it and you'll know." At this point, they had no choice but to comply. Rambo adjusted his sights to destroy that helicopter. After they opened fire, the enemy immediately responded, also shooting at their wheels. The wheel quickly seized up and then began to explode, scattering debris. At this time, the transportation equipment of both sides was severely damaged, smoke and fire billowing. Zhang Wei observed the situation and reported, "The enemy's helicopter has been scared off." Han Xiao coldly removed his headset and ordered, "Our plane is about to arrive. Retreat." Those on the other end of the line were curious about what he had given them. "What kind of bullet is this? It can even burn armor. Where did you guys get such good stuff?" After completing the mission, the system announced, "Rescue completed. You received 8,000 experience points. Increased 100 faction favorability with Star Dragon Strategic Defense Department." From a distance, where no one was paying attention, Hila had observed the situation and was calling to report. Reporting to the leader, Zero's whereabouts have been discovered. After the battle, everyone began to return to headquarters. Lin Yao, upon arriving, couldn't stop praising Han Zhao's talent. "Brother Xiao, you're so amazing," he coldly replied. "You only just discovered that today?" While the two were talking, Zhang Wei's voice suddenly cut in. "Ahem, ahem." It turned out that after witnessing his command skills, he felt remorseful. "I apologize for doubting your abilities before. If it weren't for your new weapons in command, we would have been dead for sure." Han Xiao still looked at him coldly without replying. Then Zhang Wei extended his hand generously. "In my capacity as captain," different from his previous attitude, he was now warmly welcoming Han Xiao. "Welcome to the squad." Han Xiao didn't bother to argue with him and coldly replied, "No need to apologize for such a small matter." Han Xiao also shook his hand in reconciliation. "After all, I'm a tolerant person." Although the words sounded normal, they were filled with killing intent. Zhang Wei, hearing this, couldn't help but feel confused. Why does it feel like he's being sarcastic? Suddenly, from outside the door, a voice called, "Yo, everyone's here?" Zhang Wei, seeing that person arrive, teased, "You're not on your own team. What are you doing running over to our place?" It turned out the person who had come over was Qingya. Being teased like that, he awkwardly rubbed his head and replied, "I came to ask if you're selling those bullets from before." Zhang Wei, seeing this as a good business opportunity, whispered to Han Xiao, "Han Xiao, what do you think? Let's make a good deal out of him." Since it had come to this, Han Xiao was no longer polite and decisively stated the price. Of course, 50 per round. After being informed of the price, Qingyang didn't hesitate and decided to order immediately. "I plan to buy 200 rounds. Among them, 20 small caliber pistol rounds, 150 submachine gun rounds, and 30 sniper rifle rounds." Han Xiao, seeing he had enough stock to deliver, sealed the deal. "You can pick them up in one day." After the negotiations were completed, Li Yaolin patted him on the back from behind and hinted, "From now on, I'll be in charge of pulling in business for you. You have to give me a discount." He had no choice but to offer a 20% discount. No more than that. After taking stock of everything, Han Xiao began to think about the value of the item he had just created. These bullets can be sold for a lot of money. Crafting bullets also gives experience. Not bad. I won't have to worry about money for a short while. Meanwhile, elsewhere in the headquarters, Luo Xian was still fiddling with something. In his hand was a bullet similar to Han Zhao's. As he examined it, he thought, the director doesn't allow anyone to research high combustion bullets. He's just afraid of Han Xiao. Luo Xian looked at the item in his hand, smugly pleased. "I'll crack it and present it to the higher-ups. Secretly manufacture it in the military factory far from the western capital." Han Xiao can only admit defeat. He began to separate the warhead and the casing to explore. Successfully disassembled the warhead. Next is to study the warhead components. The warhead was placed on a cutting machine to begin disassembly. Luo Xian was still gloating. If successful, the higher-ups will definitely see me in a different light. Suddenly, he noticed something unusual and froze. Even so, he couldn't react in time. The room he was in quickly exploded, and fire began to rage. People from outside, hearing the loud explosion, shouted, "Fire! It's coming from the workshop!" After receiving the report, Feng Han and Gu Hui immediately rushed to the scene. Feng Han angrily roared, "What did you do?" From the smoking background, a pair of hands feebly emerged. It was Luo Xian's hands. From a fair-skinned, handsome man. After the explosion, his entire body was grimy, his head bald because all his hair had burned off. Luo Xian cried in fear, "Director!" After the smoke gradually dispersed, the remains of the high-combustion bullets appeared on the ground. Gu Hui angrily cursed. "Your man dared to analyze high-combustion bullets." While the soldiers were trying to put out the fire, Gu Hui stood there coldly and ordered, "Explain." Only now did Feng Han understand the cause of the problem and complained in confusion, "I don't know. He did it himself." Luo Xian, with his grimy appearance and pitiful bald head, looked at the two, but Gu Hui still asked sternly, "Do you have anything to say?" Immediately after, he coldly ordered, "I remember you are a member of the logistics department. Get transferred back." The room fell silent. Only the sound of bullet casings falling to the ground could be heard. A little later, in another room, a surprised voice sounded. "What?" Glitter, having received the notification, rushed over. "High combustion ammunition, not selling to us?" Li Yaolin, in the room, remembered Han Zhao's instructions. "Han Xiao said you're on his blacklist. He won't do business with you in any form, and he won't accept any apologies." Seeing he couldn't trade with Han Xiao anymore, he began to try and persuade those who had already bought them. Glitter tempted En Fa. "Friend, sell me the bullets you just bought. I'll give you 200 for one." Fa shyly avoided his hand and refused. No, I'm not selling. He sighed and explained, give up. Selling to you means offending Han Xiao. It's really not worth it for your little sentiment. Who knows, Han Xiao might have something even better. Being exposed like that, Glitter was too embarrassed to speak. A little later, at the logistics department, people in a room were gathered in groups, gossiping. It turned out Luo Xian was being transferred and was packing his things to leave. As he walked, he pondered Han Xiao. After a moment of hesitation, he sighed, regretting deeply. I'm still too young. Night gradually fell on the germinal base. In Jean Mao's room, he stood respectfully listening to orders. Opposite him, Grey Wolf was saying, Star Dragon's special agent equipment is very similar to Zero's power arm. Previously, the secret base was also besieged and destroyed by Star Dragon. The only one who could have leaked information to Star Dragon is Zero. But with Zero's authority, how could he have obtained such top-secret information? His previous threat kept replaying in his mind. I will destroy you all. Just thinking about it made him tremble with anger. Who on earth is he? Then he began to give orders. Relay my command. Recruit some strangers. Have them go to Star Dragon to investigate Zero's whereabouts. If any clues are found, tell Nosa to deal with him. Tonight, the people from Star Dragon Division 13 again arranged a car to take Han Xiao back to the shop. Before leaving, Feng Jun kindly reminded him, German organizations, spies lurking in the western capital have already taken action. They are looking for your whereabouts. It seems they know you're working for us. Han Xiao wasn't surprised and replied, I guessed as much. To protect a talent like Han Xiao, all measures have been implemented. He comforted him. Don't worry. We have deployed a large number of personnel nearby. 24/7 surveillance. After Qingyang got in the car, Han Xiao instructed, help me get 2 Desert Eagles from the department's armory. He quickly complied. All right. Watching the department car leave, Han Xiao was lost in thought. What should come has finally come. I'm also prepared. The scorching heat of the sun beat down on the quiet residential area. In a certain house, Han Xiao was engrossed in researching something at his workbench. Machines moved continuously under his control. A little later, the system suddenly displayed a notification. You have successfully researched platinum alloy. Han Xiao looked at the product in his hand with great satisfaction. The quality is not bad. It seems the money spent on raw or materials wasn't wasted. Thinking this, he reached out and, neither quickly nor slowly, turned off the manufacturing equipment. His eyes remained fixed on the weapon in his hand. Suddenly, the system updated the weapon's status quickly. Foldable platinum combat knife. Quality, green. Effect, accompanied by shock resistance. Combined with a small amount of platinum alloy, increases durability. Note, this is a knife that can be used as a shield. At the same time, his phone suddenly displayed a new notification. On the screen was a message from the squad. The Desert Eagle you needed last time is ready. It's in your team's armory, in the training room. As soon as Han Xiao brought the new item, a teammate was extremely excited. Is this your upgraded combat knife? Let me try it quickly. Li Yalan, holding the platinum combat knife tightly, with just one decisive slash, easily cut the metal pipe in front of her. Seeing the effect exceeded expectations, she tilted her head, looked at Han Xiao, and praised, delicious. Cuts like cutting mud. As expected, it's much better than before. However, at this moment, he paid little attention to Li Yalan, busy testing the power of the newly crafted gun. As expected of the Desert Eagle, its power is very good. She surprisingly approached him, seeming reluctant to return the combat knife to its owner. I don't want to return it to you. Make one for me next time, okay? He had no choice but to reluctantly agree. All right, next time, definitely. After returning to his room, Han Xiao sat on the bed, contemplating. These weapons should be enough to deal with German organization's assassins. While he was thinking about various things, the system began to update his current progress. After training, perfection, 90%. Strength +4. Han Xiao's eyes widened, unable to hide his own surprise. He felt a clear change in his internal strength as the system officially announced the upgrade. The information panel switched to another section. Line by line, the upgrade stats appeared. Mechanic Apprentice level 4. Total level 24. Combat power 160. Han Xiao observed the abundant energy he had just received and calculated. According to the current progress, by the time the public beta starts, my strength will have surpassed the first batch of players several times over. The system suddenly changed its content again. It urgently reminded its owner. Starting beta test. Acquiring data. Data acquisition complete. Test duration, 12 days. Han Xiao looked at the new objective and was bewildered. Beta test. He continuously analyzed the current situation. It seems this beta test is aimed at a small number of players and occurs 1 week before the public beta. 1 day in reality is equivalent to 6 days in the game. Calculated by game time, it should be more than 40 days before the public beta, right? His hand unconsciously touched the virtual screen counting down to the public beta, 134 days. Seemingly sensing something amiss, Han Xiao was so tense that sweat beaded on his forehead. Could it be that when players haven't appeared, real time and game time are unrelated? Alright, but then it didn't take him long to realize the truth. Each real-world update only lasts 2 or 3 days, but the time experienced in the Galaxy world is calculated in years. Thinking back and forth, he didn't see any major problems. Han Xiao reassured himself with relief. That's right. If so, with each update, I'll have more development time than other players. The moon rose, blanketing the entire city in night. He approached the window, looking up at the moon with an indescribable worry in his heart. But, should I be worried about my lifespan? Suddenly, Han Xiao's attention was drawn to the screen beside him. The system displayed a new notification from the server. Unlocked NPC template function. Unlocked player forum. He looked at it, completely clueless, his mind filled with questions. NPC function? There's no introduction at all. Seeing the potential for information mining by having an account, Han Xiao moved the cursor to that item. Player forum. I could try to register. While waiting, the system was checking the neural link. Game cabin not detected. Player not found. Cannot register. He began to analyze the situation again. Right, the official forum can only be accessed by players sitting in the game cabin to post statuses. It seems I can't register a forum account. Han Xiao stretched tiredly after a whole session of exploration, reminding himself, if players appear, I must find an opportunity to make contact. Not long after, everything quieted down. The next day, in a high-end office building, a new person was engrossed in researching the game. He continuously set up his own character, with the character ID Blade Frenzy Berserker, and chose a normal start. Character creation complete. Race, human carbon-based. Based on your preferences, your starting planet has been assigned. Planet Aquamarine. Just like that, the new rookie named Blade Frenzy was quickly launched. The system continuously updated his profile, randomly selecting rookie's birthplace. Random selection complete. A giant beam of light unexpectedly descended upon the planet. The chosen place for the rookie also determined the starting point. Great Horn Mountain residential area. An entire lush forest appeared. Coordinates, 24.152, 182.644. Blade Frenzy had just opened his eyes to find the game constantly reminding him, spawning, please wait. In the middle of the unfamiliar jungle, a virtual screen materialized out of nowhere. Blade Frenzy's body continuously formed. With the appearance of an elf, the new character was also clearly tagged with the name Blade Frenzy Berserker above his head. It wasn't just him. A large number of other players were also gradually logging into the game. In Stardragon's Great Horn Mountain residential area, groups of players were chatting everywhere at this moment. Blade Frenzy quietly walked through the village path, conveniently overhearing others' conversations. This place seems to be the novice village. What should we do now? Suddenly, Sandry appeared and interrupted their conversation. You outsiders. The old man, leaning on his staff, looked over everyone without missing anyone and coldly warned, if you want to eat your fill, let me find work for you. Our residential area doesn't welcome idlers. Blade Frenzy, hearing that harsh tone, couldn't help but silently observe the other person. A profile panel appeared before his eyes. Old man Sandry. At the same time, the system also provided a reminder. With your current perception, you can only obtain the information below. Village Chief of Great Horn Mountain residential area. Sandry. You can consider him the novice village chief. Danger level, medium. The old man's voice echoed in all directions, guiding the rookies. The crops here need people to harvest. The tailor shop and weapon shop also need skilled craftsmen. A shipment has just arrived at the residential area gate and needs people to unload. In short, as long as you are diligent, you won't starve to death. Blade Frenzy quickly left to explore the village. Resources from a novice village were limited, and the precious trial time meant he had to get out quickly. After a while of looking around, he was drawn to an axe being sold. He told himself he had to quickly explore some places to gain an advantage. Without hesitation, Blade Frenzy rushed to pay the shopkeeper and then returned to the old man's house after completing the transaction. After a whole session of bargaining, Sandry quickly quoted the price for each item. The map cost 3,000 aquamarine coins. Confirm purchase. Blade Frenzy quickly took the bag of items and confirmed. After a while of studying each location, he immediately absorbed the important information. This is a map of Stardragon. The nearest city is the western capital. He carefully looked around as if searching for something, his eyes full of enthusiasm as he looked towards the distant western capital. Well then, let's go to the western capital and see. At the Stardragon western capital border post, a long line of people waited impatiently for their turn. Han Xiao, nearby, was leisurely sipping water, his gaze soon captivated. He stared intently at Blade Frenzy, who was walking while checking the map in his hand. This was so intense that uneasy thoughts surfaced in Blade Frenzy's mind. After entering the city, I feel like someone is watching me. A moment of observation easily revealed Han Xiao on the opposite side, and he couldn't help but notice. It seems to be that person over there. When he tried to open the system to investigate his background, it only threw back an answer. Mysterious young man. With your current level, you can only obtain the information below. Danger level, fatally dangerous. Blade Frenzy was astonished, a hint of fear in his heart. Fatally dangerous. He quickly scurried past Han Xiao, looking weak and trembling. Shouldn't it be very safe in the city? I need to get out of here fast. I don't want to die. Just as he thought he had escaped, Han Xiao called out, "Hey, friend over there." His tone gently reminded Blade Frenzy. It's very impolite to probe someone you've just met. He immediately became defensive, still trying to justify himself. Is there something wrong? Suddenly, Han Xiao's tone became murderous. Young man, I need help. Are you free? However, he was constantly evaluating the other party internally. Is this a high-level NPC? Did an opportunity come so quickly? Did I trigger a hidden mission? Am I the chosen one? This is too great, wonderful. Han Xiao suddenly softened his voice. I need a loaf of bread. Can you find it? He expected something profound, but the result was simple. Blade Frenzy froze. Ah, a mission has arrived. As he accepted the mission, he couldn't help but sneer. A high-level NPC mission, so easy? The reward must be small too. The content to be completed was quickly updated. Mission requirement. Give Han Xiao a loaf of bread. Reward. 1 aquamarine coin. Feeling something was off, Blade Frenzy paused. Wait a minute. He looked Han Xiao up and down and analyzed silently. If he's a top-tier NPC, he must have a high-level mission. This is probably a prerequisite mission, his test. Only by satisfying him can I trigger the subsequent mission. It must be like this. Thinking of such a delicious bait, Blade Frenzy was overjoyed, his heart blooming. After playing games for so many years, I'm too familiar with this pattern. He respectfully offered several loaves of bread, gently trying to sway him, which stunned Han Xiao. This is all the bread I have on me. It's all yours. A new notification appeared, making Blade Frenzy pause. New mission on the notification board. Exploratory mission. Kick 10 passers-by in the butt. Reward. 1 aquamarine coin. Except, although the mission was extremely strange, he still tried to do it, even though he was severely scolded as a lunatic. Another mission. Remove the pants of the patrolling police officer. Mission completed. Received 1 aquamarine coin. He wasn't afraid to do it, but his heart screamed. This isn't fun at all. What kind of crappy mission is this? Even when he was forced to spin around hundreds of times like a music box doll, he didn't forget to judge the game system. This high-level NPC, why is he so salty, annoying/weird? But all that faded before the next objective, which shocked Blade Frenzy a second time. Simply opening a personal shop for a few rounds. Coincidentally, Han Xiao wanted to sell a batch of weapons at this time, and the prices were revealed. Blade Frenzy's interface clearly showed regret, and he felt aggrieved. These are all divine artifacts. Unfortunately, they're too expensive. 1 bullet for 100 coins? Why not just rob someone? Looking at the newly updated list, he couldn't help but feel admiration. Basic weaponry. This is specialized knowledge for the mechanic class. Perhaps his intuition had realized something. He scrutinized Han Xiao and easily determined. This person must be a hard-to-encounter mentor. This is my destiny. Blade Frenzy's unease became more and more apparent, mixed with fear. But if I can learn from him, my development speed can definitely crush all other players. Unconsciously, his hand also clenched into a trembling fist. Looking at the question from the system, do you want to change class to the mechanic system? Blade Frenzy didn't hesitate and pressed confirm, his heart also constantly reassuring him. If I don't seize this opportunity, I will definitely regret it for the rest of my life. Immediately after, something strange happened to his entire body. He glanced at Han Xiao for a long time, as if with indescribable thoughts. Only when he saw the other person turn to leave did this Blade Frenzy hastily speak up. Wait, excuse me, where can I find you later? His feet also began to speed up, afraid of losing sight of Han Xiao. He coldly handed over a piece of paper instead of speaking directly. Blade Frenzy carefully opened it to see the content. Just a few concise words. Repair shop number 46, Street 5. Blade Frenzy watched Han Xiao's receding figure. He silently clutched the thin piece of paper in his hand, his own calculations beginning to form. As long as I protect the secret of this high-level NPC during the trial period, I can definitely surpass other players. He secretly glanced at Han Xiao's back until the traffic light at the intersection. While crossing the road, his mind couldn't stop thinking about the person he had just met. Blade Frenzy Berserker, interesting. With his good memory, Han Xiao easily recognized the other party's background. I remember he's a great master of the pugilist class, one of the top 24 of Huaxia. He probably saw through Blade Frenzy's thoughts. He didn't blame him, and even sympathized with his situation of being lured into the mechanic class by him. In the first few seasons of competition, he definitely won't have a chance to shine. But as long as he persists for a few more versions, he will definitely be grateful to me. His footsteps headed towards the construction site. The workers who were offered help by the rookie were also overjoyed. That's great. Are you really helping us? Gong Jiang excitedly confirmed. Really? Even though he was just passing by, Han Xiao still praised their work attitude. Oh, it seems many players have completed the novice village scenario. However, in a nearby corner, there was a dejected level 2 old man player, all alone. He looked at the contrast between the two sides and couldn't help but fall into deep thought. Most players have no principles. They only care about mission rewards. Han Xiao, through his accumulated experience, had realized the truth of life. As long as you give them benefits, they will work for you. Hith. He gradually began to have other calculations. Perhaps I can command them to become an important support force for me to confront Germinal organization. No sooner said than done. He soon stepped into the construction area. Han Xiao crossed his arms in front of his chest and softly requested, "Hi, brave warriors. I need your help." Lan Xiao, who was working, also stopped. "Huh, it seems to be a high-level NPC." Gong Jiang, standing beside him, even kindly asked Han Xiao, "What can we do for you? We'd be happy to help." Looking at a list of rewards from the system, Han Xiao pondered and calculated for a long time. The mission rewards I can give are limited. I can't issue missions with rewards exceeding my limit. Before he could finish, the virtual screen switched to a new objective. Eliminate the Germinal organization. Mission cannot be established. Mission difficulty. Your limit is not enough to pay the minimum reward requirement for the mission. Han Zhao's thoughts became more complicated. The limit also can't provide for myself. He looked at the people in front of him and couldn't help but sigh. It seems I should still think of a way to increase the limit first before I can use players more effectively. Gong Jiang, seeing the other party remain silent for too long, gradually became dissatisfied. "Hey brother, if you have something to say it quickly. We're very busy." Han Zhao's finger continued to swipe on the screen. The trio of construction youths immediately received a mission. Gong Jiang was stunned and exclaimed, "Huh, a mission?" And he also looked over curiously. "What kind of weird mission is this?" "Fine bread, reward 1 coin." Receiving such a ridiculously low price, they dispersed back to their original positions with some sarcastic remarks. "High-level NPC, my ass. So boring. It's not even as good as transporting goods." Han Xiao, realizing this method was ineffective, quickly used a trick, control and reduce favorability with shining fried rice. Without hesitation, he chose yes. He received a poor evaluation and reacted even more violently. "No way. If I don't accept the mission, my favorability drops?" This NPC is so petty. After completing it, Han Xiao slyly walked back to the repair shop. Lu Qian, seeing a new guest at home, boldly teased him. "Why does he follow you every day? Isn't he pursuing you? I think he's very sincere. Why don't you go with him?" She had just finished speaking when Han Xiao coldly ordered Blade Frenzy to go to the street and act like a plant for 10 minutes. He didn't resist and obediently followed the order. "All right, sir." After commanding the other party to leave, Han Xiao quickly explained, "I told you it's not what you think." In the yard, Blade Frenzy, while waving his arms and legs, stared at the system screen. The Divine Tribe Guild really has money. If only I could find Zero. He based his observation on his every move. This brat is looking at the player forum. Perhaps suddenly remembering something, his facial muscles tensed. Han Xiao continuously swiped the virtual screen to monitor everything. In the general chat, countless pieces of news were constantly updated, and the most prominent was a B-rank mission. He carefully read the updated content. His memory struggled to recall an important matter. I remember the first B-rank mission appeared after the public beta was released. During the trial period, how could someone activate a mission of this level? The system, at the same time, sent a notification dispelling his doubts. Latest news, B-rank mission, investigate Zero. Submitting any valuable information will be rewarded. This truly confused Han Xiao. It seems my existence has messed up the game's progress. He clenched his fist tightly, not forgetting to remind himself, although current players pose no threat to me, I can't be careless. Seeing Han Xiao leave, Lu Qian curiously asked, "It's almost dinner time. Where are you going?" He only coldly replied with a few words, "To the workshop." She looked at his carefree attitude and couldn't help but complain, "Really? Every day rush, rush, rush. Workaholism is truly scary." As soon as he arrived, he sat down to research at his workbench, his eyes glued to the notice board. Suddenly, a notification sound interrupted him. The system indicated, "You have activated an urgent assassination mission. Hint, assassin approaching the battlefield. Requirement, survive. Reward, unknown." Han Xiao carefully reviewed it. This assassin actually managed to bypass Division 13 surveillance. Fortunately, old man Lu wasn't home. He quickly brought a gun for self-defense. In his current state, he was extremely tense with his own calculations in mind. It seems before dealing with the players joining the Germinal organization, I have to deal with Germinal organization's assassin first. Han Xiao, burdened with many worries, strode down the street. Lu Qian is still in the shop. I can't involve her. He focused his gaze ahead. After some scouting, he determined this deserted harbor is very suitable for fighting. Suddenly, a figure flashed past. This place, just a small action, made him sharply alert. Seeing a black bird suddenly appear and dive towards him, Han Xiao was extremely shocked. What is this? He continuously scanned his surroundings. Not just one, but a whole flock at once. By the time he realized the danger, he had fallen into their binding trap. A rope carried by the flock of birds wrapped around Han Xiao's neck. He struggled to loosen it with difficulty. Damn it, the enemy is an Esper. After struggling for a while, he felt helpless, unable to escape. A giant cross appeared before him. Han Xiao's eyes were filled with astonishment. Waves of blood-red substance rushed in from nowhere. He was tightly bound to the cross, which was planted right in the middle of the blazing Red Sea. Realizing the matter wasn't simple, Han Xiao utilized his experience to analyze the situation. It's an illusion. This level of realism. The opponent's ability level is probably on par with Helis. He felt the rope tightening and became uneasy. The more I struggle, the tighter it gets. This is troublesome. He could only feel helpless. Realizing resistance was futile. Damn it, am I going to die here today? From his surprised eyes, a flash of astonishment shot through. The system hurriedly reminded, you have fallen into an illusion. Assessing your intellect, 50 points. Past assessment. You are immune to this illusion. As soon as Han Xiao saw he had the ability to fight back, he easily dispelled the illusion and returned to reality. Before he could rejoice, a hot weapon was pointed at his head. Nosa smiled amicably and softly said, "Goodbye, Zero." His fingers slowly squeezed the trigger. As the bullet flew out, Han Xiao, quick as lightning, used ethereal kiting to dodge in time. Encountering a formidable prey, Nosa gritted his teeth, his dissatisfaction clear. To be able to dodge a bullet at such close range. While the opponent was distracted, Han Xiao quickly drew his two guns. Without hesitation, he simultaneously activated Overload. Seeing him use a shield to block the attack, Han Xiao carefully observed his opponent. It's a defensive shield, strength similar to Helis. This guy is indeed not simple. On the other hand, Nosa himself wasn't comfortable, both resisting and feeling like he had been tricked by the intel. The intel said Zero's strength was only on par with elite special agents. But why is he so strong? He shouted in shock. The intel is flawed. He decided to flee, even though he was being closely pursued. In short, retreat first, go back and replan. His eyes, filled with panic, constantly looked behind him, his hands quickly performing a secret art to hold him back. Many blackbirds appeared again. Han Xiao soon fell into the illusion again. However, he just smiled faintly. The system began to update the current status. Checking. Illusion intrusion detected. Assessing your intellect. 50 points high. Assessment successful. You are immune to this illusion this time. Without hesitation, he punched through the blood-red illusion and quickly grabbed his gun, rushing out. A special magazine was quickly brought out by Han Xiao to replace the previous one. High-temperature ammunition equipped successfully. Nosa, though fleeing, tried to look back. Just one moment of curiosity made him fall into the sights. He angrily shouted, "Damn it! What?" The bullet, like a rocket, shot straight at Nosa. Han Xiao's voice also carried a hint of regret. "Indeed, you are very strong. It's just a pity." He watched as his opponent, who was alive and well moments ago, was now engulfed in brilliant flames, and even sneered, "The same trick doesn't work twice." Inside a small alley, a secret meeting of Feng Jun's group was taking place. As soon as Feng Jun got out of the car, he hurriedly apologized. "Are you okay? Sorry I'm late." Han Xiao showed his displeasure, pointing to a bruise on his face. "Do I look okay?" Because he felt guilty, he didn't dare to look him straight in the eye when replying, "Sorry, it was my negligence." He temporarily let it go and looked towards the raging fire in the distance. Don't blame him. This person is an executive officer of the German organization, a super assassin who has never failed before. Hearing those vague words, the only answer popped into Feng Jun's head. "Nosa, the exploder," he replied in a calm tone, his face showing no emotion. Even though Feng Jun was still confused. Wait a minute. The highly professional man now couldn't believe what he had just seen. "You were ambushed by Nosa, and you even killed him? Are you that strong?" Contrary to his astonished appearance, Han Xiao just calmly replied, "Is this the first day you've known me?" His cool words hit everyone present like a double whammy, leaving them no time to dodge. Han Xiao ignored the people behind him and got into the car to rest. The notification board lit up immediately. "You have completed the assassination mission. You received a character arrival card. Nosa, Exploder. Esper ability, Illusion. Targets with intellect over 50 can be immune. Uses, 0/1. This was indeed a worthy reward for what he had put in. "This gift, I'll take it, Germinal." Feng Jun, after finishing matters outside, got into the car to ask for his opinion. "So, shall we go back to headquarters to report?" A tired voice softly hummed. Han Xiao suddenly remembered something and quickly told him. "Nosa found my location. That means Germinal organization also knows." He was extremely worried, but Feng Jun remained calm and confident in his team's abilities. That's not necessarily true. The intelligence department hackers have sealed the network and are simultaneously conducting programming, screening, and artificial intelligence identification. Any news mentioning you is not allowed to be transmitted out of the Western capital. But those fancy words couldn't fool him. Are you sure? Years of work experience had helped him gather some interesting information. However, Nosa wouldn't act rashly. He must have handed your information to spies in the Western capital. Even if the network is sealed, they can still transmit information out of the Western capital themselves. Knowing that letting him continue to sit in the car would slow down his actions, Han Xiao proactively grabbed the steering wheel. Taking advantage of the changing wind, he conveniently dropped Feng Jun off. "I'm going to catch him. That way, Germinal organization won't know my specific location for the time being." The situation was urgent, so he could only leave instructions without any explanation. You go quickly and ask the higher-ups to seal off the entire city. He didn't understand what was happening and banged on the window, shouting, "Hey, don't act recklessly. No one knows who germinal organizations, spies in the Western capital, are. Were you going to catch them?" But that person paid no attention to those words and decisively pressed the accelerator, speeding off. The car flew like the wind, leaving the dazed intelligence officer sitting on the ground. Who are the spies? Han Zhao's sharp eyes and confidence soared to new heights. Of course I know. The black car, blessed by Master, sped smoothly on the road without any obstacles. Sitting in the car, he wasn't idle and quickly called Li Yalan, ordering her, "Come to District 8 and find me. I'll send you the coordinates. Drive the fastest car." She, suddenly having work fall from the sky, couldn't keep up. "That slum? Why go there?" While busy, she slowly asked back, making him dissatisfied and urge, "Don't ask so many questions. Hurry up." The car sped through the streets, leaving a faint white smoke trail behind. At the abandoned road in District 8, the gentle afternoon sun shone peacefully everywhere. He had urged them to hurry, but Han Zhao arrived last. Li Yalan, confused and impatient, rushed out dissatisfied. "What are you doing?" Huffing and puffing, only to be ignored and receive a directive tone like a superior from him. "Follow me." The heavy iron gate of the alley was opened. The alley dwellers all turned their heads towards the creaking sound. All attention was focused on the young man who walked in with the confident air of a knight descending upon the town. If I remember correctly, Germinal Organization's contact in the Western capital is here. His eyes quickly scanned the sanctuary, a vague concern gradually appearing. It seems he's not here. Han Zhao quickly grabbed a nearby Roman to ask, "Do you know where Lu Gaoan is?" and receive a cold splash of water straight to his face. He hasn't been seen since this afternoon. He quickly took a pen from his pocket and hurriedly uncapped it with his mouth. Based on his memory, he quickly sketched a rough drawing. Just a few seconds later, the portrait of Gaoan was presented to him for observation. "So, let me confirm. Does he look like this?" Han Zhao deliberately emphasized, "Look carefully." Slightly off, short hair, walked out of the church. The drawing was handed to Li Yalan, who was running behind. "Send this to the department. Tell the border post to monitor if he leaves the city. I'll go near the border post myself to see. Maybe there's still a chance." Comfortably seated in his supercar, Li Yalan expressed her dissatisfaction. Really so mysterious. The people in the department said they didn't see this person leave the city. Han Zhao quickly changed the subject to alter the stuffy atmosphere. "Sit tight, I drive very fast." Not seeing the coffin, she wouldn't shed a tear, arrogantly retorting, "You underestimate me? I'm a martial artist. No matter how fast you go, I'll be fine." He stepped on the accelerator. In a flash, the golden car sped away from the church's territory. Han Zhao, while concentrating on driving, thoughtfully calculated his plan. Lu Gaoan just left an hour ago, which means he got the intel not long ago. He will probably choose the nearest exit from the city. The northwest border post is the most likely. The heavy mood made him shift gears to increase speed. The low-slung car sped like a hunting cheetah. Suddenly, a train slowly appeared in the sight of the two in the car. Li Yalan was so scared she burst into tears, sobbing, Hey, stop the car. The train is about to pass." Embracing the faith of characters in Fast and Furious, Han Zhao steered the car through the death trap in a flash. The speedometer showed the needle hovering around 170. Li Yalan's heart hadn't recovered from the aftershock. "Are you tired of living?" The roar of the engine came from the tunnel. The car nimbly moved forward despite the wind resistance. The further out of the city, the less traffic there was, so Han Zhao didn't hesitate to show off his skillful drifting. By the time they reached the outskirts, the supercar finally encountered two other cars driving in front. Without waiting, Han Zhao controlled it to speed past the two obstacles. The two slower cars behind were forced to inhale the dust he left behind. At the Western capital's northwest border post, the gentle sunlight faintly permeated the space. The crowd gathered, their voices ringing with mournful wails. "What's wrong? Why aren't you letting us leave the city? Let us out quickly. I have urgent business." Gaoan, blocked right at the gate, was more anxious than anyone else present. "Why is the city sealed? Could it be that Nosa failed?" The soldier, standing on the watchtower, scanned the crowd below. His eyes accidentally met Gaoan's. "It's him." The yellow car from the other side had just arrived at the crowded scene. The Yalan's weary voice cut through the silent atmosphere. "Division 13 Special Agent. Please make way." The gate guard ordered, "Please present your documents." What he looked at, her face to confirm, he was worried to see her looking like her soul had left her body. "Are you okay?" Han Zhao, looking at her drained appearance, couldn't help but sneer. "Aren't you a martial artist? Why are you vomiting like this?" Li Yalan, annoyed, couldn't speak properly. "Get lost." In contrast, Gaoan's situation was a bit pathetic. "Don't move. Behave yourself, and come along." Border of Star Dragon Empire and Xia Country, German organization's Dark Crow Valley base, a place fully equipped with all kinds of weapons, ready to advance. Aruba observed the information board early in the morning. "Guild leader, the mission has changed." A detailed topographic map appeared. Zero's location, Western capital, Star Dragon. Jupiter was pleased with this change. "The scope has narrowed. After the public beta, send guild members to the western capital. We can definitely find Zero. Alex, who had been the quietest until now, also spoke up because of the unexpected event. The reward for this B-rank mission can definitely help our pioneering progress lead other guilds by a large margin. Grey Wolf waited for news in his room, his stomach churning restlessly. His subordinate had just delivered a new report. He only stared at the suspect involved in the incident. It's Zero again. Anger flared behind his hidden face. Zero, you think you found backing and I can't do anything to you? He slammed his hand on the table and then hunched over. His authority being threatened made him as restless as if he were sitting on burning coals. Find out Zero's specific location. Even if he hides in Division 13 headquarters, you must find him for me. 200 Night Owl soldiers, 5 unknown unit/term Quang, await orders. Once the exact location is found, kill him immediately for me. Authorize the deployment of short-range ballistic missiles. Spare no expense. Inside Star Dragon's Strategic Defense Conference Room, the atmosphere was clearly more breathable than in other bases. Han Xiao was checking the progress, sighing inwardly. The trial period is over. The notification bar continuously updated new information. Trial ended. Countdown to public beta. 122 days, 1 hour, 23 minutes. It made him recall his past days of grinding in the game. As expected, my guess was correct. Real time during version updates is different from game time. Gu Wei was dissatisfied with the other party's distracted behavior during the meeting. Where are you pointing? What's with this attitude of only revealing information when the time comes? He asked Han Xiao a simple and straightforward question. How much more intelligence related to the germinal organization are you hiding from us? The mask helped hide his external attitude. This, he suddenly smiled mysteriously. At this point, he didn't bother to hide anything anymore. Han Xiao slowly spoke. My position has been exposed. He quietly rubbed his hands together, an indescribable restlessness hidden within. Although German organization doesn't know where I live, they can be sure I'm in the western capital. His determined eyes looked at the crowd opposite, his voice as firm as a nail. In the future, they will definitely send people to kill me. Gu Hui probed the next step of the person in front of him. So, what are you planning to do? Han Xiao pulled down his mask and smiled faintly, his demeanor calm as if nothing major was happening. No more intentional hiding. Direct confrontation with germinal organization. Looking at the other party's carefree attitude, he became even more worried, like an old father whose son was asking for investment. No, that's too dangerous. He pressed the controller to open the projection screen in front of him. On the 2D map, a red dot appeared, and along with it, Han Zhao's calm voice sounded. Besides the Xia country border, the Dark Crow Valley base. Unlike the previous 3 bases, this is a large base. I want to participate personally in the mission to attack this base. Gu Hui turned sharply, his expression changing from worry to panic. What are you saying? Isn't that giving germinal organization many opportunities to act? His slender hand gently placed the controller down. Hif hif. Han Zhao's confident demeanor further infuriated the other person. I can create something. It can change my appearance. Hearing that, he gritted his teeth in dissatisfaction, his eyes wide. Everything was almost settled. Gu Hui only made a final statement to conclude the meeting. Wait until you've created it, then we'll talk. Blue sky, golden sun, at the repair shop located in a mysterious place. In Han Zhao's mind, he was reviewing the enemy's territory. The Star Dragon high-ranking officials will 80% likely attack the Dark Crow Valley base. This base is very close to the rookie starting point. As long as it's destroyed after the public beta, the number of players joining the germinal organization faction will also decrease significantly. He glanced at his legs dangling over the sofa, secretly pleased. Excellent. That old man is at home. Han Xiao hesitated a little before opening his mouth to ask for help. Uncle Lu. After hesitating outside the door for a while, he finally stepped in. I want to borrow your machinery knowledge books to read. Old man Lu wouldn't agree immediately and had to ask one thing first. What are you borrowing them for? His slightly drunk eyes quietly watched him, waiting for an answer. Being looked at like that made Han Xiao feel guilty. I knew it wouldn't be that easy. I have to think of a countermeasure. Unexpectedly, the man stood up and staggered over. Follow me. Inside the room was a bookshelf filled with all kinds of priceless knowledge, while opposite it were various empty bottles scattered messily. Old man Lu pointed towards the front and said, all the books are here. His calm and taciturn demeanor made him look even more like a model of kindness. Read them yourself. Don't damage mine. Receiving such a good treat made him visibly happy. Thank you, uncle. Although his heart was still full of doubts. Why is this old man so easy to talk to today? Han Xiao unintentionally overheard the old man's mumbled confession. The matter of luring the assassin away, so as not to involve little Qian. Thank you. The peaceful room now had the faint sound of turning pages. Han Xiao, with wind-like speed, skimmed through them, letting the system automatically update the information. He gently placed it on the tall stack of books on the table. His sharp eyes closed to contemplate the knowledge he had just absorbed. His whole body exuded an air of soaring heroism. Psychologically prepared for the upcoming battle. Mechanic class skills have all been upgraded. Next is the most important blueprint synthesis. The notification board appeared, requesting his choice. Do you want to proceed with the fusion of basic biochemical knowledge level 1, basic optics level 1, basic material science overview level 3, basic simulated electronic technology level 2? This synthesis will consume 20,000 experience points. Han Zhao's slender finger agreed without hesitation. It wasn't in vain that he had selectively studied to give the world a new creation far beyond its time. Learning successful. Congratulations, you have researched the intelligent simulated optical mask. Looking at the advanced blueprint he had created himself, he let out a long sigh of relief. It spans 3 basic knowledge branches, requires a higher level of knowledge, and also needs to be a mechanic to have a chance to fuse this blueprint. This is absolutely the most advanced mask in the current version. At Stardragon's Strategic Defense Secret Service, the continuous sound of footsteps created an invisible tension. Zhang Wei, technologically illiterate, looked at the computer screen and asked, "Has the report been submitted to the higher-ups yet?" Lin Yao waved his hands over the keyboard and casually replied, "Just submitted." Suddenly, there was a knock on the door, interrupting their conversation. Gu Hui's purpose today was not aimed at these two, but at Han Xiao. "I told you before, your participation in this operation is too dangerous. Have you created the thing that changes your face?" Han Xiao tried to control his emotions, but still couldn't help but chuckle softly. "Hiv, hiv." He stepped outside the door, mysteriously saying, "Of course." "Wait a moment." Han Xiao smiled confidently, pressed the glowing button on his forehead, and slowly walked closer for them to see more clearly. From afar, it wasn't clear, but when he was close enough, the crowd in the room was completely shocked, their eyes wide and mouths agape in astonishment. His face had changed so much that no trace of his old features remained. "Well, can I participate this time?" Gui still didn't dare to believe it and had to get closer to examine it carefully. It's really completely unrecognizable from the original appearance. Realizing the flexibility of this item, he awkwardly scratched his chin and probed. "This thing isn't bad." Interested in selling the blueprint to the department. Han Xiao waved his hand, quickly steering the conversation to another branch. "It's just a mask. What blueprint? Can't you guys also make it?" The old fox Gu Hui, naive, fell right into the trap. "That's true." A proud smirk secretly appeared on his lips. That tricked him. With his experience living in the beautiful society of his life, he knew that in everything one does, one must leave a way out for oneself. This mask of mine can not only randomly generate appearances, but also scan other people's faces and save them. But this function must be kept secret. It's my trump card at critical moments. Gui waved his hand and left, only leaving an order. "Then you and your squad will participate in this operation. Depart in half a month. You guys prepare." Li Yaoan excitedly reached out to take the mask to look at it. "Wow, Han Xiao, what new hack technology is this? Let me play with it." His hand coldly pushed hers away. "Don't mess around. I have important things to say." "Ahem, Brother Wei." Han Xiao approached and patted his shoulder, wanting to ask a favor. "Later, give me your prototype combat armor." He dangled the offer like a fat piece of meat falling from the sky. "I'll modify it for you." Zhang Wei was overjoyed, unable to believe his ears. Really? To prove the credibility of his previous words, Han Xiao presented the pre-prepared plan. Improve energy efficiency, modify the power mode, reduce weight, fill the internal frame with mechanical power, enhancing support for you. Then, a reconnaissance system to scout the external situation. A fire control system to allow your long-range weapons to automatically aim. If time permits, I'll prepare a simple close combat weapon set for you. His eyes sparkled like stars, his mouth watering. All right, that's great. Like a good lesson taught in the business world. After closing the deal, the payment must be calculated immediately while it's hot. If you feel there's no problem, then let's settle the fee first. Zhang Wei's heart bloomed, so he was dazed and kept singing, "It should be. How much?" The final figure was meticulously calculated by him. 360,208. "I'll just charge you 360,000. His dream shattered. He stared wide-eyed at the enormous sum. "What? So expensive?" The cunning merchant began his spiel. "Don't rush to say it's expensive. Let me ask, are your parents still healthy?" Zhang Wei scratched his head, remembering his parents. "They've all gone out to play." He pressed his advantage, overwhelming the tall man. "Do you have any siblings?" He was as naive as a 3-year-old, letting the other person lead him by the nose. "I'm an only child in my family." Even though he knew the truth, Han Xiao didn't mind throwing in a critical line. "Do you have a girlfriend or wife?" Zhang Wei's straight salaryman hair gradually drooped, and he cried without making sound. "No, His emotionless face signaled the impending arrival of a huge wave. Believing in justice is like believing in a flash sale on November 11th actually having discounts. Han Xiao dropped a final sentence like a thunderbolt in a clear sky. "Then what are you keeping the money for, comrade?" Zhang Wei had now collapsed from the lingering emotional wound. "Don't say any more. I'll give you the money." The cunning merchant, having achieved his goal, quickly made his escape. "All right then, I'll go back and prepare the equipment for this operation." He stepped out of the room, but his voice still echoed. "Don't disturb me during this time." 10 days later, At Old Man Lou's technical repair shop, the phone on the table was vibrating incessantly. It was Li Yalan, anxiously worried about business, who had contacted him. Stop playing the disappearing act. Will the backlogged orders be done? My phone is ringing off the hook. Hey, are you still alive? Zhang Wei's armor was dismantled into pieces in the machine bay. Extended duration grenades. Grenades that can automatically fly for an extended time. Improved foldable combat knife. Stronger features. Improved soaring swallow glider. Can be folded into a glider. Han Xiao closed his eyes in meditation, sensing the newly completed item. His bare hands were gradually covered by a layer of strong steel. The armor stats were significantly enhanced compared to before. Lightweight power arm, left disguise type. Fluctuation ability accompanied by palm vibration. Installed with a pneumatic vibrator. Can release shockwave attacks through target contact. Ability accompanied by external shock resistance. Titanium alloy enhances durability. Enhanced Desert Eagle. Basic attributes. Attack power 73 to 87. Firing speed 1.5 rounds/second. Magazine capacity 8 rounds. Effective within 50 m. Beyond 50 m, accuracy begins to degrade. Energy output 45. Extended armor, thin magnetic metal, non-full body. Effect through magnetic induction. Armor pieces spread throughout the body. Can form armor on any part. Ability accompanied by super flexibility, heat resistance, radiation resistance, penetration resistance, high performance protection. His heart was excited as he tried out the newly released product. This equipment can give Journal Organization a real surprise this time. Han Zhao's slender hand picked up the phone on the table. His entire body had been upgraded to a stronger form. Assemble and depart. At Star Dragon Western Capital train station, a train was waiting for the signal to move. Qingyang looked at his phone, anxiously worried. Old Zhang, why haven't they arrived yet? Suddenly, a pitch-black truck rumbled towards them like a beast. Rambo's jaw dropped as he watched what was approaching. This truck is so cool. The train sped through nature under the witness of the moon. The image of Qi Baijia, hunched over, was gathering everyone in the train carriage. He frowned, his demeanor serious, as he stated his esteemed name. Let me introduce myself. I'm the commander this time. My name is Qi Baijia. Carrying the entire responsibility of the trip on his shoulders, every sentence he spoke contained important information. Next, I will detail this operation. Using a map to describe the landmarks in detail, the long lecture was neatly summarized by him in a few sentences. This operation is a cooperative action with the Xia Country Intelligence Agency. The Xia Country Army is stationed at the border and can be deployed at any time. Our mission is to infiltrate, ambush, scout the enemy's defensive arrangements, and provide intelligence to the army. Qi Baijia's finger pointed to a bright circle on the map. This is the map data sent by Xia Country. The terrain of Dark Crow Valley is easy to defend and difficult to attack, located deep in the forest. It's impossible to detect the base's location via drones. His deep and authoritative voice suppressed the morale of all the newcomers. The enemy's military strength is unknown, and the actual location is also unknown. It can only be infiltrated from the ground. From behind, a pair of unfamiliar feet gradually approached. It was unknown how much she had heard to make such a comment. It sounded like a heavily guarded fortress. This beautiful, long-haired woman was a strategic special agent, Di Su Su. Using her accumulated professional skills, she asked a strange question. The Haixia military can't attack from the ground? Old man by side, as if memories related to that truly bothered him. They don't agree. Li Yalan, whose view was blocked by the newcomer, lost her initial enthusiasm. Di Su Su, you blockhead, what a stupid question. So, is there any breakthrough point? Old man by pinned a photo to the board. To the west of Dark Crow Valley, there's a small civilian town called Crow Forest Town. This town is located around the Germination base. Dark Crow Valley's spies might be hidden in the town. We can get intelligence from them. He presented portraits one by one. According to intelligence, this base has 3 key figures to watch out for. The first one had a fierce face, exuding a murderous aura, looking truly dangerous. Chief Supervisor Pan Kwong, E+ rank pugilist, weapon, a saber, nickname, Soul Reaper. Next was a blonde man with an air of a nouveau riche. Deputy Manager Ji Jia, very little information. Finally, a man with sharp, masculine features. Security Captain Du Meng, skilled in using various rifles, a super elite special agent. Old man by leaned against the side of the train, his voice deep, his mood unclear. For this joint operation, Haixia will also send a special ops team from their intelligence bureau. After arriving at the location, they will act with us. Zhang Wei frowned upon hearing this, immediately puzzled. Special agents from 2 factions acting together? This is rare. Li Yalan also had to chime in. Won't that just add to the chaos? Before she could finish her sentence, the train suddenly braked hard, throwing everyone forward. Which 2 factions? Li Yalan propped herself up, looking around bewildered. Why the sudden stop? Suddenly, the train guard's urgent voice made her heart skip a few beats. Monster attack! Prepare for battle! Her amber eyes widened in shock upon hearing the announcement. Appearing before them was a creature so hideous it felt like they'd fallen into a full HD 4D jump scare scene with no escape button. Li Yalan shouted a warning. It's a black earthworm. Outside, giant black earthworms surrounded the train. Black earthworm, level 48, specialized in defense, proficient in dark attributes. Abundant health, deals area damage to machinery and metal. Han Xiao scanned the unfavorable situation. Damn it, why did we encounter such a tough monster? A soldier screamed in fear as one swallowed him. Help me! The guards, fully armed, received orders to open fire. A hail of bullets rained down mercilessly on the monsters. Unfortunately, their tough armor rendered the bullets as useless as raindrops on a raincoat. The soldier quickly realized the weapons were ineffective and reported, "It's no use. Its armor is too thick, bullets can't penetrate." Li Yalan didn't hesitate, clearing a path and jumping to the front line. Move aside. Using the window frame as a springboard, she leaped out. Before the soldier's eyes, she agilely closed in on one. Li Yalan slashed her knife at the giant worm's tough armor. The sudden pain made it writhe, trying to throw her off. Though it didn't cause much damage, she realized that close combat could barely breach its armor. Think of another way. Disu Su, standing below, suddenly remembered the creature's biology. Burn it. Black earthworms are afraid of fire. Lambert loaded a special magazine into his rifle. He found a suitable position, preparing to fire. Let me try. The moment arrived. The small bullet, gleaming with a dazzling light, flew out of the long barrel. As he predicted, the bullet embedded itself directly into the softest part of the worm. A large explosion, thick with smoke and dust, erupted from its head, causing the other worms to panic and burrow back into the ground. Its massive, elongated body inadvertently amplified the destructive power. The black earthworms that hadn't managed to burrow underground were caught in the blast and burned slowly. Li Yalan, having narrowly escaped, stood panting inside. Phew, that was close. Good thing you were here. Looking at the swaying, dust-covered train and the large hole in its side, her voice trembled as if she had just escaped hell on earth. Finally, we're saved. One fine day, at the Haixia railway station, an old blue train stopped at the platform. Beautiful men and women walked hand in hand merrily on the main street. Han Zhao's two-person team had just disembarked. Lin Yao stared wide-eyed at the refreshing scene before him. Bikinis on the street? Are Huaxia people that open-minded? Yi Fan, in a Hawaiian shirt with open buttons and a wide-brimmed hat, looking every bit the local, waved. Hey, you've arrived. I'm Yi Fan from the Haixia Intelligence Bureau. He led the way while briefly explaining the procedures. Our process isn't complicated. Just report to the commander, and that's it. Han Xiao and Lin Yao both turned their heads to the left, looking intently. In that direction, fully armed soldiers stood with their arms crossed, eyeing them suspiciously. The group quickly arrived at a bright, modern building. Yi Fan entered a room, stood straight, and saluted. Sir, the special agents from Star Dragon have arrived. Sot stared intently at the fish tank in front of him without turning around, indifferently instructing. Find them a place to rest. Don't let them wander around. In another room, like a dormitory, Lin Yao leaned back against the bed frame, complaining dejectedly. I don't know if I'm hallucinating, but the soldiers outside seem to want to exclude us. The commander was also quite cold to us. Xing Yang, sitting opposite him, sighed. Don't you know? He sat up straight and explained seriously, we've been at war with Haixia before, so Haixia people don't have a good impression of us. Hearing this, he also let out a sigh, his small face full of reluctance. We can only prioritize the mission and rest in this shabby place for now. Han Xiao wasn't very interested in this conversation. He stood up and pointed to the door. I'm going out for a smoke. The other person replied, listlessly, as if he already knew. Okay. The white smoke he exhaled carried the taste of life. Han Xiao, hands in his pockets, leaned against a truck, lost in thought. Suddenly, the ding-ding system popped up with a new notification. It immediately caught his attention. Han Xiao was pleasantly surprised. The Faction War, Dark Crow Valley, mission quickly displayed on the screen. You have activated the Faction Mission, Dark Crow Valley Operation. Mission brief. This is a small-scale military operation. As a member of Division 13, a participant in this operation, let's see what you can do. Note, this mission belongs to the Faction Mission Group. You can complete the requirements below in this mission. He scrolled up and down the information panel, whistling softly to himself. Great, this is the first faction mission. Han Zhao's mind raced. Faction missions usually divided rewards based on completion. The rewards had always been generous. His index finger stopped at the specific mission details. He resolved to perform well and make a big score. Suddenly, a pair of high heels approached step by step. Han Xiao quickly retracted the system panel and watched the approaching person attentively. Wind, with tan skin, golden eyes, and a stunning body no different from a supermodel, asked, Are you for Star Dragon? Han Xiao maintained his posture, hands still in his pockets, and replied coolly, Let's just say so. Wind, apparently a woman of action, immediately reached behind her, pulled out a dagger, and then pressed it against his neck, her face radiating killing intent. Wind, are you a bit slow? Why didn't you dodge? Han Xiao looked up, giving her a confident gaze. Why should I dodge? She pressed the dagger closer to his neck, smirking provocatively. You think I don't dare? The Titan golem armor had already crept up his neck. He challenged, you can try. Wind suddenly startled, breaking into a cold sweat, her eyes darting around in panic. It turned out Han Xiao had drawn his pistol and pointed it straight at her at some point. A triumphant, sly smile appeared under his mask. A little warm-up like this can somewhat gauge each other's strength. She reined in her temper and formally introduced herself. Wind, Intelligence Bureau Special Agent. He was no exception, replying curtly, Han Xiao. Wind strode away on her long legs, tossing back a sentence. I'll remember this. Old Man Bai silently observed everything from a window above. He squinted his monolithic eyes behind his glasses, nodding inwardly. Facing the special agents probing without being intimidated or escalating the conflict. Both strength and insight are good. As Wind passed by few military vehicles, a voice inquired, how did your probing go? She walked straight ahead without looking at Yi Fan, coldly throwing out her assessment. That Han Xiao is not easy to deal with. Military vehicles formed a long line on a winding mountain road. At the head was a sleek black logistics truck. Yi Fan, still in his flashy Hawaiian outfit, spoke up. Now that everyone's here, let's set off. We have a base near Crow Forest Town. Looking at the vehicle beside him, he exclaimed admiringly, this is your logistics vehicle? So cool. Old Man Bai took the opportunity to show off a bit. Oh, not bad, right? Star Dragon has many logistics vehicles like this. Disu Su, standing not far away, felt speechless. Such a show-off. We don't even have logistics vehicles. Qin Yang crossed his arms in agreement, his voice dripping with sarcasm. Yeah, such blatant boasting. As long as there's a mechanic in the team, it's fine. One by one, the vehicles set off amidst the picturesque mountain scenery. This time, Li Yalan was in the same car as Han Xiao. Seeing him comfortably holding the steering wheel with a cigarette in his mouth, she praised cheerfully, Rare, you're driving so steadily today. Lin Yao leaned forward from the back seat, urging curiously, Brother Xiao, we're falling behind. Hurry up and catch up. Han Xiao rested his arm on the car window, fiddling with a cigarette, and replied, nonchalantly, what's there to chase? No matter how fast they drive, they'll still have to wait for us later. As soon as he finished speaking, Disu Su's shrill voice came from the car's radio. Lin, why can't we see you anymore? Hurry up and catch up. Or is Han Xiao's driving skill poor? After hearing this, Han Xiao silently blew a smoke ring and calmly explained, wasting gas. Qin Yang felt Han Xiao's attitude was too indifferent. He loudly encouraged, Old Zhang, Hai Xia has provoked us repeatedly. We can't lose. Zhang Wei, naturally susceptible to such goading, quickly agreed. Makes sense. Let's chase them. Li Yalan, hearing the two go back and forth, screamed in protest. No need, Captain. He looked puzzled, questioning, what are you afraid of? She paled, tried to widen her eyes innocently, and suggested, can't we just drive normally? Han Xiao, very democratically, listened attentively, looked at the road, and confirmed, so I'll speed up then? With that, he slammed on the accelerator. Chi-Chi reminded everyone, hold on tight. The cumbersome vehicle shot off like lightning. Li Yalan shrieked, you guys will regret this. In an instant, the logistics vehicle whizzed past several military vehicles ahead. Then, Han Xiao coolly left the convoy in a cloud of black smoke, completely out of place with the scenery. Han Xiao's hooligan mode, driving made the soldiers in the other vehicles stick their heads out to gawk. No way. Li Yalan had completely descended into chaos. She gripped the handle above her head tightly, mouth agape, screaming, I want to get out. Lin Yao wasn't much better, his eyes squeezed shut, begging, Brother Xiao, slow down. Ignoring the howls and screams in the car, Han Xiao continued to weave and swerve at high speed on the mountain pass, as if he had a death wish. The heavy vehicle even flew off the ground like something out of Fast and Furious. The people inside collectively screamed, help! Finally, they arrived at the Hai Xia base, Crow Forest Town. The logistics vehicle screeched to a halt, creating friction and smoke on the ground. Li Yalan, her face contorted, about to vomit, managed to say, I feel like I'm about to die. She staggered out of the car, berating the others who were also reeling beside her. I told you you'd regret it. Han Xiao was probably the calmest one there. He nonchalantly asked, didn't you all want to catch up? Zhang Wei, with a suspicious drop of liquid still on the corner of his mouth, looked up and questioned, did you drive bumper cars before? Han Xiao smiled silently, eyes crinkling, inwardly boasting, bumper cars? I used to be a driving saint. Lambert wasn't much better, weakly warning, if you touch the steering wheel again, I'll jump out. The Star Dragon team quickly entered the base. The rooms here were no different from a five-star hotel. Yi Fan, as the host, spoke politely, this place is a bit basic, please make yourselves comfortable. Then, he gathered everyone into a meeting room. We will hold a pre-battle briefing. He pointed to the images pinned on the board and analyzed them one by one. We have two tasks. 1. Pose as vagrants and infiltrate Crow Forest Town to gather intelligence. 2. Find lone guards near the Dark Crow Valley base. Interrogate them for intelligence. Wind spread her hands, snatching the choice of mission first. We'll deal with the guards. You guys go to Crow Forest Town. Han Xiao, hearing her, thought quietly. She snatched the mission right at the start. We're not familiar with Crow Forest Town. It'll be hard to get intelligence. If we return empty-handed, we could even fall into danger. He looked at his team. Everyone had grim, scowling faces, understanding enough. Finding guards and interrogating them for intelligence was easier and safer. Everyone knew the stakes. Yi Fan seemed on a backwind. He didn't ask further and quickly concluded, if there's nothing else, act on your own. Both sides will leave personnel behind for logistical support. The brief meeting was immediately adjourned, and everyone returned to their rooms. In the vagrant town of Crow Forest Town, rows of brick houses stood close together, exuding an old-fashioned charm. Di Su looked around, assessing the situation, then suggested, it's our first time here. Eavesdropping everywhere will easily arouse suspicion. Let's find a place to stay first. Han Xiao, staring intently at a screen, disagreed. For vagrants, gathering local information is normal behavior. Deliberately hiding is what's suspicious. Old Man Bai, leaning beside him, also agreed and gave an order, you all better act tonight. Zhang Wei, a man of action, nodded decisively. Makes sense. Di Su closed her eyes, exasperated with these men. But this place is so big. Where do we find germination spies? Han Xiao, understanding her difficulty, thoughtfully offered a suggestion. There's a casino in the southern part of town. There might be a bald man inside. He knows the intelligence of the Dark Crow Valley base. A half-moon hung high in the sky. The imposing castle occupying a corner of the mountaintop was Crow Forest Town. Vagrant casino. The lights inside were dazzlingly bright, and the interior space was equally vast and imposing. The hall below was packed with people, chattering noisily. Come on, come on. Place your bets. Hands off. I won. Di Su leaned on the second-floor railing, looking down at the crowd, doubtful. Is there really someone here? Suddenly, Liao's mouth fell open, her eyes wide, focusing in one direction. Not far away, a bald man was leaning back in his chair, leisurely enjoying the company of two voluptuous bunny girls. She exclaimed joyfully, Found him! There really is a bald guy. Without hesitation, she ran, gained momentum, and leaped onto the railing like a gust of wind, then accurately landed on the bald man, pinning him down, twisting his arms behind his back, and shouting, Don't move! Behave! The two bunny girls, seeing the table in disarray, jumped up in fright. Han Xiao and Lin Yao sat dejectedly side by side, staring at the computer screen, feeling that everything was still on track. Han Xiao took off his headphones and handed them over. Looks like nothing's happening. I'll leave it to you. I'm going to bed. Tonight was probably a sleepless night for many, not including Han Xiao. At a watchtower by the lake, an eerie silence enveloped the area, no different from a horror movie scene. Indeed, a bloody corpse lay at the foot of the tower. A pair of feet in military boots slowly approached, like a beast stalking its prey. Having confirmed the situation, Wind rushed forward with her gun, ordering a swift victory. A moment later, the watchtower area became a graveyard for soldiers. Corpses lay scattered in various positions, blood staining the floor red. She asked impatiently, Well, are you done yet? Yi Fan, legs crossed, leisurely typed on the keyboard, chuckling mockingly. Dark Crow Valley's firewall couldn't withstand a single blow. He exclaimed, Done, when the screen showed data successfully copied. The two quickly retreated, Yi Fan carrying a person on his shoulder, while Wind couldn't suppress the smile on her face. Haha, this time, our achievements will definitely surpass those Star Dragon guys. On the germination side, at the Dark Crow Valley base, the entire area lay silent under the starry sky, with a few off-road vehicles scattered around. Huang Jia bowed deeply, reporting gravely, Report, sir, the outer network has been breached. Ji Jia lifted the teacup in his hand and calmly asked, Oh, what data was taken? The subordinate broke into a cold sweat, replying, Base coordinates, base layout map, experimental log files. Ji Jia didn't seem rushed, still focusing on the cup in his hand, and offered comfort. No need to worry. The bait has been released. Just wait for the fish to bite. Ji Jia quickly met with Pan Kuang, tapping his fingers on the table, recounting. Just now, a hacker infiltrated the disguised network system. It's probably Hai Xia people. The military might invade soon. The man, meticulously wiping his saber scabbard, asked, What do you think we should do? Ji Jia raised his hand to his chin, calculating, although the enemy only got the bait intel, the base's existence has been exposed. I suggest the leader evacuate, taking materials and documents from this place. Furthermore, before leaving, try to eliminate enemy forces. Germination Executive Pan Kuang immediately threw down the cleaning cloth, slung his saber over his shoulder, and stood up abruptly, revealing his muscular physique. If you need me to fight, just say so. Dawn broke behind the mountains, heralding a new day outside the Crow Forest Town base. The system, like a diligent little bird, chirped its notification early in the morning. Han Xiao opened his eyes to read the message. Scouting Mission 1 completed. You receive 3,000 experience. He understood immediately. Looks like the mission has progressed. He sat on the bed, scratching his messy hair, and asked, How was last night's harvest? Lin Yao, chin resting on his hands, reported the situation. We found out the specific location of the Dark Crow Valley base, but they're all outer members and don't know highly classified intelligence. He tilted his head, bored to death, and poked at the keyboard. That's all we got. Han Xiao understood in his mind. It was not unexpected. If there was anything significant, Scouting Mission 2 would have been completed as well. He opened his mouth and ordered, "Tell them to withdraw." The room door was suddenly pushed open. The person hadn't appeared, but their voice preceded them. "Hey, you Division 13 folks." Wind twirled a USB drive in her hand, hands on her hips, confidently boasting, "We've obtained top-secret intelligence from the Dark Crow Valley base." Yi Fan behind her also agreed, "Mission complete." Old Man Bai felt like he'd been struck by lightning, completely petrified. He managed to croak, "You really got all the Dark Crow Valley intelligence?" Yi Fan took off his hat, exclaiming cheerfully, "Yes, and we even captured a prisoner. Mission complete. Tell your people to come back. We'll compile the intelligence and then hand it over to the Haixiao military." Han Xiao, having put on his mask, shot them a suspicious look. Something's wrong. Scouting Mission 2 hasn't shown as complete. This intelligence must be problematic. "What do you think?" he asked, then turned to the two for confirmation. "Are you sure the intelligence is real? Can you detail your actions?" Wind blurted out without a second thought, "Of course we can." In the tiny room, Han Zhao's voice seemed hesitant as he touched his smooth chin, lowered his head, and voiced a suspicion. "Don't you think it was too easy? You might have gotten fake intelligence." She wouldn't accept this questioning. She immediately retorted, "There's nothing suspicious. It can only be that we were well prepared. The enemy had no resistance against our attack." Wind covered her mouth, laughing provocatively. "This time we won. You're the only one who's always been suspicious. Not convinced? Do you have any proof?" Han Xiao looked straight into her eyes and uttered two words, "Gut feeling." She stuck out her tongue, rolled her eyes, and made a face. Yi Fan, seeing this was going too far, pulled her away. "All right, being suspicious is good, but without proof, suspicion is overthinking. In short, the reconnaissance mission is complete. Everyone withdraws tomorrow morning." Han Xiao silently listened to their explanation and left. Without proof, talking was useless. He put his hands in his pockets, deciding inwardly, "I can only check it out myself." Another moonlit, breezy night in the forest. The time and place were perfect for mischief. Sure enough, bullets whizzed through a soldier's armor, sending him to collect his rations with his comrades lying nearby. Long, slender fingers continuously squeezed the trigger, as if there was a score for blasting off opponents' heads. Han Xiao, holding a sniper rifle, looked at the system notification. "You have killed a Germination Scout Guard. Received 500 experience. Dark Forest Assassin completed." His mind raced. Killing so many guards, the base will probably send people to check soon. He threw the gun on the ground and squatted behind a rock, silently listening for approaching footsteps. Han Xiao took out a thin wire, wrapped it a few times around his hands, and pulled it taut. The target was quickly identified as Talamander, who seemed quite alert. Han Xiao darted behind him, flinging the wire. The man whirled around in alarm at the surprise attack. Han Xiao tightened the wire with force. Talamander clutched his neck in pain, a suspicious liquid quickly trickling from the corner of his mouth, only able to make gurgling sounds. In an instant, he collapsed, going to meet King Yama. Han Xiao quickly flipped him over, his hands and feet nimbly eluding. He raised a finger to his forehead, activating the optical mask. A blue light beam shone directly onto Talamander's face. The walkie-talkie dropped on the ground, continuously broadcast reports. H103, report, northwest clear. H14, report, southeast clear. H23, why aren't you saying anything? What's the situation over there? Han Xiao, disguised as Talamander, picked up the walkie-talkie and replied, H23, report, regular guard patrol. Inwardly, he was dancing a disco. Aha, I didn't expect the optical mass facial replication function to be useful so soon. The soldiers quickly gathered beside a few off-road vehicles, chattering. Any sign of the enemy? No. One of them decided to order, getting the vehicles back to base. At Germination, Dark Crow Valley base. Two figures were moving on a glass bridge connecting two buildings. Jia asked the person following him. 13 guards were ambushed. After obtaining the intelligence, they still lingered around the base perimeter to scout. These infiltrators are more careful than we thought. She smiled confidently and replied, "No matter how careful they are, they're useless before your bait intelligence, sir. They will definitely fall into your trap." Obediently, he pushed up the glasses on his nose and gently gave an order. "The leader has arranged the retreat route. Reinforcements will arrive in 5 days. We can withdraw then." Then, he continued walking, leaving behind a sentence. "Before that, prepare a big gift for the Haixiao army." On another side of the Dark Crow Valley base, the soldiers had quickly returned. Han Xiao looked around, constantly calculating. Scouting Mission 2 still can't be completed. There must be something unusual in this base. He looked at the soldiers moving supplies like worker ants, his heart filled with suspicion. Personnel are packing supplies, preparing to leave, leaving only rearguard soldiers. No, Haixiao people infiltrated yesterday. There was enough time for everyone to leave. Why haven't they gone yet? Lin E, carrying a box, asked. Have you received withdrawal orders? It seems Hai Xia has discovered us. Li Bing glanced at him and replied, Yeah, the higher-ups said the Crow Forest Town spies have lost contact. Looks like a war is really about to start. He turned to Han Xiao, who was standing aside with his hands in his pockets, looking relaxed, and asked, Hey, Talamander, did you guys find anything on patrol just now? Han Xiao lowered his eyes slightly, thinking, Talamander, so that's his name. Then he spread his hands helplessly and replied, The situation isn't optimistic. The guards outside were killed by the enemy. The brief conversation gave Han Xiao new plans. Ordinary soldiers here most likely know nothing about the base's secrets. I can only shift my target to key figures. He feigned admiration and said, I envy those personnel. They can withdraw first. The Dark Crow Valley base's security captain, Du Ming, suddenly appeared with his arms crossed, saying, Hey, you guys, don't you have work to do? Move the stuff for me. Han Xiao, startled, pulled his hat down to hide his face, his eyes still glancing over. It's Du Ming. What secrets does the base have? A figure like him must know. He immediately raised his hand and signaled, I'm going to the restroom. Li Bing looked away disdainfully. Want to slack off, huh? Han Xiao quickly ran in the direction Du Ming had left, carefully hiding at a corner not too far away. Du Ming walked through a narrow, cold corridor, and Han Xiao tiptoed after him. After a few twists and turns, Han Xiao, peeking around like a suspicious wife trying to catch her cheating husband, realized in a moment of carelessness that he had lost him. Han Xiao stood before the door of an ordinary storage room, looking at the tools on the shelf, sighing inwardly. He's gone. He gently stepped inside, looking around. There must be a secret door. Where is it? I can't stay here too long. If I meet someone else, it'll be hard to explain. Next, he cleverly released a few spider scouts onto the ground, silently praising himself. I didn't expect these things I casually made earlier to be useful. Han Xiao sat down on the steps, holding a tablet, staring intently as the devices quickly transmitted clear images to the screen, like a live broadcast. Suddenly, his eyes lit up, and he grinned like a triumphant villain. From the blank wall of the storage room, a gap opened, and two men in suits calmly stepped out. He whispered, They're here. There really is a secret door. He turned and hid in a corner, watching the two men walk past. These two came out of the secret door. They must know something. Then he raised his hand to adjust his hat, his face full of confidence. The secret of this base is about to be exposed. As night fell, a few guards stood scattered outside the base. Han Xiao, disguised as one of them, lurked outside a door. Meanwhile, Yunji and Shun Wu passed by him without noticing. Suddenly, a voice startled him. Stop! It was Wen Ding. He held his gun tightly, saying sternly, No unauthorized entry or exit from the base without orders. Han Xiao quickly used the card he had picked up as an excuse. I just met those two. They dropped their ID cards. I'm going to return them and then come right back. Wen Ding believed him completely. All right, go quickly and come back quickly. Han Xiao followed them into the forest and then called out, Excuse me, gentlemen, wait a moment. Both instinctively stopped to hear him out. You dropped your ID cards. Sure enough, this trick worked again. They happily took back their cards without any suspicion. Ah, thank you. When did we drop them? Noticing the Doifeng had let down their guard, Han Xiao immediately drew the knife tucked in his belt. Shun Wu was so frightened by the scene that he was speechless, only able to glare at Han Xiao. After a struggle in the forest, Han Xiao successfully tied both of them to a tree. Shun Wu, now recovered, stammered, You're not from the base. Yunji beside him kept calling out fruitlessly, Guards! Guards! Han Xiao watched a little drama for a while and got annoyed. This place is desolate. You can scream your lungs out, and no one will come to save you. Tell me all the secret intelligence you know. Shun Wu resorted to crocodile tears. We're just low-level staff. We don't know anything. More drama. Han Xiao sighed, exasperated. Not wanting to waste any more time, he lunged forward, pressing the knife to the man's throat. I know the warehouse has a secret door. The man, tears streaming down his face, said, How do you know? After that, only blood-curdling screams were heard, startling the birds and beasts in the forest into flight. A familiar voice continued, I'll talk. I'll talk. Don't do it. It's unknown what happened. Only that Shun Wu had fainted, and Han Xiao was leisurely checking his system panel. Then he closed his eyes tightly and pointed to a spot on his forehead. A triangular mark immediately appeared. The system in front of him also updated. Scouting mission 2 completed. You receive 8,000 experience. He observed intently, his tone somewhat satisfied. So that's how it is. The next morning, the sun had risen, brightening the entire base. Lin Yao repeatedly slammed his hand on the truck, shouting, Brother Xiao, open up. Time to gather and set off. Li Yaolin, beside him, looked bored, not wanting to speak. Looks like he's not in the car. Where did he go? On the other side of the truck, Old Man Bai was asking the members of Division 13 about the situation. How are you all prepared? Zhang Wei wiped his sweat and replied hesitantly, We're staying here to wait for him to come back. Di Su, having waited too long, started to get agitated. Is it necessary? He quickly defended, the car keys are with him. Hai Lang, after observing the situation, hurried back to report. They can't find one of their members, so they're staying to wait. Yifan, hearing this, found it strange. Didn't they say they'd act together? Why is someone missing? He put his hand on his chin, trying to recall the incident. It's that young man wearing a mask. His name is Han Xiao. Hearing the familiar name, Wind, with her intelligence bureau instincts, began to have suspicions. Han Xiao. Yesterday when we got the intelligence, he couldn't refute it without evidence. Today he's missing. He's too suspicious. Could he be? She paused for a long time, but finally had to utter the four painful words, a spy. In another development, at the Hai Xia Combat Command Room, heavily armed guards were stationed. Inside the command room, a voice announced, a special agent from Division 13 hasn't returned all night. Perhaps the news was too shocking, so he asked again to confirm before reporting. Confirm, no mistake? Wynn stood with her arms crossed, calmly stating, after we scouted the intelligence of Dark Crow Valley, he left without saying anything. Yifan, standing beside her, continued to add fuel to the fire. This person's actions are very suspicious. Sat still sat solemnly on the sofa, appearing as if everything was under control. Later, I will ask the Star Dragon people to investigate this matter. Let's talk about the intelligence issue first. She immediately replied, the prisoner has been polygraphed. It can be proven that everything is true. The data was all hacked from the enemy's network. Its authenticity can be guaranteed. Hearing this, he couldn't maintain his composure anymore. He hurriedly ordered, then attack immediately. Delays will cause more problems. Yifan, upon receiving the order, froze stiff. He looked distressed. If we deploy the army, a Division 13 special agent left at the secret stronghold will be in danger. A chuckle, laced with malice, was heard. Ha. For strategic objectives, what's sacrificing one or two Star Dragon people? They're not our countrymen. They definitely don't have good intentions. In the forest where Han Xiao was hiding, it seemed subduing the two hostages was taking longer than he thought. His mind was now filled with anxiety. Not good. I've exceeded the planned withdrawal time. The two behind him kept babbling. Are you deserting? He angrily shouted. Cut the crap and follow me. Then he adjusted the antenna on his communication device. After finding the right frequency, he spoke. Hello. Eagle calling Sparrow. Respond quickly. The person who received the call was none other than Zhang Wei. He vented all his morning's frustration into the walkie-talkie. Sparrow, your head. Where on earth did you go? We haven't seen you all night. The others have all left. We can only stay at the stronghold and wait for you. Han Zhao's voice came from the other side. I infiltrated the Dark Crow Valley base and discovered some classified intelligence. Old Man Bai, hearing this, rushed over and grabbed the receiver. What? Inside the quiet forest, only Han Zhao's voice echoed as he talked on the walkie-talkie. Dark Crow Valley is divided into inner and outer bases. Han Xiao, resting on a stone ledge, recounted the events. The inner base is the area for core members hidden deep within the mountains. Intelligence about the inner base is kept secret from outer base members. The inner base passage can be closed at any time for a last stand. Old Man Bai's voice came through, making him break into a sweat. The inner base connects to many escape routes. Core members can leave without anyone knowing. A moment later, he connected to the commander's room. Commander, Division 13 Intelligence, a voice announced, accepting the call. Connect him. The commander picked up the receiver and calmly said, It's me. What is it? Old Man Bai, not wanting the hot news to cool down, immediately acted as an intermediary. One of my team members has obtained classified intelligence and needs to tell you. I'll let him speak to you directly. Sat, after hearing this, maintained a calm exterior. Oh, I see. But inwardly, he was impatient, sensing the other party was. Compared to these things, I'm more curious where your intelligence came from. Han Xiao, on the other end, unbothered, calmly reported, I easily infiltrated Dark Crow Valley. Captured 2 internal members. Sat immediately reacted sharply. You're lying. Hearing this, Han Xiao pondered for a moment, his mind filled with thoughts. The Hai Xia people must think I couldn't infiltrate and get intelligence from the germination base, but it's clearly true because I have a cheat. They don't know I can change my appearance. The simulation mask is my trump card. I can't reveal it. Old Man Bai, sensing the tense situation, quickly interjected. Do you have any proof to substantiate the intelligence? Han Xiao simply replied curtly. I captured 2 prisoners. Sat had heard enough and ordered, bring them back. Old Man Bai sighed, looking utterly dejected. On the screen, Sat's image was displayed. He leaned on the table, his face sinister. Relay my order. Advance. Target. Dark Crow Valley base. Old Man Bai, hearing this, looked dumbfounded, then lost his composure and shouted into the walkie-talkie. I don't agree. My men are still near Dark Crow Valley. Your arbitrary attack will put them in danger. Sat coldly replied, This is not for you to decide, then slammed the receiver down. Han Zhao's end went to a dial tone. He thought, this commander is eager for merit. He couldn't waste any more precious time and immediately packed his things. He yanked the rope, dragging the 2 prisoners, and quickly left the area. My time is running out. I have to withdraw from the combat zone quickly before Hai Xia attacks. The sun gradually set, But Li Yaolan and Lin Yao still stubbornly waited for him to return. Only when they saw his figure emerge did their faces relax, and they chirped their inquiries. Han Xiao, are you okay? Han Xiao walked with heavy steps, carrying the two hostages, looking extremely tired. His face was drenched in sweat, and he managed to say, Lin Yao, Lambert, take these two's ID cards and go into the inner base. The Germination's retreat plan still needs to be investigated. Li Yaolan, drive me to approach the base. I'll go make a mask of the prisoners. Lin Yao immediately retorted, Brother Xiao, I have no experience as a spy. Can we switch? Han Xiao patted his shoulder reassuringly. You're the only hacker. If you don't go in, who will? A while later, the sky began to darken. At the Germination organization, by the side door of the Dark Crow Valley base, guards were always on duty. Lin Yao and Lambert had disguised themselves as the two hostages. They were waiting at the gate. Lin Yao nervously asked, We won't be exposed, will we? Lambert carefully reminded him, Avoid alerting the enemy. The more nervous you are, the easier it is to be exposed. Then they approached the base and used the stolen ID cards to open the door. The system announced, Verification successful. Opening door. Successfully inside. Lin Yao sighed in relief and wiped his sweat. Phew, finally, we're in safely. They immediately carried out their mission, going deeper inside. Both were observing their surroundings. Lin Yao confirmed, Everything is indeed as Han Xiao said. This is the secret door Brother Xiao mentioned. There really is an inner base. Suddenly, the alarm blared loudly. Both of them were terrified. Lin Yao asked in panic, What's happening? Lambert lowered his voice to reassure his teammate. Calm down. We didn't trigger it. Suddenly, he looked into the distance as if someone was approaching. It was Ji Jia. He walked down the corridor while updating the entire base. Listen up. The High Scout border forces have mobilized and are advancing towards the base. He brushed past them without any suspicion. The armed personnel of the outer base have already moved to the defensive perimeter. They can hold them off for a while. We prepare to withdraw. When his figure gradually disappeared, Lin Yao began to whisper into the walkie-talkie. High Xia and Germination are preparing to fight. Everyone withdraw first. On the other end of the walkie-talkie, Zhang Wei heard clearly and roared in fury. Outrageous! Those High Xiao bastards dare to attack first. You helped them get classified intelligence, and those scoundrels ignored our life and death. Han Xiao realized this wasn't looking good. Among the 36 stratagems, running was the best. This place is too close to Dark Crow Valley. We'll easily get hit by stray bullets. Let's withdraw quickly. Before they could flee, a sound made him jump. We haven't done anything, haven't touched anything, yet the enemy found us. Li Yaolan screamed in terror. We've been discovered. Han Xiao quickly slammed on the accelerator to escape. The Germination pursuers behind them shouted. Enemy vehicle detected ahead. Pursue. A soldier fired a machine gun at them. The sound of bullets hitting the car created a staccato popping noise like firecrackers. The car swerved due to the impact. Han Zhao's group continued to flee for their lives under a hail of bullets. Li Yaolan, seeing the situation worsening, said, Not good. The enemy is too close. Han Xiao calmly pointed to the dashboard. No need to worry. I've installed an accelerator. Her words shocked the girl so much her eyes rolled back. You even installed an accelerator? Just as Han Xiao was about to activate the acceleration system, Li Yaolan stopped him. She angrily scolded the person beside her. You won't shed a tear until you see the coffin. Speeding on a mountain road? Aren't you afraid of destroying the car and dying? Ignoring the system, she quickly drove the car onto a mountain path. Behind them, bullets continued to chase. Perhaps running endlessly wasn't the solution. Han Xiao pulled out a suitcase and ordered his teammate. Zhang Wei, put on your armor. Prepare for battle. As the car rounded a bend on the mountain road, Zhang Wei hurriedly put on his armor. Then he confidently stepped out, fully equipped in modern armor from head to toe, looking like a one-man army ready to take on everyone. Zhang Wei, wielding his thunder roar, crazily fired back. A torrent of bullets rained down, successfully destroying the Germination convoy. He opened his mask to behold the spectacular scene he had just created.